The wealthy heiress, pressured by her family to marry, came to me for a fortune-telling. Do you know where my future husband is? I did a quick calculation on my fingers. Your future husband is the son of the richest family in town. Hearing this, the heiress scoffed coldly. A fraud is always a fraud. The richest man's son has been missing for 18 years. No one even knows if he's dead or alive. Are you saying you can actually find him? I chuckled lightly. That's easy. I immediately did another calculation, and my jaw dropped. Holy crap, why is it me? 3 days later, the paternity test results came out. The richest man and I were actually father and son. On my very first day being brought home, my occupational hazard flared up. I pointed at the nanny who had worked for the family for 10 years and said, "This auntie is tainted with karma. If left alone, I'm afraid it will affect the family's feng shui. If dad pays me for a reading, I can help resolve it. Only 30,000 bucks. Even though I had returned to the Liu family, I wasn't in the habit of asking for handouts. This was perfect. I could resolve the evil aura and conveniently earn my college tuition. Even biological fathers and sons need to keep their accounts clear, right? Beside me, Liu Chen and Liu Ruyan both thought I was just short on cash, using metaphysics as an excuse to ask for pocket money. For a moment, their eyes were filled with heartache. Without a word, Liu Ruyan pulled out her phone to transfer money. Is 30,000 enough? I'll transfer you 100,000. Tell me if you need more. Liu Chen, beaten to the punch by his daughter, immediately pulled a long face. He took out his phone, ready to transfer 300,000. He had to give more than his daughter. Hearing this, I knew this father-daughter duo had misunderstood. I had to emphasize, I'm telling the truth. Liu Ruyan looked at me with a smile, her tone full of indulgence. We know. Auntie Wu, standing to the side, also recovered from her shock. She played along perfectly. Eldest young master, are you saying I have karma on me? Then I'll have to trouble the eldest young master to help me resolve it. I looked at Auntie Wu. The spouse line in your life palace is severed. You should have lost your husband early, but you have a son. Judging from your facial features, your son is currently facing a calamity, and it's related to money. Although I wasn't an expert in face reading, these words were enough to make Auntie Wu freeze, especially when she heard the part about it being related to money. A flash of panic instantly crossed her eyes. I continued. Logically speaking, your karma shouldn't affect the host family, but your aura has a trace of connection with the Liu family. So, you're stealing the Liu family's wealth fortune. I said this last sentence with absolute certainty. Auntie Wu's body trembled violently. She frantically denied it in her heart. He must be talking nonsense. How could he possibly know what I did? At first, Liu Chen and Liu Ruyan just thought I was messing around. But seeing my tone grow increasingly serious, and hearing the latter part, their eyes couldn't help but take on a bit of solemnity. Zhou Yibai looked at Auntie Wu with feigned surprise. Are you saying Auntie Wu stole money from the family? Impossible. There must be a misunderstanding. Auntie Wu has been with the Liu family for almost 10 years. Why would she do such a thing? Auntie Wu was already panicking, but hearing Zhou Yibai's words, she immediately put on a wronged expression. She said aggrievedly, Eldest young master, you can't just say things like that. How could I possibly steal money from the family? Everyone in this house knows I'm not that kind of person. Saying that, she covered her face, her shoulders trembling slightly, looking as if she had suffered a massive injustice. Only then did I speak again, my voice unhurried. When did I ever say she stole money? As soon as these words came out, the few people present were all stunned. My cousin, Liu Qingqing, was the first who couldn't hold back. You just said yourself that Auntie Wu stole money. Why are you denying it now? I shot her a cold glance. I said she stole the Liu family's wealth fortune. The part about stealing money was said by Zhou Yibai over here. Stealing wealth fortune and stealing money are not the same thing. At the very least, you can't find it just by searching her. Liu Qingqing was completely confused by this and just thought I was making excuses. How do you even steal wealth fortune? Stop with this mystical nonsense. It sounds like a total bluff. Hearing this, Liu Ruyan shot her a faint glance, her eyes full of warning. Even if I was bluffing, with my status, so what if I bluffed a little? Seeing how calm my attitude was, Liu Ruyan vaguely felt that what I said might actually be true. I really couldn't be bothered to pay attention to Liu Qingqing anymore. I turned back to look at Auntie Wu, and suddenly pointed at a spot. What did you bury over there? The direction I pointed was exactly the flower bed in the corner of the garden where Auntie Wu worked. Auntie Wu was already on edge, and seeing me accurately point out the location, her heart instantly skipped a beat. Cold sweat was about to break out on her forehead. Seeing Auntie Wu's reaction, Liu Chen already had his answer. He turned and signaled the butler, "You go." The butler was already dying of curiosity. Receiving the order, he immediately hurried toward the direction I pointed. The onlookers also moved along with the butler, gathering around the edge of the flower bed, while others were just curious. Liu Qingqing alone had a face full of disbelief, following along with an expression that said she was waiting for a good show. They saw me pointing at the soil beneath a flower. Without a word, the butler squatted down and started digging with a small trowel. As the butler dug, Auntie Wu's face instantly turned deathly pale, her legs going weak. The soil in the flower bed was regularly turned over, so the butler dug effortlessly. In just a few scoops, he dug a small hole. Then, the trowel seemed to hit a hard object. His eyes lit up. I found something, the butler said, as he unearthed a black plastic bag from the dirt. The moment the butler untied the plastic layer, a foul stench suddenly burst out from the paper bundle inside. The butler couldn't help but change his expression. Fighting back his nausea, he reached out to grab the paper bundle, but I sharply stopped him. Don't touch it. The crowd watched as I quickly stepped forward and slapped a yellow talisman onto the paper bundle. I don't know if it was an illusion, but the moment the talisman was applied, the paper on the bundle rapidly darkened and aged. The butler glanced at me, and seeing me nod in approval, he finally put on gloves and carefully opened the paper bundle. The paper inside was red, seemingly the kind of paper used in ordinary temples for writing birth dates and fortune-telling. There were indeed several birth dates written on it, but the handwriting looked like it was written in blood. It had long since dried and turned black, emitting waves of foul stench. Besides that, there were also a few strands of hair inside, and a talisman drawn with bizarre symbols. Such an evil thing. It was obvious someone had deliberately buried it here. Combined with what I had just said, how could everyone not guess what this was used for? They just couldn't believe that this thing could actually steal wealth fortune. Seeing that something was actually dug up, Lu Qingqing's face was also full of disbelief. She whipped her head around to look at Auntie Wu. Auntie Wu's lips trembled, her face full of grievance. And no, I didn't bury it. I've really never seen these things before. Young master, young miss, you have to believe me, I said calmly, whether you buried it or not. Checking the villa's perimeter security cameras will make it crystal clear. This talisman must be sacrificed with the blood of the person transferring the luck, which means your blood, and the hair wrapped inside belongs to someone from the Lu family, used to steal the Lu family's wealth fortune. Am I wrong? Hearing this, Auntie Wu shuddered all over and slumped to the ground, her face deathly pale. Her reaction practically proved that she was the one who buried it. As for the hair, Auntie Wu had worked in the Lu family for so many years. Getting a few strands of a Lu family member's hair was as easy as flipping her hand. I just didn't know who the unlucky victim was. Auntie Wu was quickly taken away by the security guards to be detained. But this matter wasn't easy to handle. On the surface, she hadn't stolen any physical property. Calling the police would be useless. At most, it would be considered feudal superstition. After all, stealing wealth fortune has absolutely no legal basis. But after an incident like this, Auntie Wu definitely couldn't stay any longer. The butler turned to ask me, "Eldest young master, how should we dispose of these things? Just burn them." Meanwhile, in the villa's grand study, the butler reported what had happened in the garden too. Old Master Lu. The item dug up in the flower bed should be what the eldest young master mentioned. The thing used to steal the Lu family's wealth fortune. Old Master Lu was somewhat surprised. That child actually knows about these things? The butler thought for a moment and said, "It might also be a coincidence. The security footage shows the item was buried a month ago. According to the eldest young master, the Lu family should have already lost some wealth fortune. But I asked President Lu and the rest of the family, and there haven't been any financial losses recently." Old Master Lu listened thoughtfully, then just smiled. It seems it's just a little hobby of the child's. As long as it's harmless, let him be. As for Auntie Wu, even if she didn't succeed, since she harbored malicious intentions, she naturally can't stay in the Lu family anymore. On my end, hearing that the Lu family hadn't lost any money at all, my first reaction was disbelief. Impossible. Even if it was just a wisp, Auntie Wu had definitely stolen a portion of the Lu family's wealth fortune. Just based on that wisp of wealth fortune alone, it was enough for her family to strike it rich. I was absolutely certain of this. Lu Qingqing, who had initially seen that I actually got it right about Auntie Wu, was just reflecting on whether she had been too quick to judge. But the moment she heard there was no financial loss, she immediately started mocking me again. "I told you some people are just charlatans. Stealing wealth fortune? That's completely unheard of." I shot her a cold glance, my eyes clearly saying, "You brat, get out of my way." I couldn't be bothered with her. I turned directly to Lu Ruyan. "Have someone check this month's bank statements for Auntie Wu and her son, and you'll know." Lu Ruyan was also curious about my abilities. Without a word, she made a phone call and quickly received the results. The moment she saw the results, her expression became very subtle. Lu Qingqing and Zhou Yibai immediately leaned in out of curiosity. They saw Lu Ruyan silently lock her phone and look up at me. Auntie Wu did indeed strike it rich recently. She won a 5 million lottery. I immediately lifted my chin with an "I told you so" expression. I knew my calculations were right. Wealth fortune is a zero-sum game. If she gained 5 million, then the Lu family should have lost a few million. I looked completely serious. Lu Ruyan, however, looked a bit awkward. Last week, a branch company's project did have a minor issue, and we did lose a few million. She had thought the financial loss I mentioned would be at least in the hundreds of millions. She didn't expect it to be just a few million. Lu Ruyan's expression seemed to say, "It's not that I didn't remember it, it's just that your wording was too dramatic." I was utterly speechless. So it wasn't that their wealth fortune hadn't been siphoned off, but that this amount of money was just pocket change to the Lu family. The kind of money they wouldn't even bother picking up if they dropped it. Damn rich people. Even though I'm a Lu family member now, never mind. It turned out, Auntie Wu's son had gambled away their life savings a few months ago. Last month, he was arrested for drunk driving and killing someone. The victim's family demanded 2 million to issue a letter of forgiveness. That was why she resorted to the crooked idea of stealing the Lu family's wealth fortune. After being exposed, Auntie Wu confessed everything to Lu Ruyan. In less than an hour, the whole story was clear. The moment I heard about the fatal drunk driving incident, I subconsciously linked it to the evil aura on Auntie Wu. But on second thought, something felt off. If her son was the one who killed someone, she would at most be indirectly tainted by the evil aura. But the evil aura on her was clearly clinging to her directly. I pondered for a moment, then asked Lu Ruyan, "Can you let me see a picture of her son?" Lu Ruyan sent out a message and quickly received a photo of Auntie Wu's son. I zoomed in on the photo on the phone. With just one glance, I frowned deeply. This isn't right. This person shouldn't have these facial features. Saying that, I asked for his birth date and 8 characters, pulled out 3 copper coins from the small pouch at my waist, and cast a hexagram right then and there. Seeing this, Lu Qingqing beside me looked full of disdain. She sneered in a low voice. Playing the mystic, is there no end to this? I couldn't be bothered with her. I quickly finished the divination, looked up, and said to Lu Ruyan, "Judging from this person's 8 characters, he was destined to be born a fool. His past life was heavy with sins, so reincarnating as a human, he would be stripped of his intellect. But now, his intellect is fully intact. Auntie Wu must have used some method to make him normal. However, defying the heavens to change one's fate not only shortens one's lifespan, but also easily breeds a wicked person. Auntie Wu's son is addicted to gambling and killed someone while drunk driving. This is clearly the evil consequence of forcibly restoring his intellect." I said this in the living room and didn't deliberately avoid anyone. A maid nearby had been eavesdropping for a while. Hearing this, she looked conflicted, wanting to speak but not daring to. Liu Ruyan sharply noticed her odd behavior and asked, "Auntie Zhang?" The woman called Auntie Zhang immediately stepped forward and said, "When Auntie Wu first came to the Liu family, she did mention that her son had mental issues and was previously boarded at a special needs school." I immediately pressed her. "Then do you know when her son got better?" The auntie tried hard to recall. "About 8 years ago. I remember one day she was extremely happy, saying her son was cured. I think it was during the summer." I understood in my heart. I turned to ask Liu Ruyan, 8 years ago, around Auntie Wu or near the Liu family, did any normal child suddenly become a fool? As soon as I said this, everyone present froze. Lu Qingqing seemed to think of something, her face changing. She blurted out, "Uncle Wang's idiot son." The few people in the hall all turned their heads in unison to look at Lu Qingqing. Lu Yumo's face darkened. He scolded Lu Qingqing, "You are not to call the Wang family's young master that." Saying that, he turned his gaze back to me. I remained non-committal and simply asked, "Did that young master Wang visit the Liu family 8 years ago?" Lu Ruyan said with certainty, "He did." As the eldest granddaughter of the Liu family, Lu Ruyan was responsible for entertaining the younger guests. Naturally, she remembered it very clearly. Moreover, that Wang family young master was handsome and adorable, much more likable than the other children, leaving a deep impression on her. His horse riding accident seems to have happened right after he returned from visiting the Liu family. Since then, the Wang family never brought him here again. I asked directly, "Do you have a picture of him?" Lu Ruyan naturally didn't have one on hand, but finding one wasn't difficult. She quickly found a photo online and showed it to me. I only needed one glance to be certain, but the people in the living room didn't breathe a sigh of relief because of this. This involved the Wang family. It was no laughing matter. If it were true, it meant the Wang family's young master was indirectly harmed by the Liu family. Even if the Liu family was unaware, in the eyes of outsiders, the Liu family would still have to take the blame. Liu Yumo's eyes darkened. He finally spoke to me. "I'll send someone to give the Wang family a heads up. You stay out of this matter." Hearing Liu Yumo's words, I just looked at him quietly for a few seconds and finally nodded in agreement. If the Liu family wouldn't let me intervene, then I'd just do it secretly on my own. Either way, I was definitely earning this money. After dinner, led by second Auntie Wan, I finally saw my new room. The room was huge, with an inner and outer suite. The corners were piled high with various models and gifts. "This room has always been kept empty, just waiting for you to come home," Hewan said, intimately linking her arm through mine. I pulled my arm away expressionlessly. Hewan's smile stiffened for a moment. The moment the door closed, the warmth on her face vanished completely. She stared at the door with a gloomy expression. In the dead of night, the villa only had a few scattered lights on. I lay on the large dark blue bed, looking at the starry sky projector above, feeling a familial warmth I had never experienced before. After all, in the Zhao family, no one had ever looked forward to my birth. They probably only wished for me to die, so they could use my life to exchange for Zhao Peng's lifelong smooth sailing. I closed my eyes, no longer wanting to think about the Zhao family's mess. Instead, I pondered another question. From the moment I entered the Liu family until now, they had never mentioned whether my biological mother had passed away, or if there was some other hidden truth. Just as I was thinking, a familiar screech pierced my consciousness. I snapped my eyes open. My expression changed. I immediately got up and rushed to the window, looking toward the sound. The next second, a yellow talisman appeared out of thin air in my hand. I swiftly tossed it into the night sky, while silently chanting the incantation. "Heaven and earth be clear, yin and yang align. By the fiery decree, let the gentle breeze come." As soon as the words fell, I vaulted over with one hand, and leaped out of the third-floor window without hesitation. A gust of clear wind wrapped around the yellow talisman and flew back, instantly catching my falling body and delivering me safely to the ground. By the second-floor window, Lu Qingqing, who was gaming with her friends, caught a glimpse from the corner of her eye of something seemingly falling from upstairs. She subconsciously turned her head, and as a result of that momentary distraction, she was instantly killed in the game. My God! Lu Qingqing shrieked and jumped up. Remembering that I was the one living upstairs, she immediately poked her head out to look down. She only saw a figure sprinting quickly across the garden. Lu Qingqing's eyes widened, staring in the direction the figure disappeared. What the hell? Why did that back look so much like that fraud? While still a distance away from the main gate, I could vaguely hear the chaotic commotion over by the villa. A woo! Another familiar cry. I quickened my pace and ran to the front gate of the villa, through the iron fence. Sure enough, I saw several bodyguards chasing a little thing, running all over the yard. Seeing a bodyguard pull out a telescopic baton, about to smash it down, my face drastically changed. I shouted through the gate, "Don't touch him, he's my pet." At the same time as I spoke, I subconsciously wanted to throw a talisman. But before I could make a move, a voice came through the bodyguard's walkie-talkie. One of them made a hand signal, and the bodyguard immediately retracted his baton. The next second, the iron gate in front of me swung open. I quickly walked in. The surrounded little guy also immediately sprinted toward me. A snow-white, chubby little fox, dragging its big, fluffy tail, with a bulging pet backpack strapped to its back, bouncing up and down as it ran. The little fox darted up to me in a few steps, grabbed onto my leg, and started climbing up. It completely lost the fierce look it had when baring its fangs at the bodyguards just a moment ago. Helplessly, I supported its little bottom and scooped it into my arms, but I was muttering in my heart, with his sense of smell, "It's impossible for him to find the wrong place." Just as I was wondering, the corner of my eye was suddenly blinded by a flash of golden light. I subconsciously looked up and saw that familiar, dazzling cluster of golden light at the entrance. Looking closely, it was actually Lin Yi, the Golden Light Big Shot, the Great Demon King. This was actually his house? The golden light of merit surrounding Lin Yi was so blinding in the night that it made people dizzy. It took me a good while to adjust. Holding the little fox, I stepped forward and said, a bit embarrassed, "Miss Lin, I'm sorry. This is my pet fox. He came looking for me, but it seems he got the wrong place." Lin Yi's gaze fell on my thin pajamas. I was obviously in a rush to come out, and had only thrown on a jacket. I was holding the little fox in my arms, and there were a few paw prints on my clothes. Her brows furrowed imperceptibly, but her face remained expressionless. He didn't look like he was in the wrong place. Lin Yi's voice was deep and husky, carrying a chill in the night air. Those pale eyes casually swept over the little fox in my arms. I followed his gaze and looked down, only to find the little fox craning its neck, desperately trying to get closer to Lin Yi. Its bright black eyes were staring straight at him. I had no doubt that if I wasn't holding it back, it would have pounced on him already. In an instant, I understood why it had run to the wrong place. This little guy was clearly drawn in by the golden light radiating from him. "Hu Piaoliang," I said coldly, my voice full of warning. I immediately tightened my grip on the little thing. "You've got to be kidding me. I haven't even managed to rub off any of this overwhelming wealth and merit for myself yet, so it's definitely not your turn." But the worn little fox still stared longingly at Lin Yi. Seeing its pitiful look, I had no choice but to bite the bullet and take a step forward. I awkwardly explained, "He's just a sucker for good looks. He likes pretty things." I didn't expect that the moment I took a step forward, Lin Yi, who was standing at the entryway, suddenly took a half step back. My forward movement instantly froze. My mouth couldn't help but twitch. Good lord, I'm definitely being despised. I looked down at the dirt-covered little fox in my arms and immediately concluded that the big shot was definitely disgusted by him, not me. "I'm sorry for troubling you today, Mr. Lin. It's getting late. I'll come back tomorrow to formally apologize." Lin Yi looked at my serious expression and just gave a faint nod. Then he turned to the butler beside him and ordered, "Escort Mr. Liu home." Back at the Liu family home, as soon as I walked through the door, I saw Lu Ruyan waiting for me at the stairs. At the corner of the second-floor stairs, Lu Qingqing poked her head out, looking like she was ready for some drama. When she saw what was in my arms, she couldn't help but demand, "What the hell is that in your arms? Our house doesn't allow furry pets." I glanced at the overly dramatic girl and asked deadpan, "Then how did you get in?" Beside me, Lu Ruyan burst out laughing. Lu Qingqing realized it a second later, her face turning red as she was about to blow up. "It's so late. Grandpa and the others should be asleep by now, right?" My casual remark instantly silenced her. Lu Qingqing was furious, but could only swallow her anger and turn back upstairs. I then turned to look at Lu Ruyan. "This is my pet. He knew I moved, so he came looking for me." Pausing for a moment, I added, "I rented a place for him outside. I'll send him away first thing tomorrow morning." After hearing my words, Liu Ruyan rubbed my head and smiled. "This is your home. You can keep whatever you want in your own home." I froze for a second. "But didn't Lu Qingqing say furry things aren't allowed? You said it yourself. If she can get in, why can't your fox?" Lu Ruyan raised an eyebrow, smiling, throwing my own words to Lu Qingqing right back at me. Seeing me still staring at her blankly, Lu Ruyan reassured me, "Don't worry. Your big sister's got you. Go get some sleep." I obediently nodded at her. "Good night, sis." When I returned to my room and closed the door, I suddenly realized a faint smile had crept onto my lips at some point. Looking down, I saw the little fox in my arms staring straight at me, its eyes full of curiosity. I immediately dropped my smile and asked with a straight face, "Didn't we agree you wouldn't run off? Do you know you almost got electrocuted today?" Hu Piaoliang jumped to the floor, spun in a circle, and gestured to the little bag on his back. He looked as if he was saying, "You moved, so I came to find you." "Nothing wrong with that." I gave a soft snort, crouched down, and took off his little backpack. Then I carried him into the bathroom and scrubbed him clean from head to tail. Only then did I take him to bed and go to sleep. The next day, I woke up a bit late. Looking at the large bedroom, I was still a bit dazed. But the very next second, I heard a sudden shriek from downstairs. Where did this wild fox come from? Butler, catch it quickly. I was instantly wide awake. I shot up from the bed, looked at the empty room, and my face fell. Hu Piaoliang. I rushed downstairs frantically. As soon as I reached the bottom, I saw a snow-white figure dart to my feet and scramble all the way up into my arms. At the same time, the rest of the Liu family also saw the little fox cowering in my arms. Just as they were about to speak, Liu Ruyan's cold voice rang out. I'm the one who allowed Xingxi to keep the fox. If you have a problem with it, take it up with me. Hearing this, the others had no choice but to drop it. After breakfast, I planned to go apologize to Lin Yi. I thought that since I woke up late and wasted so much time, Lin Yi would have already left for the office. But to my surprise, Lin Yi was actually still home. He was just sitting there casually, radiating golden light all over, as dazzling as ever. I blinked, taking a moment to adjust my eyes, before carrying the little fox over. Mr. Lin, you're home. Lin Yi watched me blinking at him, a hint of darkness flashing through his ink-black eyes. But his face remained indifferent, as he said, You mentioned yesterday that you'd come to apologize. I froze on the spot. I was shocked. Did the big shot really wait around all morning just because of my one offhand comment? Snapping back to reality, I quickly said, I'm really sorry about last night. I caused you a lot of trouble. This is a peace amulet I carved myself. Please accept it as my apology. I handed over a small pouch containing a jade tag. Lin Yi took the pouch and casually handed it to his butler. Seeing this, I couldn't help but remind him, a peace amulet only works if you carry it on you. Lin Yi paused. Then, he stuffed the pouch into his suit pocket. With the apology out of the way, Lin Yi got up to leave. Seeing this, I immediately grabbed the little fox and followed him, wanting to soak up some of the big shot's golden light. Lin Yi noticed my little scheme and asked coldly, What are you doing? Since you're heading out, could you give me a ride? I happen to be going out too. I replied calmly. Those deep, dark eyes scrutinized me. Where to? The Wang family. My eyes darted around. As I remembered, I still had some side cash to earn, although Lin Yi was a bit suspicious. As to why I knew the Wang family, he didn't ask any further. The car had a smooth ride, arriving unimpeded at the gates of the Wang family villa. After dropping me off, Lin Yi drove straight off. Hearing that Lin Yi's car had arrived, the Wang family curiously came downstairs to welcome him, but to their surprise, they only saw a young man, holding a little fox in his arms. Mrs. Wang asked politely, And you are? Thinking of the Liu family's attitude earlier, I took out a Qingfeng Temple peace amulet from my bag. I ran into Grandma Wang a while ago and saw she dropped this, so I brought it back for her. Mrs. Wang didn't overthink it. I see. Thank you for making the trip. But how do you know our old lady? Although Mrs. Wang was polite, she was still quite vigilant. I was about to explain with a straight face, but my hand subtly gave Hu Piaoliang's belly a squeeze. Receiving my signal, Hu Piaoliang immediately kicked off his hind legs and leaped out of my arms. Then he bolted straight for the second floor. I pretended to be caught off guard and chased after him. Hu Piaoliang, come back. Suddenly, a young boy's startled cry came from upstairs. Mrs. Wang's face changed, and she hurriedly chased after us. As soon as we reached the second floor, we saw a teenager squatting on the floor, giggling at the little fox in front of him. Little Yan, Mrs. Wang cried out. She quickly walked over and pulled her son behind her. Mommy puppy. Wang Yan looked about 15 or 16, his eyes full of pure innocence. But the moment he spoke, the naive and foolish tone in his voice was like a toddler's. I frowned deeply, my gaze landing on a cluster of black chi between the boy's eyebrows. Mrs. Wang noticed the change in my expression and immediately said coldly, If there's nothing else, Mr. Liu, please take your pet and leave. I won't see you out. Wait a minute. I called out to Mrs. Wang, pulling another peace amulet from my pocket. My fox startled young Master Wang just now. As an apology, give this amulet to him. It can keep him safe once. Young Master Wang has an extraordinary brow bone and should have had a destiny of endless fortune. This type of destiny usually comes with a red mole on the chest, which serves to gather blessing. But his fate was swapped when he was young, resulting in a flaw in his destiny, and the red mole has faded as a result. I observe that he will face a tribulation in the next 2 days. You better keep him at home and not let him go out. Mrs. Wang was already sensitive about her son's condition. Hearing my words now, her face instantly darkened. She snapped, Where did a fraud like you come from? How dare you curse my son? Get out of my house right now, or I'll call the cops on you. Seeing this, I placed the protective amulet on the nearby cabinet, picked up the little fox, and turned to leave. Mrs. Wang looked at her handsome son, tears welling up in her eyes, but her gaze involuntarily drifted to the boy's chest. Her little Yan did indeed seem to have a faint red mole on his chest. The more Mrs. Wang thought about it, the more unsettled she felt. She had someone escort Wang Yan back to his room, then hurriedly turned away to call her husband. But what Mrs. Wang didn't know was that, as soon as she left, Wang Yan secretly poked his head out of his room, and then carefully sneaked downstairs. As evening approached, I packed up all my things, and took a cab back to the Liu family home with Hu Piaoliang. I had just opened my room door and was about to set my things down, when suddenly a small figure rushed over. I turned to see 6-year-old Liu Shuo shoving me. He pushed me while yelling, This is my room? You're not allowed in my room. I was dumbfounded. I glanced behind. Liu Shuo was definitely my room. Just then, Yuan saw what was happening and quickly scolded in a low voice, Liu Shu, don't be so rude. Hurry up and apologize to your cousin. Instead, Lu Shuo pointed at the room behind him and whined to Hewan. Mom, didn't you say this room was going to be mine? Why is he living in it? You broke your promise. I don't care. This is my room. Hewan looked thoroughly embarrassed. She could only force an awkward smile and explain. It's just that little Shuo really likes that room. I didn't know Xingxi was coming back before, so I just then. Lu Ruyan's voice drifted over from the other end of the hallway. Whether Xingxi came back or not, that is his room. Her face still held its usual gentle and warm expression, but her eyes carried a trace of icy chill. She looked at Hewan and asked coolly, "Second aunt? Are you not clear on that?" Lu Wei from the second branch looked at her older sister and was a bit dissatisfied with her attitude toward her mother. She stepped forward and said, "Big sis, my mom didn't do it on purpose. It's just a room. The style of that room was meant for a kid anyway. Little Shuo likes it, so can't you just let him have it?" As she spoke, her gaze subtly swept over me. He's an adult, after all. Is he really going to fight a child for a room? I raised an eyebrow slightly. I don't like arguing with people, but if someone is being passive-aggressive with me, I won't pretend I didn't hear it. So what you're saying is, because he's young, and he likes it, I should just give it up? And if I don't, then I'm fighting him for it. Is that it? Lu Wei looked as if it were only natural. I gave a look of realization. Well then, I really like the painting. 1,000 Li of rivers and mountains in the National Museum. If you can convince the museum to give it to me, then I'll give the room to him. How about that? I threw my hands up and emphasized deadpan. After all, I'm young too. I just want a national treasure, that's all. Lu Feng from the third branch also stepped forward. Lu Wei isn't wrong. That kind of mecha-themed room was prepared for a kid in the first place. It's not like you even like it that much. Why do you insist on fighting a child for it? If it's really an issue, I'll give you my room, and you give that room to little Shuo. Let's just leave it at that and stop arguing. Making a fuss over a room from yesterday until today. It's an absolute joke. Lu Qingqing also chimed in, muttering, "It's all because of a certain someone. Our family never had this much drama before." Listening to them gang up on me one by one, the smile on Lu Ruyan's lips slowly turned icy. Lu Wei spoke up again impatiently. "At the end of the day, you just don't want to give it up, right? I just don't want to give it up." My clear, cold voice reached everyone's ears. Lu Wei and the others hadn't expected me to refuse so righteously, but I did. I looked at them expressionlessly. Seeing this, Lu Shuo realized the room wasn't going to be his, and immediately burst into loud sobs. "Wah, I hate you. Get out of my house." The moment "get out" left his mouth, the hallway fell into a momentary silence. The next second, a sharp, warning shout rang out. "Lu Shuo!" Lu Ruyan glared at Lu Shua, her face colder and sterner than ever before. It instantly made the bratty Liu Shu shudder in fear. Just then, Lu Chen and Lu Tong walked up from downstairs. Lu Chen's face was as cold as ever. "What is all this noise about?" he demanded with authority. Hewan's heart instantly skipped a beat. She quickly pulled Lu Shu over and explained with a smile. "The kids are just making a fuss. It's my fault. I didn't think things through when preparing Xingxi's room." Little Shuo was throwing a tantrum wanting to swap with Xingxi, but Xingxi refused. Lu Tong asked slowly, "Isn't it just a room? Didn't we rearrange everything yesterday?" But Lu Chen frowned and looked at me. "Let's put the room issue aside for now. Xingxi, did you go to the Wang family today?" My expression didn't change. I nodded. "Yes." I saw Lu Chen's brow furrow slightly, making his face look even more stern. "Didn't I tell you yesterday to stay out of this? I will handle the Wang family." Seeing this, Lu Ruyan stepped in front of me. "Did something happen?" Lu Tong explained from the side. The Wang family called eldest brother, saying that Xingxi went to Mrs. Wang this afternoon and said some strange things. They asked eldest brother what was going on. Hearing this, everyone's gaze immediately shot toward me. Those looks were either shocked or condemning, clearly blaming me for being a busybody. Lu Chen looked at me, his face dark. After a long while, he pointed out, "You were reckless in this matter. Even if you really know what you're doing, you shouldn't have rashly gone to their door and said such things. I will explain things to the Wang family, but stay out of young Master Wang's business from now on." I opened my mouth, about to say something, when I heard Lu Chen add, "As for the room, since little Shuo likes it, just give it to him. I'll have the butler pick a new room for you. You can redecorate it however you like, it's fine." Lu Chen's words left me stunned in place. After a moment, my tone was light and calm. "No need. I just looked at Lu Chen like that. I'll move out." Hearing this, Lu Chen's usually steady, mountain-like face showed a flash of shock. Lu Chen furrowed his brows, wanting to ask for clarification, but I had no intention of listening any further. I picked up the little fox that had dashed out of the room, then grabbed the bag I had brought back from my rented apartment and turned to head downstairs. Lu Ruyan hadn't spoken a word just now, but now she hurried down after me. I thought she was coming to make me stay, but to my surprise, she directly ordered the butler to arrange a car to take me out. Lu Ruyan's beautiful face was full of gentleness. "You did the right thing. If you just blindly tolerate them, people will only think you're easy to bully, and they'll become even more brazen later on. Instead, by showing your stance right from the start like this, others will have some reservations. You are my little brother. Since they can't seem to recognize that fact, then I'll just have to snap their brains straight and drain all the water out of their heads. That should make them see clearly." When Lu Ruyan said this, she wore her usual gentle, faint smile. However, in those peach blossom eyes, there was a trace of dangerous, icy chill. I could almost picture Lu Ruyan smiling, while twisting the heads off our cousins. I gulped, and softly agreed, okay. After a thought, I pulled 2 more pouches from my bag, and handed them to Lu Ruyan. Protective amulets I carved myself. I originally planned to give them to you and him. Hearing that I made them myself, Lu Ruyan's beautiful eyes flickered slightly. She then smiled and accepted them. I'll keep them close to me. I nodded, turned around, and got into the car. Lu Ruyan stood in place, watching the car drive away. Only then did she slowly turn around. The faint smile on her lips instantly vanished, replaced by a pair of frosty eyes. Inside the villa's living room, Lu Chen and the others were sitting on the sofa waiting. Seeing Lu Ruyan return alone, they knew she hadn't managed to make me stay. Lu Chen's expression was a bit ugly. Xingxi refused to stay. Lu Ruyan didn't answer his question. She walked straight up to him and said coldly, "Father, regarding the exact details of what happened today, I think it's necessary for me to explain it to you in detail." As the evening lights were lit, it was supposed to be dinner time in the Lu family villa, but the atmosphere was heavy. Old Master Liu sat in the center of the living room, with the younger generation sitting silently on both sides. Lu Qin sat opposite Old Master Liu, his face as cold as frost. After Lu Ruyan had clearly explained the entire course of today's events, he finally realized just how much his actions had disappointed me. Lu Chen's sharp gaze swept over the group, full of oppressive weight. After a long silence, he slowly spoke. "If you are unwilling to accept Xingxi, then you don't need to call me eldest uncle anymore." Although Lu Chen's voice wasn't loud, it was stricter than ever before. The younger generation almost instinctively straightened their backs, hastily expressing that they wouldn't dare. Lu Chen's eyes darkened slightly, his voice carrying an imperceptible suppression. "You know, Xingxi was lost for 18 years. Now that he's finally managed to come back, I don't want him to suffer even the slightest grievance. I won't demand that every one of you accommodate him, but at the very least, treat him like a normal family member." He paused, his voice growing even heavier. "If you can't do that, then I will choose to move out and live separately with Xingxi and Ruyan." The moment Lu Chen said this, it was like a massive boulder dropping into water. Everyone's faces drastically changed. They never expected that Lu Chen would take it this far. Just for a Lu Xingxi, he was actually threatening to split the family. Right at that moment, Old Master Lu, who had been completely silent since the beginning, finally spoke. Without needing to raise his voice, but with an unquestionable tone, he said, "Eldest, I don't want to hear those words a second time. The Lu family is a single entity. As long as I am still around, no one is allowed to speak of moving out again." Hearing this, everyone fell as silent as winter cicadas. No one dared to contradict the old master's words. Seeing the younger generation, everyone deeply realized the seriousness of the problem. Old Master Lu didn't say much else. He turned his head to look at the person sitting to the side, the silent Liu Ruyan, and said, "Find some time to go and bring your brother back. The family has arranged a banquet to officially announce his status as the eldest young master of the Lu family. He still has to come back." Lu Ruyan nodded slightly. I knew what Old Master Lu wanted to say next. Suddenly, the butler walked in from outside and said to Lu Chen, "President Lu, Mr. and Mrs. Wang are here." Lu Chen furrowed his brows slightly. The Wang family coming over in person at this hour. Could it be about my business again? Even though I shouldn't have gone to their door and said those things, coming all the way to my house to interrogate me is a bit much. Just as he was thinking this, the Wang couple had already hurried inside. Their faces were filled with anxiety. Lu Chen thought, since I was the one who went over first and caused a misunderstanding, he had no choice but to soften his expression and stand up to welcome them. "President Wang, Mrs. Wang. Since he was being naughty today and caused you trouble, I've already taught him a lesson." He thought that by showing his stance first, the two of them wouldn't keep harping on it. But to his surprise, their expressions changed drastically upon hearing this. Then, they looked completely panicked and ashamed. "President Lu, please don't say that. It was us who didn't understand the situation and misunderstood Mr. Lu. Mr. Lu was kindly warning us, but we were the ones who couldn't tell good from bad. We know we were wrong. Please, you must let us apologize to Grandmaster Lu in person." The moment the Wang couple finished speaking, the living room fell into an eerily bizarre silence. Lu Wei and the others widened their eyes in sheer disbelief. "Grandmaster Lu? What the hell?" Lu Chen opened his mouth, a bit dumbfounded. "Excellency, he's not here." Wang Yoming and his wife panicked upon hearing this. They quickly pressed, "Has the Grandmaster not returned yet? When will he be back? We can wait for him here." Hearing this, the Lu family members all flashed a hint of awkwardness on their faces, not knowing how to respond. Seeing the Lu family stay silent, the Wang couple grew even more anxious. "President Lu." Just as Lu Chen was about to speak, Lu Ruyan chimed in. "Excellency probably won't be coming back today. Uncle Wang, if you're in a hurry, I can help you contact Xingxi. If it's convenient for him, I can take you to find him." Wang Yongming couldn't care less about being polite anymore. "Then I'll have to trouble you." Liu Ruyan turned and walked to the side to make a call. She quickly walked back. "Excellency says he knows why you two are here. He's already headed to the Wang family villa. You can just meet him directly over there." Hearing this, the Wang couple didn't even bother exchanging pleasantries with the Liu family. They quickly said their goodbyes and prepared to leave. Seeing this, Liu Ruyan followed them out. "I'll see you two back." By the time the three of them arrived at the Wang family villa area, I had just arrived as well. Mrs. Wang no longer had the polite distance she showed during the day. Her eyes were full of warmth. "Grandmaster Lu, I was too arbitrary about what happened today. Thank you for still being willing to come. I didn't really care about such trivial matters. I nodded. Let's go inside first. Hearing this, the Wang couple immediately led me inside. As we walked, they recounted what had happened today. I could see how much the Wang family cared for Wang Yan. I spoke up to reassure them. Don't worry, I told you. Young Master Wang has a fate of enduring fortune. Even if it suffers some damage, it will keep his life safe. As we spoke, we arrived at the door to Wang Yan's room. The moment the door opened, a streak of flames rushed straight toward us. Before anyone could react, I casually raised my hand and waved it. The incoming fire snake instantly dissipated without a trace. Wang Yongming looked helpless as he looked at an old lady in the room. Mom, what's going on here? Hearing her son's words, old Madam Wang explained, didn't you say little Yan ran into something unclean? So I asked someone to invite a grandmaster over. Don't worry, it's nothing major. Saying that, she shifted her gaze to me and Lu Ruyan, looking suspicious. She naturally recognized Lu Ruyan as the granddaughter of the Lu family, so she fixed her eyes on me, frowning slightly. Is this the grandmaster you found? Why is he just a young kid? The more old Madam Wang looked at me, the more unreliable she thought I was. Wanting to knock me down a peg, she said bluntly, what kind of skills do you have? Show us what you've got. I ignored old Madam Wang. I nodded at Mrs. Wang, then bypassed the old lady, and the grandmaster performing the ritual, walking over to Wang Yan's bedside. I pulled Wang Yan's fingers over to take a look, then turned my head, and said to the crowd, I know the reason for Wang Yan's coma. Hearing this, Mrs. Wang asked anxiously, Grandmaster Lu, what exactly is the reason? I chuckled lightly. Someone is using dark arts to try and steal his lifespan. Hearing this, the Wang couple's expressions changed. They hurriedly asked, Grandmaster Lu, what do you mean by dark arts? Is someone trying to take little Yan's life? I waved my hand. They don't want his life. Someone has their eyes on his fate and wants to borrow his lifespan to extend their own. Saying that, I pulled Wang Yan's hand over again, gesturing for the two of them to look at the faint red mark on his thumb. Seeing that barely noticeable red mark, Wang Yoming's face grew even uglier. He asked, Grandmaster, does that mean little Yan's life has already been borrowed? Can we get it back? I nodded confidently. Yes. Then, I took out a small brush dipped in cinnabar from my backpack, along with a jade token. With a stroke of the vermilion brush on the jade token, I gently placed the jade token on Wang Yan's forehead. Next, I pulled out a few yellow talisman papers. I took a step back, brought my palms together, and as I pulled my hands apart, the 5 talisman papers originally clamped in my palms spread out, standing perfectly straight in the center of my palms. Then, my thin lips parted slightly. The heavenly Tao is clear and bright. The earthly Tao is peaceful and still, blending yin and yang, dispelling all evil spirits. By my command, break. As the final word fell, I thrust my palms outward. The yellow talisman suspended in the air, instantly shot in unison toward Wang Yan, who was lying on the bed. The moment the talismans stuck to him, wisps of black smoke drifted out from the center of the talismans. The jade token resting on Wang Yan's forehead snapped into 2 pieces with a crack. The next second, everyone's eyes widened in shock, because Wang Yan, who had been in a deep coma, actually opened his eyes and gave a silly smile. Seeing that his son was back to his usual self, Wang Yoming's hanging heart finally settled. He turned to me and asked, Grandmaster Lu, is little Yan all right now? I shook my head and said, we still need to find the life borrowing contract young Master Wang signed and burn it. Hearing that the culprit might try to target little Yan again, the Wang couple's expressions instantly grew tense. Mrs. Wang immediately pulled little Yan tightly into her arms, fiercely protective of her child. By now, Wang Yongming was completely convinced of my abilities. Hearing this, his face turned extremely serious. With his brows deeply furrowed, he said, I already had someone check the surveillance footage from the time little Yan went missing, but we didn't find anything. I can send more people to investigate, but I'm worried we won't get results right away. By then, he was worried the other party would find another sorcerer ahead of time to borrow little Yan's lifespan again. He didn't want little Yan to fall into a coma again. Wang Yongming pleaded, Grandmaster Lu, is there any other way to find the mastermind behind this? Rest assured, as long as you save my son, you can name your price. I pondered for a moment. Actually, it's not impossible. As I spoke, I suddenly patted my pocket and pulled out a white rabbit creamy candy. I walked up to the bed and handed the candy to Wang Yan. Seeing his eyes visibly light up, I couldn't help but chuckle. I comforted him with a gentle voice. Little Yan, do you want to play a game with me? I'll even treat you to some candy. Wang Yan stared at the white rabbit candy, clearly wanting it very much, but he still tilted his head and looked at his mom for permission. Mrs. Wang immediately nodded. Big brother wants to play a game with you. Little Yan, play with big brother, okay? Seeing his mom agree, Wang Yan immediately smiled so wide his eyes turned into crescent. He took the candy, then happily gave me a firm nod. I smiled gently and took out a thin red string from my bag. I tied one end of the red string to little Yan's thumb to form a contract, then took out the small cinnabar brush again. Quickly, on little Yan's thumb, I drew a tiny runic symbol. The very second I lifted my brush, the rune on Wang Yan's thumb flashed with a golden light. The light swept along the red string. Then, as if being pulled, the short red string suddenly suspended itself straight up, pointing in a specific direction. The people in the room instantly widened their eyes, faces full of shock. Little Yan's eyes went completely round, as he stared at the sight in amazement. Wow, I have magic! The corners of my mouth curled up slightly, as I gestured to him. Well then, Little Yan, get up now and follow the direction the red string is pointing. Magic will lead you to a surprise. Little Yan's eyes lit up again, ignoring everything else. He excitedly got ready to set off. The Wang couple, watching from the side, understood what was happening, and immediately hurried to keep up. At the same time, they notified all the bodyguards in the villa to follow along. They were determined to find the person who dared to harm Little Yan's life and make them pay the price they deserved. Our group headed downstairs. Not knowing where we would end up, Wang Yongming directly ordered someone to prepare the cars. At this moment, I suddenly spoke up. No need for cars. A golf cart to get around is enough. Mrs. Wang looked at me in confusion. I explained, normal life borrowing spells usually involve putting one's hair and money inside a red envelope and dropping it on the street. When someone picks it up and spends the money, their lifespan is quietly borrowed. This method is like casting a wide net. You can't borrow much life, and the victim barely notices. But young Master Wang was clearly specifically targeted, and they even used a contract method. This means the person must know Little Yan. As soon as my words fell, Mrs. Wang gasped sharply on the spot. In the blink of an eye, her eyes turned red. Her Little Yan had suffered an accident as a child that left him mentally impaired. His life was already much harder than others, yet someone actually targeted his lifespan. Did they think her Little Yan hadn't suffered enough? Who exactly was it? Who had such a deep grudge against her Little Yan that they wouldn't even spare an innocent, disabled child? The originally gentle expression on Wang Yongming's face also took on a ruthless edge. With a dark look, he began to carefully recall any enemies their family might have offended. Seeing Wang Yongming's grave expression, I reminded him, young Master Wang was only missing for about 10 minutes. We can basically determine that the culprit is right here in the villa area. That person probably lives here too. This way, the target range is narrowed down to the absolute minimum. Wang Yongming was indeed faced with a dilemma. Their family had lived in this villa area for 5 or 6 years. It was considered a high-end residential area, with few residents, almost all of whom they had met. But he didn't feel the Wang family had offended anyone. As I was thinking, over by the main gate, a fleet of patrol carts stopped in front of the Wang family villa. Someone stepped out of the lead cart and walked straight toward us. Before Little Yan's incident, I already screened all the suspicious households in the community. It shouldn't be anyone the Wang family has a grudge against. I heard a woman's voice, soft, yet laced with a chilling edge. Under the lights, I could see she looked quite similar to Wang Yongming. She had delicate features and a tall, slender figure. She just looked at me quietly. I recognized her at a glance. That was the Wang family's other daughter, Wang Yan's older sister, Wang Yumo. Ever since Little Yan's incident, Wang Yumo had been busy working outside. She heard her parents had invited me over. Although she didn't hold much hope, she had kept in touch with her family the whole time. Therefore, she knew everything that had happened crystal clear. But the moment she saw me, she still seemed a bit surprised. She knew I was Lu Ruyan's younger brother, but she didn't expect me to look so young. Beside me, Lu Ruyan also noticed Wang Yumo at this moment. They gave each other a slight nod, as a greeting. Seeing his sister return, Little Yan was visibly overjoyed. He wanted to pounce on her and give her a hug, but was afraid the magic in his hand would break. So he just kept staring at his sister, carefully inching closer to her step by step. Seeing that Little Yan was fine, Wang Yumo's expression softened significantly. However, she knew the matter wasn't resolved yet. She quickly gathered everyone to get on the carts. 7 patrol carts lined up in a row. All at once, they had practically borrowed all the property management's patrol carts. The convoy, imposing and aggressive, drove deep into the villa area. Soon, following the guidance of the red string, we stopped in front of a 4-story villa. The moment we arrived, the disbelief on Mrs. Wang's face was palpable. How could it be this family? Seeing that Mrs. Wang indeed recognized the place, I turned my head and looked at her quietly. Mrs. Wang immediately gritted her teeth. It's the Jiang family. Actually, our two families didn't interact much in the past, but the Jiang family's child is one of the few in the neighborhood who is willing to play with Little Yan. After all, Little Yan looks like an adult. The truth is, the other kids think he's stupid and ignore him. Only the little girl from the Jiang family never minded, and often took the initiative to play with him. Because of this, our two families became somewhat close. To show our gratitude, the Wang family even introduced a few business deals to the Jiang family. Mrs. Wang never in a million years expected that such a neighbor would actually scheme against her. Little Yan's life. Who could stomach such a chilling betrayal? The Jiang family. Has an elder or someone else recently fallen seriously ill? I suddenly spoke up, casually adding, the kind that's on their deathbed. Old Madame Jiang has always been tough as nails. Mrs. Wang muttered softly, then suddenly remembered something. But the child who plays with Little Yan got sick a few days ago and was hospitalized. Hearing this, I completely understood. The Jiang family wanted to borrow a life precisely to save that child. The Wang family also instantly realized what was going on. Immediately casting everything else aside, they ran straight up and pounded on the Jiang family's front door. It was already getting late. With the Wang family showing up in such a loud, massive group, Mrs. Jiang came out, saw the scene, and couldn't help but ask, Yuehua, what happened? Why did you bring so many people to my house? Convinced that the Jiang family had harmed little Yan, Mrs. Wang had no desire to be polite with her. She immediately sneered. Stop playing dumb. Your family hired someone to murder my little Yan. You want to use my little Yan's life to extend your Yao Yao's life. Did you really think no one would find out? Hearing this, Mrs. Jiang's eyes clearly flashed with a hint of panic, but she quickly feigned confusion and anger. What nonsense are you spouting? Why would I harm your little Yan? Borrowing lives? I have no idea what you're talking about. You can't just jump to conclusions and storm my house. You're being completely unreasonable. How could Mrs. Wang not see through her guilty, shifty expression? She couldn't be bothered to waste breath on her. The most urgent thing right now was to quickly destroy that life-borrowing contract. Little Yan, come inside with Mom to find it. Little Yan was very familiar with the Jiang household. Now that his mom told him to go in, he immediately raised his hand, ready to happily charge inside. When Mrs. Jiang saw that eerily upright red string, she realized something and her face instantly changed. She yelled loudly, "What are you trying to do? Are you really going to force your way in? Today, we're forcing our way in," Mrs. Wang said, raising her hand. The Wang family bodyguards, already prepared, swiftly rushed forward and blocked the other people in the house. Seeing this, I followed Mrs. Wang, little Yan, and the others, sprinting into the house along the path of the red string. We followed it all the way to a room on the second floor. I pulled open a drawer, and sure enough, inside was a life-borrowing contract written on red paper. Mrs. Jiang, blocked downstairs by the bodyguards, was frantically making a phone call. Seeing us come downstairs, clutching something in our hands, her face instantly turned terrifyingly pale. She never expected we would actually find that thing. She immediately shrieked and lunged over to snatch it. "Give that back to me." How could Wang Yumo let her get close? She stepped forward to block her, grabbed her, and shoved her away, pinning Mrs. Jiang directly to the ground. Worried it might be snatched back, Mrs. Wang simply rushed into the kitchen, turned on the gas stove, and set the life-borrowing contract on fire. Seeing her actions, Mrs. Jiang's eyes widened so hard they nearly tore. Disregarding her image, she wailed loudly and charged over again to stop Mrs. Wang. Mrs. Wang turned around and delivered a vicious slap. Smack! The sound rang out loud and clear. Before Mrs. Jiang could even react, she took a slap to the face. Unwilling to let it go, Mrs. Wang grabbed her by the hair and raised her hand, delivering 2 more resounding slaps. At that moment, Mrs. Wang had lost all the grace of a wealthy socialite. Thinking of how the Jiang family had framed her son, she was practically driven mad with hatred. How dare you harm my son? How dare you use dark arts to curse people? How did my little Yan ever wrong you, for you to do something so vicious? All the grievances little Yan had suffered over the years due to his disability, combined with the terrifying ordeal of the entire day, erupted like a flood at this very moment. Mrs. Wang cried as she grabbed Mrs. Jiang and beat her, completely disregarding her image, acting entirely like a shrew. To a mother, her child is her absolute bottom line. You dare touch my child? I'll show you what a high society shrew looks like. Mrs. Jiang had never seen Mrs. Wang like this before. In the past, Mrs. Wang was always an intellectual, elegant lady. Even if someone angered her, she would maintain her poise and handle it calmly. But now, she was literally like an enraged lioness. No one dared to approach. Little Yan was also frightened by his mother. Completely forgetting about the magic game, he burst into loud, wailing tears. That cry instantly snapped Mrs. Wang back to reality. She finally let go of Mrs. Jiang, stumbled over to little Yan, and opened her arms to hug him tightly. With a trembling voice, she comforted him. "Little Yan, don't cry. Mommy's good boy, don't cry." I watched as Mrs. Wang spoke, her tears falling uncontrollably. She held little Yan in a death grip, crying loudly together with him. Wang Yoming and Wang Yumo watched the mother and son crying bitterly in each other's arms, their own eyes growing wet. Their chests felt tight, as if blocked by something. When they looked at Mrs. Jiang, their gazes were terrifyingly cold. Mrs. Jiang was dizzy from the beating, her face swelling up rapidly. When she finally managed to recover her senses and saw the mother and son crying together, she grew even more furious. She was the one who got beaten up and she wasn't even crying. What right did they have to cry? Right at this moment, old Madame Jiang and Mrs. Jiang's husband finally rushed back. The moment they walked in and saw the scene before them, they instantly flew into a rage. "What is your Wang family trying to do? Call the police." "I'm calling the police." Wang Yongming hadn't found it appropriate to strike a woman earlier, but seeing President Jiang now, he immediately sneered and stepped forward. "Go ahead and call the police. I'll compensate you with some money at most. But your Jiang family used dark magic to hurt my son. Even if the Wang family has to use every connection we have, we will make you pay in blood." Hearing Wang Yongming's words, bringing the dark magic out into the open, Zhang Donghui's heart skipped a beat. He instinctively looked at his wife, only to see her face swollen, crying out in pain. They burned the life-borrowing contract. Hearing that, our Wang family not only uncovered the truth, but also found and burned the contract. Zhang Donghui looked as if all his strength had been drained. Old Madame Jiang's eyes widened in shock. It was as if the sky had fallen. She first lashed out at Madame Jiang, cursing, "You're so useless. You can't even keep an eye on a simple item." Then, very lied, Old Madame Zhang burst into loud, wailing sobs. How could you burn my Yao Yao's lifeline? That was my Yao Yao's very life. The Wang family is so vicious and cruel. Wang Yaoming and the others never expected that these people would dare to play the victim. Their faces twitched with anger. Just as they were about to speak, they saw old Madame Wang, who had squeezed her way to the front. Out of nowhere, she opened her mouth and spat fiercely at old Madame Zhang. Your family clearly schemed against my grandson, and you have the nerve to call us cruel. You're the one with the blackest heart, you old hag. Old Madame Zhang stiffened her neck, without a single trace of shame on her face. Your grandson is just a retard anyway. What's the point of a retard living? He might as well give all his lifespan to my granddaughter. My granddaughter is such a smart child. Why should her life be cut short? Madame Zhang also ran over, begging Wang Yan bitterly. Xiao Yan, auntie, had no other choice. Your sister Yao Yao is sick, and she has to live. For the sake of all the time she played with you, please help her. Okay? Auntie only needs 50 years of your life. That's all. Hearing this, mother-in-law and daughter-in-law spout such nonsense. Madame Wang was so furious she was about to explode. What did they mean her son was retarded and worthless? Did her son deserve to die young just because he was a little slow? Madame Wang wanted nothing more than to slap her 50 times across the face. But right now, she didn't have a free hand, because when Madame Zhang was speaking, Madame Wang had already reached out and tightly covered her son's ears. She had no time to strike, but Wang Yumo was quick and decisive. Without a second thought, he grabbed Madame Zhang fiercely and dragged her out of his little brother's sight. Looking at Madame Zhang's face, he was afraid his brother would have nightmares tonight. Fortunately, the contract was already burned. The Wang family didn't want to stay there any longer. And look at the Zhang family's disgusting faces. The bodyguards immediately escorted the whole family away. I deliberately walked slowly at the very back. I turned back to look at the Zhang family's resentful, bitter faces and smiled faintly. Dark magic harms people. Those who practice it can't escape the backlash. And you masterminds won't be able to run away either. For the next 3 years, the Zhang family will lose all its luck. Disasters will be endless, I said, completely ignoring the ugly expressions on the Zhang family's faces. I added one last sentence. That's a free piece of advice. No charge. Our large group grandly returned to the Wang residence. As soon as we got home, Xiao Yaner was completely drained of energy. He leaned limply into Madame Wang's arms, whining, Mom, Xiao Yaner is so hungry. Seeing Xiao Yaner in such a bad state, the Wang family immediately asked nervously, Master Lu, is there still something wrong with Xiao Yaner? I smiled and said, don't worry. It's just the after effects of having his life borrowed. It's nothing serious. Just give him some nutritious food and let him get more sunlight. Hearing that he was fine, the Wang family breathed a collective sigh of relief. Now they completely trusted every word I said. If I said there was no problem, they firmly believed there was no problem. Just as they showed a slightly relaxed expression, I added another sentence. Xiao Yaner needs to rest and recover his spirit for the next 2 days. In a few days, I'll help him swap back the intelligence he lost. These words made the entire Wang family freeze. It was as if they couldn't believe what they had just heard. Master Lu, what do you mean by swap back? Could it be that our Xiaoyan, Wang Yongming, a dignified titan of the business world, was stuttering nervously at this moment? I glanced at Madame Wang, who looked panicked beside him, and simply blinked. I remember mentioning this to Madame Wang before. Young Master Wang was originally meant to have a life of great fortune and longevity. It's because his intelligence was swapped away when he was little that he became like this, which caused his fate to change. I patiently explained it in detail to the Wang couple once more. I casually added, actually, when I first came here, I was planning to help young Master Wang swap his intelligence back. Madame Wang clearly didn't hear the rest of the explanation. She nodded repeatedly, her voice trembling slightly. Right, Master Lu did say that. I just completely forgot about it at the time. As she spoke, she suddenly grabbed my hand. Her eyes were red, and she was extremely emotional. Master Lu, as long as we swap his intelligence back, will Xiao Yaner be able to be like a normal child. That's right. As soon as my words fell, Madame Wang's tears immediately streamed down her face. Beside her, Wang Yaoming and Wang Yumo also had faces full of uncontrollable excitement. Amidst the excitement, there was also a hint of guilt. They were thinking about how good of a person I, Master Lu, was. I had specifically come to their door to help, yet they had actually kicked me out. And kicking me out wasn't even the end of it, because Xiao Yaner had fainted. Wang Yaoming had even called President Lu to angrily demand an explanation. Even so, I didn't hold a grudge. Hearing that Xiao Yaner was in trouble, I rushed over to help immediately. The Wang family was truly so embarrassed they wanted to dig a hole and hide. It was the kind of embarrassment where they'd wake up in the middle of the night, just to furiously slap themselves in the face. Thank you so much, Master Lu. Truly, thank you. Madame Wang was already crying tears of gratitude. For so many years, she had actually given up hope. She had long prepared herself that even if Xiao Yaner was like this for the rest of his life, she would protect him forever. But the Zhang family's words today had viciously pierced her heart. Madame Wang was truly on the verge of a breakdown. But now, I was telling her that Xiao Yaner could actually recover. He could still grow up like a normal child. I curled my lips into a faint smile, quietly waiting for the Wang family's emotions to settle down before I expressed my intention to leave. After all the commotion tonight, it was indeed getting late. Wang Yaoming also slowly calmed down, finally regaining his usual capable demeanor. He took the initiative to ask about my fee. Rich people sure are particular. I had used my real skills today, and the Wang family had to show their appreciation. This was also leaving a way out for their own family, to avoid any awkwardness when I came back to swap his intelligence in a few days. Speaking of the fee, I tentatively puffed out my chest. Now I was really going to make some money. In the past, I usually only charged $30,000 for my services, but this life borrowing situation was special, and it had even depleted my protective jade pendant, so I thought about it seriously, and expressionlessly held up 3 fingers to Wang Yaoming, meaning 300,000. 3 million. No problem. Wang Yaoming didn't hesitate at all. He pulled out his phone and transferred 3 million right in front of me. I was stunned for a moment. By the time I snapped out of it, the 3 million had already hit my account. Staring at that long string of zeros on my phone, my eyes lit up and I couldn't help but gulp. When I looked up, my face was still completely calm. I'll come back in 3 days to swap young Master Wang's intelligence. On the surface, I still looked calm and professional, but inside, I was going crazy with joy. 3 million in hand. I had instantly transformed into a little millionaire. It seems taking the initiative to accept jobs really pays off. Lu Ruyan caught sight of the smug look in my eyes. The moment I stared at the transfer on my phone, she held back a smile, not exposing my little money grubber act. Seeing my current mood, she figured it was highly likely that I had truly forgotten all the crappy things that happened with the Lu family today. Thinking of this, Liu Ruyan's peach blossom eyes darkened slightly. She suddenly spoke softly, "Cincy, I'm sorry. Although I was impressed by how you caught fifth sister-in-law before, I still didn't believe 100% that you could solve the Wang family's problem. So that day, when Dad forbade you from interfering, I kept quiet the whole time. As your older sister, I really must apologize to you for that." After Liu Ruyan finished speaking, she turned to look at me, her peach blossom eyes filled with a gentle smile. But now I can say for sure, my little brother is truly amazing. Hearing Liu Ruyan apologize and praise me, I couldn't help but feel a surge of pride in my heart. Seeing me so happy, Liu Ruyan's heart unconsciously softened as well. But thinking carefully about my abilities, she realized she needed to help me properly plan my future. At first, she always felt I was short on money. But seeing me casually make 3 million in one go, she felt she had underestimated me. Even if a kid can make their own money, an older sister's allowance still shouldn't be lacking. She had only transferred 300,000 to me yesterday. Thinking about it now, it really was a bit too little. After dropping me off at my apartment, Liu Ruyan turned around and transferred another 3 million to me. I had just transferred 1.5 million out, and before I even put my phone down, I was staring at another 3 million hitting my account. I completely froze. How did the money I just spent come back doubled? Could it be my master secretly sent 5 ghosts to bring me wealth? I looked down closely, only to realize it was my sister being generous. Early the next morning, I just woken up when I saw 4 people standing outside my door. They were all blocking the doorway, crowding the entrance like a solid wall. Now I finally understood why Liu Ruyan had insisted on bringing me back to this rental apartment last night. It turned out she had anticipated they would come looking for me. "Cincy, you actually live here?" Lu Chen held my address, his face full of disbelief. He thought that even if Liu Ruyan let me move out, she would have made proper arrangements for me. Yet I was actually living in a place like this. I merely glanced at Lu Chen and the 3 people behind him with weird expressions and gently bit my lip. I silently stepped aside to open the door. "Come in." My living room isn't big. As soon as Lu Chen and the others walked in, they practically filled the entire space. The expressions on Lu Qingqing and the other 2 instantly became even more conflicted. In the eyes of Lu Qingqing and the others, who had grown up with fine clothes and rich food as pampered young ladies, this place was so awful, they couldn't even bear to look at it. This living room wasn't even as big as a bedroom at home. How could I live in a place like this? Even if I was in a rush to find a place, there was no need to rent this dump, right? It wasn't like the family was short on money. Lu Wei furrowed her brows tightly, clearly suspecting that I was putting on an act. She felt that I was deliberately trying to guilt-trip them. No way was that going to work. I just gave Lu Wei a flat look, too lazy to bother with her. Just as she was about to throw out a few more sarcastic remarks, suddenly, from the pet house in the corner, a chubby, snow-white fox darted out. Only then did they notice the obvious signs of a pet and toys in the corner of the living room. This place had clearly been lived in for quite a few days. Lu Qingqing had a straightforward personality and couldn't help but ask directly, "Weren't you living at the He family's house all this time? Why did you rent an apartment? Did they kick you out a long time ago?" Her voice carried blatant anger. Even though she instinctively rejected me coming home, no matter how much she rejected me, I was still a young master of the Lu family. This kind of humiliation was absolutely not something outsiders should be allowed to see. Lu Wei and Lu Feng's faces also looked grim. Actually, they felt that the He family tossing me here was practically making the Lu family a laughingstock to others. I only felt that these 3 sisters changed their faces faster than flipping the pages of a book. Yesterday, they were looking at me like I was an eyesore, and now they were suddenly acting all indignant on my behalf. The Lu family doesn't allow pets, so I rented a place to raise my fox alone. I deliberately dragged out the last 3 words, staring straight at Lu Qingqing and the others. The 3 of them instantly remembered yesterday, when they pointed at me and yelled that I couldn't raise a fox in the house. Hearing from Liu Ruyan that I wanted to raise a fox, Lu Chen also explained earnestly, "Ruyan has already set up a pet room. You can bring the fox straight home. I promise you, no one will object to you keeping it from now on. No need. He's quite comfortable here." I paused, then added flatly, "He's already used to it." Hearing this, Lu Chen's heart inexplicably clenched. He actually felt an indescribable sense of grievance. His brows twitched slightly as he said to me softly, "About yesterday. Dad didn't handle it well. I apologize to you. Can you forgive me?" I froze for a moment, my heart instantly feeling a bit complicated. Actually, I had guessed early on that Lu Ruyan making them come to the rental apartment was so I could play the victim and act pitiful. And I wasn't the type to just swallow my anger blindly either. But I hadn't even started acting yet. Seeing Lu Chen, who was so infinitely prestigious outside, now bowing his head to admit his mistake without hesitation, I didn't feel any particular satisfaction in my heart. Everyone thought I was just throwing a tantrum yesterday, but in truth, only I knew that those were the words I truly wanted to say. I sighed silently and said flatly, "I was never actually mad at you, so there's nothing to forgive. You don't need to go out of your way to apologize to me." I paused for a moment and continued, "I'm already an adult. I can live independently. You don't need to worry about me moving out at all. It's just that I wanted to step out on my own." Hearing me say this, Lu Chen furrowed his brows tightly. Just as he was about to speak, Lu Wei muttered a snide remark from the side. "By that logic, I'm an adult too. Do you think the only reason I don't move out is because I don't want to? It's because the family doesn't allow it. Which kid in the Lu family doesn't have a few million in New Year's money? Buying a house and moving out would take minutes. But the three branches of the Lu family are still all crammed together to this day. Isn't it all because Grandpa absolutely forbids anyone from moving out? Speaking of this, they actually started to envy me for being able to live alone. How weird." I didn't pay attention to Lu Qingqing and the others' petty thoughts. Seeing that I insisted on not going home, Lu Chen was actually well prepared. He had already thought it through before coming this time. "If you really don't want to go back, that's fine. Last night, I had someone buy a villa in the East Garden. As long as you're willing, our family will move straight there." The R here referred to me, Lu Chen, and Lu Ruyan. He said these words with utmost seriousness, leaving Lu Qingqing and the other two completely dumbfounded. Lu Chen had mentioned last night that he wanted to move the first branch out. They just thought he was speaking out of anger. How did he actually buy a place in the blink of an eye? I actually hadn't expected Lu Chen to offer such terms directly. After all, when Lu Ruyan first brought me home, she said that not splitting the family was the Lu family's rule. Even though I had officially returned to my ancestors, I hadn't cared about this rule at all when I decided to move out. I never wanted to cause the Lu family to have any conflicts over this, but Lu Chen's intentions right now were clearly entirely for my sake. In this moment, I actually couldn't bring myself to say no. "You don't need to go to such lengths," I said softly. "You really don't owe me anything." Hearing my calm tone, a sudden ache welled up in Lu Chen's heart. In truth, he really did owe me. He owed me for 18 whole years. I know that saying anything about making it up to you now sounds pale, but Cincy, starting today, your sister and I will definitely give you a new home. A home that belongs only to you. The tenderness in Lu Chen's voice was something I had truly rarely heard. It even carried a hint of pleading. I just felt my heart tremble, and my hands hanging by my sides couldn't help but clench into fists. Seeing that I still wouldn't agree, Lu Chen reined in his emotions and said earnestly, "If you're still not willing, Dad can just move in here." As soon as he said this, not only was I stunned, the three young ladies beside me were also full of shock. Has Uncle gone crazy? Lu Chen completely ignored everyone's reactions and directly looked around the room. "This room is really too cramped. I'll have your sister buy the 2 apartments next door, and we'll knock the walls down to connect them." This attitude showed he was seriously about to make a huge move. Just as the 3 young ladies were about to stop him, they saw me finally open my mouth. "I'll move back." My voice carried a sense of calm, mixed with a bit of helplessness. Actually, I never intended to force Lu Chen to do anything, but when he actually went this far, I realized that I wasn't as indifferent as I thought I was. I could still be touched by this man called Dad. More importantly, I had already clearly seen Lu Chen's attitude towards me. He was willing to give up certain things for me. For me, that was enough. And I never wanted to be the sinner who split the Lu family apart. Anyway, I'd only be living there for 2 months. After that, I'd be going off to college. I followed everyone back to the Lu family estate. This time, Lu Qingqing and the others didn't dare mess with me anymore, mainly because they didn't want me going back to that rundown rental apartment. That would be a disgrace to the Lu family. Even Lu Shuo, the youngest, had clearly been taught a lesson. Seeing me return, he greeted me properly and respectfully, just as Lu Ruyan had told me before. Whenever you face unfairness, you must decisively show your stance. Let them clearly see my bottom line. After that, they naturally wouldn't dare provoke me casually. When I arrived home, Lu Ruyan was standing at the door, looking at me with a beaming smile. It was exactly the same smile as when she first saw me. "Cincy, welcome home." Zhou Yibai had been waiting for me in the hall for a long time. As soon as he saw me, he came over and called out intimately, "Cincy, you're finally back. Tonight's banquet all depends on you. Grandpa already notified all the families and sent out the invitations in advance. If you didn't come, none of us would know what to do." Zhou Yibai's voice was clear and pleasant to the ear, but his words carried a hidden implication, that everyone coaxing me back wasn't actually out of sincerity, but because they were afraid of losing face at the banquet. If it were anyone else, they would probably start overthinking things right about now. My gaze swept coldly over Zhou Yibai, and a smile suddenly curled on my lips. "The banquet? If it doesn't happen today, we can just hold it tomorrow." Outsiders aren't going to refuse to acknowledge me as a young master of the Lu family, just because a banquet wasn't held. After I finished speaking, I deliberately looked at Lu Ruyan. Sister, don't you agree? Isn't that right? The smile in Lu Ruyan's eyes was practically overflowing. She immediately agreed cheerfully. Of course. You are the young master of our Lu family, one of a kind. No one can replace you. These words were clearly spoken with profound meaning. Zhou Yibai's face instantly turned a bit pale, but he quickly returned to normal, revealing a smile. Sister Ruyan is right. The stylist is already waiting upstairs. Cincy, hurry up and try on your suit. Tonight is your grand debut as the young master of the Lu family. It has to be grand. Third Aunt smiled and ushered me upstairs. Lu Chen also revealed a rarely seen gentle expression, looking as if he was very much looking forward to seeing his child in new clothes. My suit and accessories had all been arranged by Lu Chen early on. When I was with the He family, I had attended quite a few banquets. I was already very familiar with these procedures. Soon, I picked out a black and white tuxedo. As soon as I changed into the clothes, finished my styling, and walked out, even Lu Qingqing and the others, who had always looked down on me, couldn't help but stare blankly. The slim-fit black suit accentuated my tall and straight figure. A handmade white camellia was pinned to the lapel, coupled with exquisite cufflinks. It broke the dullness of the black, adding a touch of nobility and youthful edge. The originally formal suit suddenly gained a bright and elegant aura. My entire presence was commanding. With just one glance, all the Lu family members present were stunned in place. For a moment, everyone was speechless. They could only stare at me quietly, even their breathing unconsciously growing lighter. Although Lu Qingqing and the others were amazed by me, but he would never say a word of praise out loud, afraid that I'd get too full of myself. Now, seeing Zhou Yibai, the sisters immediately let their guard down. They surrounded him, showering him with enthusiastic praise. Zhou Yibai lowered his eyes. Although he still had a smile on his face, anyone could tell that he wasn't as happy as before. Lu Qingqing quickly asked, "Brother Yibai, what's wrong?" "It's nothing." Zhou Yibai shook his head, his voice tinged with sadness. "You guys shouldn't crowd around praising me anymore. Excellency is the main character today. How bad would he feel if he saw this?" Hearing this, Lu Wei immediately frowned. "What does his happiness have to do with us? You're the little brother who grew up with us." Lu Qingqing also nodded quickly. "Exactly. He's just riding on the fact that he recently came home. That's why Uncle and Grandpa are treating him so well." Zhou Yibai's eyes flickered. He started quietly asking them about how they went to pick me up. In his eyes, I wasn't the type to just come back after a little coaxing. He had been counting on me refusing to come home today, no matter what, making the Lu family lose face, so they would have no choice but to blame me. But instead, he got slapped in the face. I actually just followed them back. Seeing his curiosity, Lu Qingqing simply told him everything Lu Chen had said. Zhou Yibai was dumbfounded as he listened. He never expected that uncle would go to such lengths for me. Sure enough, a biological son is just different. He sneered inwardly, but on the surface, he pretended to care. Make sure Grandpa never hears about this. Otherwise, if Grandpa knew that Uncle was willing to abandon our family, he'd be heartbroken. Saying that, he let out a fake, helpless sigh. Wasn't our family always doing so well before? Who would have thought things would turn out like this? With just a few hints from him, Lu Qingqing and the others felt even more that the family's chaos was all because I came back. Any slight fondness or desire to get close to me vanished in the blink of an eye. Seeing this, Zhou Yibai added fuel to the fire, sighing softly. I just hope Cincy can be a bit more sensible this time. At this moment, the dissatisfaction on Lu Qingqing's face became somewhat complicated. After a long pause, she muttered softly, "It seems he hasn't had it easy in the Liu family. As long as he doesn't go overboard in the future, let's just put up with him." Thinking of that rundown rental apartment I lived in, Lu Qingqing couldn't help but feel a twinge of discomfort. The banquet was scheduled to start at 7:30 p.m. The entire Lu family garden was strung with lights ahead of time. As soon as the sky turned dark, the whole villa was brightly lit. The light strips in the garden wrapped around in circles. From a distance, the villa looked just like a sparkling castle. It wasn't even 7 o'clock yet, but at the Lu family's entrance, various luxury cars were already arriving one after another. Stepping out of them were a crowd of impeccably dressed young masters and ladies. At this moment, when Lu Tong saw the He family walking toward him, he was completely stunned. He wondered to himself, "Isn't this the He family? Who let them in?" Big Brother has said many times before that the He family mistreated our Lu family's flesh and blood. He ordered the Lu Corporation to completely cut off all cooperation with the He family from now on. All previous collaborations have been pulled. How did they even get in? He Baoqing caught sight of him and enthusiastically struck up a conversation. "Vice President Lu, what a coincidence. I've been trying to schedule a meeting with you but couldn't. It's truly rare to see you." Running into an acquaintance, He Baoqing immediately turned on his enthusiastic charm. The third madam of the Lu family, Xu Ningyu, was originally exchanging pleasantries in the banquet hall, but when she suddenly saw the family of 3 from the He family, although she kept a smile on her face, a clear flash of surprise crossed her eyes. She walked over to Lu Tong and asked politely, "Honey, who are these people?" In truth, Xu Ningyu had never met the He family. Although Zhao Shuqian had come looking for her before, she was politely escorted away right at the door. So Xu Ningyu had no impression of the He family at all. Lu Tong explained, "Let me introduce you. This is CEO He, his wife, and their son. Hearing the surname He, Suen Ningyu's expression subtly changed. Although the Liu Hai group was currently controlled by Big Brother, Liu Tong had always been in lockstep with him. Even the third branch of the family always acted according to Big Brother's wishes. She knew very well that Big Brother couldn't stand the He family. Ultimately, it wasn't just Big Brother. She herself looked down on the He family too. Before He Baocheng could figure out how to ask for clarification, Xu Ningyu suddenly changed the subject beside him. What she said had absolutely nothing to do with their previous conversation. Tonight's main character has finally made his entrance. CEO. He took great care of our child in the past. Since you're here today, we must have a good drink. Listening to this, He Baocheng felt completely baffled. Following everyone's gaze, he looked toward the corner of the stairs in the front hall. When he saw that handsome figure holding a pure white camellia, walking down the stairs step by step, he instantly froze in place. Beside him, He Feiyu and Zhao Shushan also widened their eyes, their faces written with sheer disbelief. This sudden, almost destined sense of defeat instantly overwhelmed them. The moment they saw me, the last shred of wishful thinking in their eyes shattered into pieces. So I really was the eldest young master of the Liu family. Before they could recover from their shock, a twisted sense of extreme jealousy surged into their hearts like a tidal wave. He Feiyu's eyes were bloodshot, almost as if they were about to drip blood. He had always known how good-looking I was. In the past, whenever we attended banquets, in order to outshine me, he would always use good intentions as an excuse to pick out weirdly colored, exaggeratedly tailored suits for me, because it was supposedly out of good intentions. Even if I was completely unwilling, I would be forced by Zhao Shuqin to wear them. It was either wear them obediently, or don't even think about stepping out the door. But as it happened, my skin was so fair it practically glowed. Even when wearing an aging dark purple, I could pull it off effortlessly. But right now, I had merely made a casual appearance, and I had already become the center of attention for the entire venue. Some of the guests were whispering among themselves, "Is this really the eldest young master of the Liu family? That suit he's wearing. I think it's Master Eric's newly released autumn-summer conceptual haute couture." The guests nearby, who knew luxury brands like the back of their hands, heard the discussion, and immediately became interested. Soon after, someone lowered their voice and sighed in admiration. Don't forget about the fourth aunt of the Liu family. With her status in the fashion industry, where a single stomp of her foot causes an earthquake, getting her hands on a couple of haute couture pieces is a piece of cake for her. He Feiyu was going crazy with jealousy listening to this. Unwilling to accept it, he leaned in behind them and said in a mock concerned, passive-aggressive tone, "Could it be a fake?" As soon as these words fell, the originally lively discussion instantly went dead silent. Everyone turned their heads in unison, looking at him as if they were looking at an absolute idiot. A moment later, someone let out a snicker, their tone dripping with mockery. Then, the crowd unapologetically dispersed, as if afraid of catching his stupidity. He Feiyu's face turned livid with anger, his features twisting together. He instinctively looked for Zhang Xinyi for comfort, only to turn around and find Zhang Xinyi staring blankly in my direction, completely mesmerized. He Feiyu gritted his teeth in fury, his nails digging deeply into his palms. Right at that moment, my gaze shifted slightly, sweeping over in his direction. Actually, it wasn't that I noticed the He family first, but rather the swirling dark energy in the crowd that caught my attention. I was just muttering to myself that another business opportunity had come knocking. Who knew that upon closer inspection, it was actually an old acquaintance. We hadn't seen each other for just 2 days, but the originally faint gray shadow behind him had already turned into a dense, pitch-black aura. It was even starting to coil around his shoulders, taking on a life-threatening posture. I really had no idea what kind of sins He Feiyu had committed to attract such a filthy thing. My eyes, which had been carrying a faint smile, couldn't help but turn a few degrees colder. Lu Chen and Lu Ruyan were standing beside me. Noticing the change in my gaze, they instinctively followed my line of sight. With one glance, they locked onto the figures of the He family of 3. The two of them frowned slightly, their expressions turning somewhat ugly. At this time, old Master Lu beside me had already begun to solemnly introduce me to the crowd. "I thank everyone for gracing us with your presence today. The Lu family has relied on your support for many years. Today, we specifically want to share our joy with you all. I officially introduce to you my eldest grandson, the eldest young master of the Lu family, Lu Xinxi." Playing along with the old master's grand introduction, I immediately withdrew my gaze, and my face instantly put on a proper and gentle smile. I gave a slight nod to everyone present in greeting. As the name Lu Xinxi spread through the crowd, the atmosphere at the scene instantly became somewhat subtle. I looked at He Baocheng's livid face, figuring he had finally realized that the Liu family's initial cooperation and subsequent backtracking were all because of me. Looking at his expression, he must have just guessed that his wife and son had known all along, but had kept it a secret from him. I watched with great interest as He Baocheng, unable to suppress his anger any longer, glared fiercely at Zhao Shuqin beside him. Zhao Shuqin was terrified by his glare, her body instinctively shrinking back, her face full of panic. Although she tried to look innocent, her demeanor had already betrayed her guilt. I watched her hesitant expression, clearly showing she had a guilty conscience. She must be regretting it right now. If she had known my true identity earlier, back then in front of Lu Chen, she absolutely wouldn't have dared to do something as stupid as begging for a spot, making a fool of herself. No wonder the other party was so angry at the time. At this moment, He Baocheng and Zhao Shuqin were green with regret. They regretted it so much they wanted to bash their heads against a wall. If they had known earlier that I was the Liu family's child, relying on the grace of raising me for 18 years, the He family could have become honored guests of the Liu family. Riding on the Liu family's momentum, making the He group skyrocket, would absolutely not have been wishful thinking. But now, if they hadn't racked their brains to get an invitation, the Liu family wouldn't have even planned to send them one. This attitude made it clear that they didn't want to have any further ties with the He family. I watched He Baoqing clutch his chest in pain. That wave of regret and anger almost suffocated him, but due to today's occasion, he could only forcefully hold it in, not daring to lash out. He Baoqing's chest heaved violently. The next second, a glint flashed in his eyes, as if he had suddenly thought of a great idea. That's right. He couldn't flip the table on an occasion like today, and the Liu family was even less likely to tear up all pretenses directly. Thinking of this, He Baoqing's originally remorseful expression instantly changed. His face piled up with an enthusiastic smile. Grabbing Zhao Shuqin's hand, he quickly pushed through the crowd, walking straight to the very front. He opened his mouth, his voice full of warmth and joy. "Cincy, you look so handsome tonight. Seeing you doing so well puts my mind completely at ease. Ever since you left, your mother and I have been constantly worrying about you." Saying this, he paused under the confused gazes of the crowd. Then he slapped his forehead, pretending to be annoyed with himself as he smiled at old Master Lu beside him. "Oh my, look at me. I'm just so used to it. Now, I can't call her mother anymore. I should change it to adoptive mother." With just one sentence, He Baoqing directly pointed out my relationship with him. His voice was neither too loud nor too soft, just enough for the surrounding guests to hear clearly. The way they looked at He Baoqing instantly gained a bit more politeness and warmth. The adoptive parents of the Liu family's eldest young master, doesn't that make them the benefactors of the Liu family? The benefactors of the Liu family. Then of course we need to suck up to them and get on their good side. Although He Baoqing didn't look around, he could feel the suddenly friendly gazes from all sides. He knew in his heart that his goal had been achieved. But Lu Chen, standing to the side, upon hearing his words, instantly had his face darken. Just now, when he noticed the He family, he was thinking about having the security guards quietly escort them out. Who knew that before he could even arrange it? This guy would actually come up to them himself. Old Master Lu's expression remained unchanged, a kind smile still hanging on his face. At first glance, it would only make people feel that this old man was very approachable. "So you are Cincy's adoptive parents. Speaking of which, thanks to you for taking care of Cincy all these years." "Not at all. Elder Lu, you are far too polite. If we had known earlier that Cincy was a child of the Liu family, we definitely would have brought him back long ago." Elder Lu raised his eyes with a good-tempered look and suddenly turned to Lu Chen beside him. "The He family raised Cincy, so they are considered honored guests of our Liu family. Eldest, take them upstairs and entertain them well. Don't neglect our manners." Lu Chen had wanted to get the Yi family out of there for a long time. Hearing old Master Lu's words, he immediately took a step forward. How could He Baoqing not understand the hidden meaning in old Master Lu's words? He hurriedly spoke up. "Speaking of which, a few days ago, we had just confirmed a collaboration with the Liu Hai group. I came here today specifically to express my gratitude. When two families discuss cooperation, if the subordinates did anything wrong, I hope the Liu Hai group can be forgiving." He Baoqing naturally knew that he couldn't really tear down the Liu family's face on such an occasion, so he didn't mention a single word about the Liu family canceling the cooperation. Instead, he gave the Liu family an out. The implied meaning of his words was that the reason President Liu canceled the previous cooperation was because the subordinates didn't do a good job. Now that everything is out in the open, let's just continue our cooperation. How could Lu Chen not understand He Baoqing's little scheme? It was nothing more than relying on today's occasion to completely tie the He family and the Liu family together, with all the surrounding guests watching. Even if the Liu Hai group ultimately didn't cooperate with the He corporation anymore, there would always be other groups wanting to get on the Liu family's good side. That would extend an olive branch to the He corporation. But Lu Chen absolutely wouldn't indulge this kind of nasty habit. He immediately spoke up in a deep voice. "CEO, he must be joking. The cooperation between the Liu Hai group and the He corporation was cancelled a long time ago. As for why, I think, Mrs. He and your son should know the inside story, right?" He Baoqing didn't expect Lu Chen to be so merciless. Hearing him mention Zhao Shuqin and He Fei Yu, in his heart, he cursed this wife and son to hell and back. But on the surface, he still put on a terrified, surprised expression. He spoke earnestly. "President Liu, there must be some misunderstanding here. I am truly very sincere in hoping to cooperate with the Liu Hai group." Saying that, he cast his gaze toward me, who had been silent on the side. "Cincy, why don't you say a word for Dad?" Seeing that he was still trying to drag me into it, Lu Chen's face darkened slightly. He stepped directly in front of me. "CEO, He Excellency is my son." Seeing this, Zhao Shuqin on the side couldn't help but speak up. "Cincy, it wasn't easy for our family to raise you. You should say something." These words were clearly putting me on the spot, roasting me over a fire. But now, if they hadn't racked their brains to get an invitation, the Liu family wouldn't have even planned to send them one. This attitude made it clear that they didn't want to have any further ties with the Yi family. I watched He Baoqing clutch his chest in pain. That wave of regret and anger almost suffocated him. But due to today's occasion, he could only forcefully hold it in, not daring to lash out. He Baoqing's chest heaved violently. The next second, A glint flashed in his eyes, as if he had suddenly thought of a great idea. That's right. He couldn't flip the table on an occasion like today, and the Lu family was even less likely to tear up all pretenses directly. Thinking of this, He Baocheng's originally remorseful expression instantly changed. His face piled up with an enthusiastic smile. Grabbing Zhao Shuqin's hand, he quickly pushed through the crowd, walking straight to the very front. He opened his mouth, his voice full of warmth and joy. Excellency, you look so handsome tonight. Seeing you doing so well puts my mind completely at ease. Ever since you left, your mother and I have been constantly worrying about you. Saying this, he paused under the confused gazes of the crowd. Then he slapped his forehead, pretending to be annoyed with himself, as he smiled at old Master Lu beside him. Oh my, look at me. I'm just so used to it. Now I can't call her mother anymore. I should change it to adoptive mother. With just one sentence, He Baocheng directly pointed out my relationship with him. His voice was neither too loud nor too soft, just enough for the surrounding guests to hear clearly. The way they looked at He Baocheng instantly gained a bit more politeness and warmth. The adoptive parents of the Lu family's eldest young master. Doesn't that make them the benefactors of the Lu family? The benefactors of the Lu family. Then of course we need to suck up to them and get on their good side. Although He Baocheng didn't look around, he could feel the suddenly friendly gazes from all sides. He knew in his heart that his goal had been achieved. But Lu Chen, standing to the side, upon hearing his words, instantly had his face darken. Just now, when he noticed the He family, he was thinking about having the security guards quietly escort them out. Who knew that before he could even arrange it, this guy would actually come up to them himself? Old Master Lu's expression remained unchanged, a kind smile still hanging on his face. At first glance, it would only make people feel that this old man was very approachable. So you are Cincy's adoptive parents. Speaking of which, thanks to you for taking care of Cincy all these years. Not at all. Elder Lu, you are far too polite. If we had known earlier that Cincy was a child of the Lu family, we definitely would have brought him back long ago. Elder Lu raised his eyes with a good-tempered look and suddenly turned to Lu Chen beside him. The He family raised Cincy, so they are considered honored guests of our Lu family. Eldest, take them upstairs and entertain them well. Don't neglect our manners. Lu Chen had wanted to get the He family out of there for a long time. Hearing old Master Lu's words, he immediately took a step forward. How could He Baocheng not understand the hidden meaning in old Master Lu's words? He hurriedly spoke up. Speaking of which, a few days ago, we had just confirmed a collaboration with the Lu Hai group. I came here today specifically to express my gratitude. When two families discuss cooperation, if the subordinates did anything wrong, I hope the Lu Hai group can be forgiving. He Baocheng naturally knew that he couldn't really tear down the Lu family's face on such an occasion, so he didn't mention a single word about the Lu family canceling the cooperation. Instead, he gave the Lu family an out. The implied meaning of his words was that the reason President Lu canceled the previous cooperation was because the subordinates didn't do a good job. Now that everything is out in the open, let's just continue our cooperation. Lu Chen, how could he not understand He Baocheng's little scheme? It was nothing more than relying on today's occasion to completely tie the He family and the Lu family together. With all the surrounding guests watching, even if the Lu Hai group ultimately didn't cooperate with the He Corporation anymore, there would always be other groups wanting to get on the Lu family's good side. That would extend an olive branch to the He Corporation. But Lu Chen absolutely wouldn't indulge this kind of nasty habit. He immediately spoke up in a deep voice. CEO. He must be joking. The cooperation between the Lu Hai group and the He Corporation was cancelled a long time ago. As for why, I think, Mrs. He and your son should know the inside story, right? He Baocheng didn't expect Lu Chen to be so merciless. Hearing him mention Zhao Shuchen and He Feiyu in his heart, he cursed this wife and son to hell and back. But on the surface, he still put on a terrified, surprised expression. He spoke earnestly. President Lu, there must be some misunderstanding here. I am truly very sincere in hoping to cooperate with the Lu Hai group. Saying that, he cast his gaze toward me, who had been silent on the side. Qingxi, say something for your dad. Seeing that he was still trying to drag me into this, Lu Chen's face instantly darkened. He stepped right in front of me. Mr. He, Xingxi is my son. Seeing this, Zhao Shuqing couldn't hold back anymore. Xingxi, it wasn't easy for our family to raise you. Say something, will you? Every word they said was clearly trying to roast me over an open fire. Even Lu Qingqing and the other sisters had their expressions turned grim. Even though they didn't like me, I was still a member of the Lu family. We could fight all we wanted behind closed doors, but for outsiders to dare bully a Lu family member like this, that meant they didn't take the Lu family seriously at all. He Baocheng also realized something was wrong. With a dark expression, he stepped forward to pull Zhao Shuqin away, while saying, Shuqin, are you having another episode? Why are you spouting such nonsense? He then turned to the crowd apologetically. My wife has mild hysteria. She tends to act up when she gets emotional. I'll be taking her home for today. In just a few words, He Baocheng dismissed Zhao Shuqin's abnormal behavior as a medical condition. Saying that, he tried to lead her away. But unexpectedly, just as he made a move, Lu Qingqing and the other younger Lu generation stepped forward in unison, blocking their path. A cold smirk tugged at the corner of Lu Rian's mouth. She said in a chilling tone, Mr. He, why the rush to leave? It makes you look way too guilty. It seemed Lu Qingqing already knew about my abilities. Looking at her expression, she had guessed that Zhao Shuqin's weird behavior was my doing. It looked like the Liu family was going to cooperate with me to completely tear off the Yi family's hypocritical masks. I, of course, knew the power of the truth talisman. Seeing Liu Qingqing and the others block them, I directly asked Zhao Shuqian, Mrs. He, do you really have hysteria? Of course not. Zhao Shuqian shot back without a second thought. Her face looked like she was about to burst into tears, but the words coming out of her mouth were still brutally honest. My husband just doesn't want me to tell the truth. That's just how he is. Always so timid and cowardly. He's not even as decisive as us women. I saw He Baocheng's face instantly turn pitch black. He was probably thinking, wasn't it enough to expose my secrets? Now she's exposing mine too? And to think this was how his own wife actually saw him. Hearing that the He family had just used me as a meat shield, Liu Chen could no longer suppress the fury on his face. He stepped forward and coldly demanded, what else have you done to my son? What could I possibly do to him? He's the one who never knew his place. When he was little, he brought back an injured bird and wanted to keep it. A freeloader of an adopted son. What right did he have to keep a pet? I smashed it to death right in front of him. He's been a headache since he was a kid. He even dared to fight Fei Yu for toys. I locked him in the attic and starved him for 2 days, and he came out perfectly obedient. The Liu family's faces turned incredibly ugly. The surrounding guests also looked at me with eyes full of pity. I couldn't care less about their stares. I looked calmly at Zhao Shuqian and continued asking, what did you come here for today? Zhao Shuqian blurted out, to get some benefits? Of course. We raised you for so many years. And now that you're the young master of the Liu family, shouldn't you repay us? The Liu family has such a massive fortune. Giving us half of it as a thank you wouldn't be too much to ask, right? As soon as she finished speaking, He Baocheng and He Feiyu turned green with anger beside her. He Feiyu even squeezed out some tears, still trying to explain, it's not like that. My mom is just talking nonsense. We never treated my brother like that. But before he could finish, a scoff rang out from the crowd. Give it a rest. The whole capital can hear the He family scheming from a mile away. Stop putting on an act. A few more bursts of laughter followed from the sidelines, filled with pure mockery. When Eddie Feiyu ever suffered such humiliation, he covered his face, pushed through the crowd, and ran outward. But unexpectedly, after just a few steps, he slammed hard into someone. He Feiyu stumbled from the impact and fell to the ground. He instinctively looked up. Against the light, I only saw a tall, straight silhouette, as cold and aloof as a solitary pine. He Feiyu was completely stunned. His heart probably skipped several beats. The person's facial features were as exquisitely sculpted as a statue, exuding a cold, domineering aura that surpassed even Liu Ruin's beauty. When those deep, ink-black eyes glanced over indifferently, it felt as if they could suck a person's very soul away. He Feiyu just sat there on the ground, staring blankly. At the same time, hushed whispers spread around us. Isn't that Miss Lin? It is her. Her aura is so intimidating. Didn't they say Miss Lin hates these kinds of banquets the most? Why is she here? Rumor had it that this Lin family heiress was incredibly mysterious. She hated taking photos, and there was barely any information or pictures of her on social media. Lin Yi looked at He Feiyu on the ground and furrowed her brows deeply. Suppressing her inner disgust, she had just raised her hand to take out a handkerchief to wipe away the smell on her suit when she saw the other party reach a hand out toward her. Did he break his leg from a simple fall? He actually expects me to pull him up? Her deep dark eyes swept over the long fingernails on his hand. Lin Yi's frown deepened. She turned her head to the waiting staff nearby, completely ignoring any ladylike etiquette, and said flatly, aren't you going to help him up? The waiter was stunned for a second, then quickly snapped back to reality. They hurriedly rushed forward, one on each side, and practically hoisted the still-seated He Feiyu right off the ground. Zhou Yibai, who had been watching from the sidelines, shifted his gaze. He clearly hadn't expected Lin Yi to show up in person either, but thinking about Lin Yi's relationship with Liu Ruyan, he calmed down. Lin Yi was probably here out of respect for Liu Ruyan. I watched as Lin Yi walked straight past the hoisted He Feiyu, came right up to me, and said concisely, congratulations, Mr. Liu. I'm late, although it was just a few short words, addressing me as Mr. Liu was a public acknowledgement of my status as the eldest young master of the Liu family. I looked at this golden, shining VIP and just smiled faintly. Not at all. Miss Lin, you're right on time. Saying that, I turned back to He Baocheng. My smile faded, and my voice turned cold. The He family raised me for 18 years. At most, that cost no more than 5 million. Before this, I already transferred 5 million in child support to your account. He Baocheng's eyes turned cold. He wanted to retort but couldn't find the words. Furthermore, I've already died once for He Feiyu. The debt of my upbringing is paid in full. From now on, I don't owe the He family a single cent. He Baocheng's pupils shrank violently. The muscles in his cheeks twitched. He could no longer maintain his hypocritical facade. Liu Chen felt a sharp pang in his heart, feeling that I had truly suffered terribly at the hands of the He family. Only then did he follow up on my declaration, stating coldly, from today onward, this child of my Liu family has absolutely nothing to do with the He family. For the sake of you raising Xingxi, the Liu family won't take action against the He family. But if the He family ever dares to use the Liu family's name to swagger around out there, don't blame the Liu family for stepping in. With that, he coldly ordered the butler to see the guests out. He Baocheng and Zhao Shuqian were practically thrown out in disgrace. As they passed by me, they heard me say in a voice only the three of us could hear, forgot to tell you, Your fate-swapping spell didn't work at all. Zhao Shuqin whipped her head around, staring at me with a twisted, incredulous expression. Her eyes were full of disbelief, but I didn't care whether she believed it or not. She'd believe it soon enough anyway. He Feiyu's previous calamity would soon find its way back to him. If you want to save him, have He Feiyu bring Grandma's bracelet and come find me himself. He Baoqing glared at me with sinister eyes, and Zhao Shuqin's gaze was filled with pure venom. But before they could lash out, the butler forcefully escorted them out. I was personally led by Old Master Lu to greet several of the elders. When I returned, I found that Lin Yi actually hadn't left yet. I was a bit surprised. To be precise, the fact that she even showed up tonight was enough to make everyone's jaws drop. It was obvious that this Miss Lin wasn't the type to enjoy this kind of bustling scene. Curious, I just asked her directly. Lin Yi seemed to know exactly what I was going to ask. Her phoenix eyes coldly swept over Lu Ruyan on the other side, and with a calm, steady voice, she said unhurriedly, "She said I should take responsibility for you." I had just picked up a glass of champagne, and hearing this, my hand jerked violently, almost spilling it all over myself. I whipped my head around, eyes slightly wide, looking at her in disbelief. It was as if I was silently asking, "Take responsibility for what? What responsibility do I have that needs you to take it?" Lin Yi looked at my terrified expression, without batting an eye, and simply said, "I was the one who revealed your identity to the Wang family earlier, which led the Wang family to hold the Lu family accountable, indirectly causing you to run away from home. Therefore, I need to take responsibility." I was completely speechless. I thought she had found out about me stealing 2 wisps of her golden light, and it was just this? After all that, it was just because of this? Was this VIP really that easy to fool? She actually believed such an obviously ridiculous excuse. Lin Yi, of course, knew that this was just an excuse Lu Ruyan made up to get her here to back me up. But even if it was an excuse, as long as it convinced her, it wasn't considered a trick. Yesterday, although I didn't explicitly tell her to keep my identity a secret, she did tell others that I was the Lu family's young master, without my permission. Based on that alone, Lin Yi wouldn't shirk her responsibility. This VIP's OCD also included taking things very literally. I was about to say she didn't need to take responsibility, but my gaze accidentally fell on her left arm. I saw it clearly just now. The moment He Feiyu bumped into her arm, the black aura on He Feiyu's body was noticeably diluted by the golden light on her body. That golden light was like a raging fire, capable of making all dark and evil energy that approached her instantly dissipate. Thinking of this, I dropped the polite "no need to take responsibility" talk. Then if I run into trouble in the future, can I still come to you? No. Seriously, didn't you say you were taking responsibility? Seeming to see the confusion in my eyes, Lin Yi gave a rare explanation. You've already moved back to the Lu family, so my responsibility has already been fulfilled. I was completely out of words, so the VIP's responsibility was a one-time deal. Whatever. Lin Yi was exactly like the rumors said. She hated these kinds of occasions. After we finished talking, she quickly found an excuse and left. I thought to myself, if I wanted to latch onto this VIP, it looked like I'd really have to put in some extra effort. I was just about to turn and leave, when a clear, bright male voice suddenly came from behind me. "Miss Lin is famous in our circle for being unapproachable. If you're scheming to get close to her, you're going to regret it." I turned my head, and saw that the person was none other than the young man who had mocked He Feiyu earlier. He looked at me with a half-smile, and I couldn't detect any malice in his words. I asked him, "Do you like Lin Yi?" Usually a guy who actively warns other men to stay away from a certain woman is a secret admirer. Unexpectedly, the young man looked like he had just heard a ghost story. His expression was visibly horrified. I'd have to be tired of living to have a crush on that great demon king. I raised an eyebrow. This was the second time I'd heard someone call her that. It seemed this nickname wasn't exclusive to Lu Ruyan. It was universally acknowledged. "Thanks for the advice. I'll figure it out." Zhou Tang gave me a rather odd look. The youth then waved his hand. "Whatever. Suit yourself. I just saw how decisively you cut ties with your adoptive parents earlier, and figured you had a good head on your shoulders, so I decided to give you a friendly warning." Saying that, he reached out his hand to me with a smirk. "Zhou Teng. Zhou real estate belongs to my family. Towards people who meant me no harm, I never pushed them away. Not to mention, this guy in front of me was open and straightforward. I quite like that." Reaching out to shake his hand, my gaze fell on the young man's glabella, on that faint, dark pink hue. I smiled and said, "You've got some bad romance luck coming your way. Remember to avoid anyone who inexplicably makes you feel like you owe them something, especially those you feel most drawn to." I was never stingy with a friendly warning. Zhou Tang didn't expect the topic to shift so quickly. "You actually believe in this stuff?" He thought I had just been putting on an act earlier to expose the He family's ugly true colors. I smiled back. "Not only do I believe it, I'm a professional. If you ever need to ward off backstabbers, you can come find me anytime." 2 days after the Lu family banquet, I finally set a time to visit Mrs. Wang. I packed my things and went downstairs, only to see that in the garden, Lu Qingqing and her 2 sisters were being forced to do push-ups, and in front of them, Lu Ruyan was sitting elegantly in a rattan chair, with some snacks and floral tea by her side, looking like she was enjoying a leisurely afternoon tea. Seeing this, I raised an eyebrow slightly. "What's going on here?" "Nothing much. Grandpa said they've been lacking exercise lately, so they should use the summer break to train their bodies," Lu Ruyan said with a smile, and added, I knew you were heading out, so the car is already prepared. I nodded. In just a few short days, I was already getting used to Lu Ruyan's meticulous arrangements. I ignored the three sisters who were struggling to hold themselves up, said a quick word to Lu Ruyan, and headed out the door. Lu Ruyan smiled as she watched me leave, before turning her gaze back to the three of them. The smile on her lips grew even gentler. Hold on tight now, at least 100 today. If anyone collapses halfway, all three of you will reset to 0 and start over together. As soon as she said that, the three sisters' faces instantly fell. They all started whining. Lu Ruyan turned a deaf ear to their complaints, maintaining that same noble and elegant smile. You're only family after you finish 100. If you don't finish today, your game consoles and action figures will stay in my custody. The three of them immediately let out another chorus of wails. Ever since the last banquet, the Lu family has practically been treating Lu Jinxi like an ancestor, worshipping him. I was scrolling through my phone looking for news about an auction, when the car pulled up smoothly at the Wang family's doorstep. Wang Yongming and Mrs. Wang were already waiting at home early on. As soon as I stepped out of the car, the two of them came right out to greet me. Master Lu, you're here. Although Mrs. Wang, to show closeness at the Lu family, called me directly by my name, in private, she still insisted on calling me Master Lu. The former was to back me up, but the latter was out of pure respect at the thought that today, their little Yan could finally return to normal. Mrs. Wang was so excited she didn't sleep a wink last night. Not just her. Wang Yaming and Wang Yumo also stayed up all night. For today, they deliberately canceled all their work at the company, just to witness with their own eyes the moment little Yan returned to normal. Meeting the Wang family's eager gazes, I just gave them a reassuring smile, and without much ado, I directly took out from my backpack a paper packet. The Wang family saw that inside the packet lay a few strands of hair, carefully wrapped in a yellow talisman. That was the hair of the person who swapped away their little Yan's sanity. I looked at them, pondered for a moment, and said, before we officially begin, there's something I need to confess to you. Seeing my rare, serious expression, their hearts couldn't help but leap into their throats. They thought there was some other risk involved, but then they heard me say, the one who swapped away little Yan's sanity back then was an auntie who had worked at the Lu family for years. She had accidentally helped an evil sorcerer once. As a reward, the evil sorcerer offered to help her mentally disabled daughter swap fates, so she targeted little Yan, who happened to be visiting the Lu family as a guest. Hearing that this was the actual truth, the Wang family's expressions became quite complicated. To say they didn't hold a grudge against the Lu family would absolutely be a lie. Their little Yan was just visiting as a guest and ended up being targeted, living like a mentally disabled child for 8 whole years for nothing. And they had been completely in the dark all these years, always believing that little Yan had just damaged her brain from falling off a horse back then. They blamed the Lu family in their hearts for being blind to the people they hired. But ironically, it was also me, a member of the Lu family, who discovered the problem and offered to help them. Wang Yoming took a deep breath, and after a long while, he sighed. As long as little Yan can return to normal, let it go. After all, our two families have a relationship. If we really fell out over this, it would be very awkward for us too. Right now, they just wanted little Yan to get better quickly. The Wang family's open-mindedness made me genuinely like them a bit more. I smiled faintly and just said, don't worry, she will get better. With that, I went upstairs. I took a strand of little Yan's hair on the spot, and under the midday sun, I set up a small-scale reincarnation array. Compared to last time when I awed everyone with a flying talisman, the array I set up this time seemed very plain and unadorned. They only saw me muttering a few words under my breath, chanting an incantation, and then I burned the hair wrapped in the yellow talisman. Then I stood up and told them, it's done. The Wang family hadn't even reacted yet, especially Wang Yumo. Previously, he had heard Mrs. Wang vividly describe how I cast spells and was hoping to see it with his own eyes today. But this was it. How could they know that last time I only did it to make the Wang family, especially old Mrs. Wang, completely convinced, which was why I showed off with a bit of a theatrical performance. Now that the Wang family already believed in my abilities, I naturally didn't need to keep putting on a show. The most high-end spells often only require the simplest methods. Fortunately, the Wang family was entirely focused on little Yan's condition and didn't question the process. They instinctively looked at their little Yan, every face filled with tension. They saw that little Yan's gaze, compared to before, seemed much clearer. Those beautiful big eyes swept over them and then landed on me. After a long while, she curiously opened her mouth and asked, puppy brother, are we not playing the treasure hunt game today? The Wang family's hearts instantly sank to the bottom. Why is she still exactly the same as before? Mrs. Wang looked at me anxiously. Master Lu, did the spell fail? Facing the Wang family's doubts, I appeared completely calm. She's already cured. Wang Yoming's brows tightly knit, looking at his little daughter who still had eyes full of innocent naivety. He couldn't see how she was cured at all. Knowing the Wang family was full of confusion, I immediately explained, when her sanity was swapped away, she was 8 years old. So right now, she still has the mind of an 8-year-old. The sanity that was swapped back won't give her the intelligence of a 16-year-old overnight. But from today onwards, she will be like a normal child, slowly growing up. It's just that she might mature 8 years later than her peers. Right now, it might seem a bit abrupt, but as time goes by, this gap will slowly narrow until she truly grows into an adult. Hearing this, The Wang family finally understood. That's right, their little Yan for the past 8 years had always been in a childlike state. Even if she recovered, it was impossible for her to suddenly turn into a 16-year-old teenager. If she really could grow up overnight, they would instead suspect if someone had secretly swapped the soul inside this body. Once Mrs. Wang figured this out, she immediately felt relieved. She looked at little Yan's still innocent features, tears already welling up in her eyes. It's fine. She just gets to have a longer childhood than others. Our Wang family's little princess is in no rush to grow up. Seeing that the Wang family had accepted it, I pulled out a jade pendant from my backpack and personally hung it around little Yan's neck. This is a protective jade pendant I made myself. It can block all evil methods and protect her peace and health from now on. Ultimately, the reason Wang Yan was repeatedly targeted was because of her exceptional fate. When Wang Yangming saw the jade pendant I gave little Yan, with its premium jade quality compared to the one that shattered before, it was more than just a little bit better. He immediately transferred another 5 million to me. This could be considered the payment for this time, but to his surprise, I directly refunded the money. Someone has already paid for this time. Wang Yangming was instantly stunned. He saw me show him a payment receipt page, which clearly displayed an amount of 10 million. Wang Yangming was still marveling at who could be so generous when he saw the sender's note. Lu Chen. The Lu family does bear some responsibility for the fate-swapping incident. My trip today, consider it me representing the Lu family. To make up for this mistake, today, I'm not just Master Lu. I also represent the Lu family. Hearing me say this, Wang Yangming's slight grudge against the Lu family completely vanished into thin air. Leaving the Wang family, I was just about to get into the car when a familiar voice suddenly came from behind. Excellency. I turned my head to look and saw Zhang Xingyi standing not far away, looking at me. Her eyes held uncontrollable surprise, along with that fake, pretentious affection. I came over to visit my second uncle. I didn't expect to see you here. What a coincidence, Zhang Xingyi explained in a gentle tone. Seeing that I didn't speak, she continued, I saw you at the banquet that night. I originally wanted to go over and say hi, but I was worried you'd be unhappy to see me. After all, there might be some misunderstanding between us. I raised an eyebrow. Misunderstanding? Seeing that I finally responded, Zhang Xingyi immediately said, Yes, Fei Yu must have told you that we're dating now, right? But that's not the truth. After your car accident, you unexpectedly found your biological family. Fei Yu lied to me, saying that your family were poor folks from the deep mountains. I was worried that your future would be ruined if you were sent away, so I begged him to ask Uncle He to let you stay in the He family. As a condition, I agreed to be his girlfriend. Hearing this, my eyebrows couldn't help but rise even higher. I sneered. So you're saying you did it for me? Zhang Xingyi looked at me with a bitter expression. I guess this is just a twist of fate. Excellency, do you know? Actually, the person I've always liked is you. And I know you've always liked me too. I originally wanted to hear what kind of nonsense she could make up, but hearing this, I finally couldn't help but cut her off directly. I questioned Zhang Xingyi straight to her face. Who told you I liked you? I remembered when I left the He family. He Fei Yu had also arrogantly claimed that I liked Zhang Xingyi, and now, Zhang Xingyi herself was saying I liked her. So who exactly was spreading these rumors about me everywhere? Hearing my words, Zhang Xingyi was visibly taken aback, but the next second, she looked at me like I was a little boyfriend throwing a tantrum, and smiled faintly at me. It's something everyone knows. No one needed to tell me. I could see it. During that time, you were always following me around. Wherever I went, you followed. You even bought me breakfast and came to watch my competitions. Even though you didn't say it out loud, I understood it in my heart. Hearing this, the corner of my mouth couldn't help but twitch violently. I said coldly, there's only one reason. I didn't say it out loud. And that is, I don't like you. As for why I was following you, trust me on this. You don't want to know the reason. My denial was so blunt that Zhang Xingyi was clearly stunned, but she still stubbornly believed her judgment was right. Why do you have to deny your feelings for me? Is it because of Fei Yu? Or is it because your current family won't allow you to be with me? I was truly speechless at this point. Some people are so narcissistic that they can't even listen to others. I finally witnessed it with my own eyes today. I couldn't be bothered to argue with her about this anymore, so I turned around and got straight into the car. Zhang Xingyi didn't seem ready to give up. Looking at her like that, I somehow instinctively rolled down the window. Zhang Xingyi's expression instantly changed, and she gave me inside the car that confident and gentle smile again. I just shot her a cold glance and asked, that excuse from just now, you probably spent 2 days and nights coming up with it, huh? Being forced to agree to be with He Fei Yu for my sake. Did she think she was acting in some old-school idol drama? Zhang Xingyi's eyes flashed with a hint of imperceptible embarrassment. She wanted to explain further, but I had already slowly rolled up the window and directly told the driver to go. I didn't look at her again. The car drove right past her, leaving her far behind. I guessed that in her eyes, that wasn't an excuse at all. It was clearly a way out she was mercifully offering me. She definitely thought that based on my past infatuation with her, I should gratefully accept this way out. After all, my status is different now. With just one word from me, she could immediately kick He Fei Yu to the curb. Closing the window in the car, I instantly threw Zhang Xingyi to the back of my mind. Just then, my phone chimed with a notification. I clicked it open to look, and my eyes flickered slightly. I spoke up and instructed, Uncle Hai, let's not go back to the Liu family just yet. Take me somewhere. Uncle Hai in the front seat immediately agreed. Following the address I gave him, he drove the car towards a development zone in the suburbs. Although this was a development zone, it seemed they hadn't had much luck attracting businesses. The surroundings looked quite deserted. Uncle Hai observed the environment around us, looking a bit uneasy. He asked me, "Young master, what are you doing in a place like this? How about I go in with you?" I knew Uncle Hai was the driver Liu Ruyan had specially arranged for me, also tasked with protecting my safety. I shook my head. "It's fine. Just wait for me outside." I paused, then added, "I probably won't be out very soon. You can find a place to rest first, or just head back directly." Hearing this, Uncle Hai replied with a serious expression, "I'll wait for you right outside." Seeing his insistence, I didn't push it further, and walked into the development zone alone. I passed by 2 desolate buildings, and walked straight into an inconspicuous small red brick building in the center of the zone. I entered the building and went all the way down, passing through a long corridor. When I pushed open a door, a whole new world opened up before my eyes. The massive space in the basement was actually an exceptionally luxuriously decorated underground auction house. Although the place wasn't too big, and there were fewer than 300 people inside, an attendant quickly approached me, stopping me with a respectful tone. "Sir, please show your invitation." I was just about to respond when a voice came from the exit on the other side. "He's my guest." As soon as the attendant saw who it was, his attitude instantly became even more humble. "Greetings, manager." The woman referred to as the manager had a very androgynous look. At first glance, she gave off a unique, gender-defying beauty. A pair of beautiful fox-like eyes constantly exuded a hint of flirtatiousness. She stared at me and gently crooked her finger at me, a gesture that seemed incredibly ambiguous. I was long used to her behavior and followed her straight towards a room at the back of the auction house. Inside, a folding screen divided the space in 2. One side was a reception area, while the other was an item display area, filled with all sorts of bizarre items up for auction. This was completely different from those auction houses that only sold antiques and art. Here at Yishin's, everything sold was weird and bizarre. As long as you wanted it, and as long as she had it, anything could be traded. Even if you wanted something she didn't have, she had the means to get it for you. "Where's the thing I asked you to find?" As soon as I walked in, I couldn't wait to ask. Seeing my impatient look, Bai Xin just raised the corner of her eye and turned to the item area to rummage around. After a short while, Bai Xin walked out, carrying a long box. A hint of slyness flashed across those fox-like eyes. "I'm not sure if this is exactly what you're looking for. Take a look for yourself." She casually opened the lid. Inside the box lay a withered branch. The entire branch was charred black. It was a rare, evil-warding magical artifact in the occult world. A lightning struck peach wood. Just by the faint aura of lightning and fire radiating from the peach wood, one could tell this thing was absolutely extraordinary. But after looking at it, I shook my head. "This isn't the branch I'm looking for." Bai Xin's originally confident expression instantly froze. She glared at me. "Do you have any idea how hard it is to find 1,000-year-old lightning-struck wood? You're lucky I even managed to get this one." Saying that, she pushed the item closer to me. "Take a closer look. After all, don't all branches look pretty much the same?" I didn't even glance at it, and just pushed it right back. With a serious expression, I said, "I'm certain the one I want is completely different. Besides," I said from the very beginning, "I'm not looking for it to use as a magical artifact. It's to use it, to find the person who once owned it. My master." Back then, he clearly promised to stay with me until I was 18. Who knew he would suddenly vanish without a trace? No matter how I divined or calculated, I could never catch even the slightest trace of his aura. It was as if he had never existed in this world at all. Right now, other than following the magical artifact he left behind to search for clues, I really couldn't think of any other way to find my master. Seeing my firm attitude, Bai Xin couldn't help but smack her lips. The lightning-struck wood she had just treated like a treasure was casually tossed aside by me. What a waste of effort. Hearing the heavy thud of the box slamming onto the table, my heart couldn't help but twinge with pain. Even if it wasn't the one I wanted, it was still a genuine 1,000-year-old lightning-struck wood. You really don't cherish occult treasures at all. Hurry up and apologize to it. After returning to the Liu family, the butler came to tell me that He Chisen wanted to see me. Hearing this, I was curious, so I said, "Bring her to the side hall." As soon as He Chisen saw me, she said urgently, "Cincy, come with me quick." I paused for a moment, then said coldly, "I no longer have any ties with your He family. Isn't it inappropriate for the eldest Miss He to act like this?" At this point, He Chisen couldn't care less about all that, and blurted out the whole story. It turned out the black aura on He Feiyu's body was getting thicker and thicker. He had been having nightmares for several days straight. Today, he even dragged Zhang Xingyi down with his bad luck, and the two of them got into a car accident on the road. By now, He Chisen had lost her patience, and said coldly, "Don't you just want Grandma's bracelet? As long as you can solve Feiyu's problem, the bracelet is yours." I refuse. Seeing me refuse without a moment's hesitation, He Chisen was clearly stunned for a second. He even thought she had misheard. "What did you say?" I said I refuse. Seeing her look like she couldn't hear clearly, I kindly repeated it to her, word by word. He Chisen's face instantly turned ugly, including last time. This was already the second time I had disobeyed her. "Cincy, stop throwing a tantrum. I know you're still mad about that day, when Mom told you to leave the He family, but we're all family. Besides, if it weren't for Mom and Dad, you wouldn't have been able to return to the Liu family now. I shot her a glance. So according to you, I should be grateful to you guys. Hechisin was just about to speak when I cut her off bluntly. Also, let me say this one more time. I am no longer family with you guys. My surname is Liu now. Even if you've acknowledged your biological parents, we're still family. Hechisin furrowed her brows. Or is it really like what they say? Now that you're the eldest young master of the Liu family, you don't want to acknowledge us anymore? I just looked at her calmly and asked in return, what if I say yes? The day I left the He family, I said it clearly. I have nothing to do with you guys anymore. Even if I wasn't the eldest young master of the Liu family, I still wouldn't want to acknowledge you. Hearing my words, Hechisin's expression became extremely awkward for a moment, but she quickly restrained herself and said in a deep voice, Cincy, I've already heard about what happened at the banquet. No matter what Mom and Dad did it for, they still raised you. For you to be so impatient, to even cut ties with the He family in front of so many people, to sever your relationship with the He family. Do you know how much that broke their hearts? Mom and Dad never used to fight in the past. That day, they fought fiercely because of you, and fell ill that very day. Hechisin first lectured me with a stern face, then softened her tone. Even so, they didn't blame you. You're actually willing to let me bring Grandma's bracelet to see you, Cincy. Mom and Dad have been really good to you. You shouldn't always be so ungrateful. My brow twitched slightly. I used to think that Hechisin was the only normal person in the He family. After all, growing up, Hechisin never put me down or intentionally got me into trouble. Instead, she would take the initiative to check on my studies and give me birthday presents. She even comforted me occasionally when Zhao Shukin punished me. Because of that, I once tried to treat Hechisin like a real sister. I did all sorts of things for her, hoping to get a little warmth in return. But later, I realized Hechisin wasn't who I thought she was. She only cared about my studies because she didn't want me to embarrass the He family. The birthday gifts she gave me were things her admirers gave her that she didn't want, and she only comforted me to keep me from making a scene. Hechisin was just better at masking her hypocrisy and selfishness. In that regard, Hechisin and He Baochang are truly father and daughter. That bracelet was always meant for me. Grandma left it to me. You want my help? Yet, I'm only asking He Feiyu to return the things he stole from me with his own 2 hands. I've already been quite kind to you all. Why are you so ungrateful? I threw Hechisin's own words right back at her. Hechisin's brow furrowed instantly. Feiyu is injured. He's badly hurt. And what does that have to do with me? Hechisin looked at me in utter disbelief. Cincy, how did you become like this? Feiyu is your brother after all. He's called you brother for over 10 years. I just looked at her, a cold smirk playing on my lips, my voice dripping with mockery. A brother who pushes his own sibling in front of a car just to save himself? I don't need a brother like that. That accident, which Zhao Shukin called He Feiyu's great escape at 18, was aimed at He Feiyu from the very beginning. But the moment He Feiyu saw the car coming, his first instinct was to push me, standing right next to him, into its path. Neither Zhao Shuqin nor He Feiyu expected that I would actually survive that crash, and just as I expected, Hechisin's first reaction was denial. What nonsense are you talking about? How could Feiyu ever do something like that? Cincy, I understand you're upset about the accident, but you can't just go around blaming others for no reason. You say Feiyu pushed you to block the car? Why didn't you say anything back then? And even if he did, it would have only been because he was terrified, an unconscious reaction. What's wrong with an older brother taking a hit for Feiyu anyway? Why do you always have to be so petty? Hechisin spoke with a pained, preachy tone, her voice full of condemnation and disappointment in me. Listening from upstairs, Liu Qingqing was absolutely speechless. But when she heard the woman accuse me of being petty, Liu Qingqing completely lost her cool. What the hell? My temper's flaring up. She turned and bolted downstairs. She moved so fast that even Lu Wei couldn't grab her in time. It was at that moment that Hechisin, downstairs, seemed to suddenly realize someone else was there. Her expression shifted slightly. In contrast, my reaction was much more composed. Clearly, I had known they were there all along. Meanwhile, Liu Qingqing had already stomped down the stairs, her slippers slapping against the floor as she burst into the side hall. She pointed a finger at Hechisin and started shouting, "Is your entire He family mentally ill or something? The men are snakes, and the women are fake as hell. Your brother pushed him in front of a car, and you call him petty for even mentioning it? If that's the case, why don't you go out and get hit by a car yourself? Looking at that sling on your arm, I guess you already did. When you were in the hospital, why did you only fix your arm? Did you forget to ask the doctor to check your brain? In the Liu family, Liu Qingqing was the definition of reckless. If something didn't sit right with her, she'd give anyone a piece of her mind, regardless of who they were, especially since the person in front of her wasn't a Liu. Hechisin, suddenly being yelled at by a 14 or 15-year-old girl, looked beyond humiliated. Still, she tried her best to maintain her status and the dignity of the He family. She questioned coldly, "And who are you?" "I'm talking to my brother. Don't you know it's rude to eavesdrop on other people's conversations?" That condescending, elder-like tone made Liu Qingqing's lip twitch. Liu Qingqing hated being lectured more than anything. Aside from old Master Liu and her eldest uncle, anyone who tried to boss her around would make her explode on the spot. "Brother, my foot. His last name is Liu now. He's one of us? A Liu." His sister is upstairs, and his younger sister is right here. What kind of sister do you think you are? Stop trying to claim kin. I heard you yapping from upstairs. We're not even angry. We've been so good to you. Who are you trying to gaslight? You think you're smart enough to pull that manipulation crap? He might be a bit slow, but the rest of the Liu family isn't stupid. I felt a wave of exasperation. I strongly suspected she was using this as an excuse to insult me, and I had plenty of evidence. Looking at Liu Qingqing's stance, even if she hadn't heard everything, she'd caught the gist of it. The He family came crawling to me for help, yet they still acted like this? Even Liu Qingqing couldn't stand it. The He family's dirty laundry is already public knowledge. Why are you still acting out this loving siblings drama? You can't even fool me, let alone someone as cold as him. You think your little tricks could ever work on him? I was speechless again. That was the second time she'd insulted me. I'm telling you, I have proof. Liu Qingqing was on a roll. She reached for the jewelry box on the table, pulled out the bracelet, and looked at it with pure disdain. You come asking for a favor with this piece of junk? Who are you trying to insult? With that, she raised her hand, looking like she was about to smash the bracelet on the floor. My expression changed instantly. I flicked my finger toward Liu Qingqing, sending a burst of spiritual energy directly into her raised arm. The moment her arm went numb and frozen, I blurred across the room, reaching her in 2 steps. I snatched the bracelet from her hand and gave her a sharp glare. I finally got this bracelet back, and this idiot almost smashed it. I was certain she did it on purpose. That idiot Liu Qingqing was now frozen in terror. Her entire arm had been paralyzed just a second ago, but as soon as I took the bracelet, she could move it again. Her expression clearly said that she knew I was responsible. Upstairs, Lu Wei was equally shocked. Liu Qingqing might not have seen it clearly from her position, but from Lu Wei's angle, my movements were plain as day. I had covered the distance to Liu Qingqing in just 2 strides. That was over 10 feet, with a table in the way. I had crossed it without even a wobble. He was probably wondering if I was some kind of martial arts master. He kicks in, however, didn't react as strongly as the Liu siblings. I noticed that she had been watching Liu Qingqing closely. When she saw Liu Qingqing about to smash the bracelet, a flicker of anticipation had crossed her face. To her, the bracelet might be Grandma's heirloom, but if it could make me fall out with the Liu family, she'd rather see it in pieces. Besides, if Liu Qingqing had smashed it, she could have twisted the narrative. I would have been forced to help them out of obligation. The He family could have even used the Liu family's mistake to gain leverage and demand compensation. I watched He Chisin as she looked at Liu Qingqing with a hint of regret. I saw right through her. My face went cold. If you have nothing else to say, please leave. He Chisin turned back to me, looking helpless. Sinchi, I truly consider you family. Must you be like this? Ignoring even your sister's request? Liu Qingqing exploded again at the word sister. Just as she was about to start shouting, I spoke first. My voice was flat as I asked, is that jade plaque I gave you still around? At my irrelevant question, both Liu Qingqing and He Chisin froze. He Chisin thought for a moment, before realizing what I was talking about. 2 years ago, when I first started learning jade carving, I had carved a plaque as a beginner and given it to her. I remember telling her to make sure she kept it on her at all times. He Chisin had promised she would, but the moment she turned around, she had tossed that ordinary jade aside. Now that I was asking, He Chisin didn't even feel guilty. She just frowned and asked, why are you bringing that up now? My gaze fell on her arm in the sling, and I smiled slightly. I already had my answer. It seems she lost it. Back then, I told her that the jade plaque was actually a protective talisman I'd made. I knew very well that her accident was caused by the resentment she'd absorbed from Hefeu. If she had been wearing my jade plaque, no matter how bad the crash was, she wouldn't have suffered a single scratch. But now, she had a broken arm. That was proof enough that the plaque I carved had long since been thrown into the back of some closet or the trash. And yet, she still had the nerve to stand there and claim she treated me like family. The sheer shamelessness of it was laughable. Excellency, He Chisin tried to explain herself, but I was done listening to her nonsense. And yet, he still has the nerve to talk big like that, claiming he treats me like family? His kindness is nothing but a joke. A display of shameless hypocrisy. He Chisin tried to open his mouth to argue further, but I didn't have the patience to listen to any more of his nonsense. I cut him off immediately. If Hefeu wants to solve the mess he's in, tell him to come find me himself. As for the rest of you, stay away from him for a while. I guarantee your luck will stop taking a nosedive. He Chisin's face darkened the moment I finished speaking. I added coldly, that's my final piece of advice. Take it or leave it. It's your choice. With that, I didn't even give him a second glance. I took the bracelet and the mirror and walked out of the side hall. I headed straight upstairs. That's right, I'm taking this bracelet. Consider it payment for the advice I just gave you. He Chisin didn't expect me to leave so decisively. He tried to chase after me, but Liu Qingqing stepped in and blocked his path. She raised her voice and shouted, Butler, show our guest out. The butler moved with incredible speed. He appeared in front of He Chisin in an instant, wearing a perfectly professional smile. After all, showing people the door was something he was very well practiced in. He Chisin was forcibly escorted out by the butler. Liu Qingqing watched as that eyesore of a man finally disappeared. She immediately stomped her way upstairs. She still had a bone to pick with me. Liu Ruyan and Liu Chen hadn't been home all day. The moment they walked through the door that evening, they heard that He Chisin had come to cause trouble for me. Their expressions darkened as they gave the butler a strict order. From now on, if anyone from the He family shows up, Don't let a single one of them inside. After saying that, they prepared to head upstairs to check on me, worried that the He family had bullied me again. But just as they stepped onto the stairs, they saw me walking down, cradling the little fox, and for once, I had a little tail following me. Lu Qingqing was trailing behind me, looking absolutely fuming. She fired off a barrage of questions. What exactly happened to my arm earlier? Did you do something to it? Lu Xinzi, you better start talking. If it weren't for me today, that He woman would have walked all over you. You were so tough when you were dealing with us, so why did you go mute against the He family? You're embarrassing the Lu family. Lu Chen frowned as he watched Lu Qingqing pestering me. He thought she was picking on me again, and was about to intervene when Lu Ruyan stopped him. Lu Chen paused. Seeing that Lu Ruyan was watching with interest, he decided to let it be. Lu Qingqing hadn't noticed the two of them yet. It wasn't until I stopped walking that she looked up and saw them. A flash of guilt crossed her face, but she quickly composed herself. Uncle Ruyan, you're back, she said obediently. What were you two talking about? Lu Chen asked in a deep voice. I was about to speak, but Lu Qingqing, afraid I'd tattle, rushed forward a few steps to beat me to it. Uncle Ruyan, we were just talking about that. He woman who came by. She kept trying to use her sister's status and upbringing to pressure him, so I gave her a piece of my mind and kicked her out. Lu Ruyan arched an eyebrow. Is that so? You're quite capable. Hearing the praise, Lu Qingqing proudly puffed out her chest. Of course. Look where we are. Trying to act tough on Lu family turf, she should have looked in a mirror first. Lu Qingqing glanced at me again, seeing my usual calm expression. Without a hint of gratitude, she felt annoyed again. She had gone out of her way to stand up for me, yet I hadn't said a single thank you all afternoon. I was so ungrateful. No wonder Yi Bai said he shouldn't have meddled. Someone like me wasn't worth helping. The more she thought about it, the angrier she got. Lu Qingqing decided to try a different way to complain. Uncle Ruyan, you have no idea. Lu Xingqi is actually quite close with that He woman. He even carved a jade plaque for her by hand. At the mention of being close, Lu Chen instinctively looked toward me. He shook his head, his eyes showing a hint of disapproval. Lu Ruyan chuckled. A jade plaque? Like a protective charm? I have one too. As she spoke, she pulled a red string from her collar with a touch of subtle pride. Hanging from the string was a jade plaque carved with runes. I looked at the red string around her neck. It looked completely out of place with her noble, refined aura. My eyes flickered, and my gaze brightened slightly, though my face remained calm. Lu Qingqing didn't expect her attempt at stirring trouble to backfire so spectacularly. She stared at the jade plaque, feeling a pang of jealousy. She looked at Lu Chen expectantly. Uncle, do you have one too? Lu Chen pursed his lips, looking at the plaque around his daughter's neck, then turned to me. I don't have one, he said, his voice low. I looked at him with surprise. But I definitely gave you one. Lu Chen froze, a flash of joy appearing in his eyes, which was quickly replaced by a frown. I never received it. It's with me. Lu Ruyan spoke up, her face expressionless. Sinchi wanted me to pass it on, but I kept it. Lu Chen's expression shifted instantly. He was about to scold her, when Lu Ruyan added calmly, back then, father had made a mistake. So, I temporarily confiscated the charm Xinchi gave you. She didn't specify what the mistake was, but Lu Chen knew exactly what she meant. A hint of guilt flashed in his eyes before he regained his composure. He tried to sound authoritative. Xinchi asked you to deliver it. Even if you were upset, you shouldn't have kept it for yourself. Give it to me now. Lu Ruyan shrugged. It's in my room. I'll get it for you later. No, go get it right now. Faced with his father's sternness, Liu Ruyan didn't dare push further. He turned and went upstairs, returning a moment later with the jade plaque. It was still in its unopened lucky pouch. Lu Chen opened it right in front of me. Seeing that it was indeed an identical jade plaque, a wave of joy washed over him. Though he tried to suppress his expression, he couldn't help but rub it repeatedly in his hand. You carved this yourself? The craftsmanship is incredible. I didn't know Xinchi had such talent. Since his plaque didn't have a red string, Lu Chen carefully put it back into the pouch and tucked it into his breast pocket like a precious treasure. Lu Qingqing watched Lu Chen's reaction, turning green with envy. It was hard to tell if she was jealous that her uncle treasured my gifts so much, or if she was upset that I'd prepared gifts for them, but not for her. Meanwhile, He Qixin, who had been kicked out of the Lu residence, returned to the hospital room. Her parents and He Feiyu were still waiting there. Seeing her return, He Baoqing asked urgently, well, did he agree to help? He Qixin shook her head. Xingqi, he's really like a different person now. Upon hearing this, Zhao Shuqin immediately started cursing. That ungrateful brat. I told you so. We'd be better off looking for that master who saved Feiyu's life back then. He Baoqing's face was grim as he snapped back at her. If we could find him, we would have already. Stop talking nonsense. The problem was that ever since the accident, that master had completely vanished. Zhao Shuqin didn't dare say another word and quickly changed the subject. If that boy won't help, then he can forget about taking the bracelet the old lady left. She then pressed He Qixin. Where's the bracelet? A flash of embarrassment crossed He Qixin's face. She hesitated for a long time before speaking. He took it. What? Zhao Shuqin slammed her hand on the table in a rage. He won't help, but he has the nerve to steal the bracelet? How can that little brat be so shameless? Lying on the bed, He Feiyu was also full of resentment. He cursed his sister in his head for being useless. How could she just let me take the bracelet like that? Wasn't that exactly what I wanted? Heifeiyu was so angry he slammed his fist on the bed. Heifeiyu was so enraged that he slammed his fist onto the bed. He forgot he was still hooked up to an IV. The needle dug deep into his flesh instantly. Blood began to flow back into the tube. He let out a pathetic scream of pain. Hearing him cry out, the others rushed over in a panic to check his hand. In the chaos, someone must have leaned on the bed frame. The hospital bed, which was halfway raised, suddenly collapsed back down. Heifeiyu slammed hard against the mattress. It shouldn't have been a big deal, but Heifeiyu started wailing at the top of his lungs about his back. The He family scrambled to ring the bell for the doctor. After an exam, the doctor said he had just strained his lower back. Zhao Shuqian lost her temper instantly. She started accusing the hospital of negligence and making her son's condition worse. She caused a massive scene. With all the shouting, Heifeiyu's mild concussion flared up, making his head throb even more. He turned his head and started dry heaving. He Baocheng stood to the side, watching the farce with cold eyes. His expression grew increasingly grim. He was certain of one thing now. He couldn't let Feiyu keep suffering like this. Tomorrow, he had to find a way to make Feiyu go see Shinzi in person. Meanwhile, back at the Lu residence, I was carefully wiping down the bracelet I had taken back. Suddenly, my phone on the nightstand began to vibrate. I glanced at the caller ID. It was a high school classmate I hadn't spoken to in ages. I picked up the phone, and an anxious voice came through. Lu Shinzi, it's me. Are you in High City right now? I've been in a car accident. I'm at the hospital, and my family cut off my cards. Could you come see me? And maybe help me cover the medical fees? Please, I'm begging you. I didn't say a word. I just quietly listened to the background noise on the other end. The person's tone sounded a bit guilty. Then they spoke again. We were classmates after all. You wouldn't refuse a small favor like this, would you? Hello? Lu Shinzi, are you still there? I spoke up with a cold smirk. I hear you. Do me a favor and tell that Mrs. He's standing next to you. If she wants to see me, tell Heifeiyu to come find me himself. Stop using these cheap, underhanded tricks. After saying that, without a second thought times, click, I hung up the phone. My classmate on the other end was left completely stunned. He wasn't the only one. Zhao Shuqian, who was eavesdropping nearby, was even more flabbergasted. How did he know I was the one who told you to call? She turned to the guy and demanded furiously, did you give him some kind of hint? Zhao Shuqian had no idea. Ever since I started studying the occult, my hearing has become far sharper than a normal person's. I could understand Zhao Shuqian using someone else's phone to contact me. After all, I had already blocked every possible way for my family to reach me. But what I couldn't understand was, them. Why do they always act so high and mighty? Even when they're asking for a favor? Even now, when they're the ones begging me, they still resort to these petty little schemes to force me into seeing Heifeiyu. If I don't want to see him, he can go to hell for all I care. I carefully put the bracelet away, then got up and headed downstairs. I needed to go back to my rental to pick up some materials, to make a few things. But just as I reached the second floor, I ran straight into Lu Qingqing, who was also heading down. It was obvious she'd stayed up all night gaming. The dark circles under her eyes were impossible to miss, and her face looked pale and drained. Yet, the moment she saw me, she still gave me a sharp huff, and turned her head to walk past. Wait, Lu Qingqing was quite surprised I stopped her, thinking I was finally going to thank her. She turned back with an arrogant tilt of her head. What? She'd been voice chatting with people in games, picking up all sorts of rough slang and local dialects, though she only dared to talk like that in private. She wouldn't dare be so disrespectful in front of Grandpa Lu. I just stared at her, and said out of the blue, don't go meet any online friends today, and definitely don't go anywhere high up. Lu Qingqing just thought I was crazy. She gave a disdainful snort. Mind your own business. With that, she stomped off down the stairs. I watched her walk away, thinking about the black mist I saw hovering between her brows. Well, I've warned her. If she wants to seek out death, there's nothing I can do. Downstairs, Lu Qingqing was still grumbling to herself. What a weirdo. Just then, Zhou Yibai walked over. Qingqing, what's up? Nothing. Just ran into someone annoying. She glanced at Zhou Yibai and asked, Brother Yibai, are you going out? Yeah, I've got a meeting with an online friend today. Hearing the words online friend, Lu Qingqing instantly thought of what I had just said. She felt a strange sense of coincidence. How come right after he said that, Brother Yibai is going to meet an online friend? Even though she didn't believe my words, she had an eerie gut feeling she couldn't explain. She instinctively blurted out, there are so many scammers online these days. It's better not to meet strangers from the internet. Zhou Yibai just smiled. Qingqing, you've got a strong sense of caution, don't you? But don't worry, this friend is very reliable. Actually, you know them too. It's Chunchun from the game. Lu Qingqing froze. She remembered Chunchun. He was a young boy with a cute voice, seemingly around her age. Since she loved gaming, Brother Yibai would occasionally hop on to play on her team, which was how they met this friend named Chunchun. Lu Qingqing listened and asked curiously, why did you two suddenly decide to meet up? Zhou Yibai looked gentle as ever. Well, it's the holidays. I had nothing else to do, so we set it up. He shifted the topic. Actually, Qingqing, why don't you come with me? Zhou Yibai gave a refined smile. Didn't you say? One shouldn't meet online friends alone. If you're with me, I won't be alone. Besides, you know Chunchun. Lu Qingqing frowned, about to refuse, but out of the corner of her eye, she saw me walking downstairs. She heard Zhou Yibai's words, but her gaze swept toward me. Seeing my look, which was part reminder and part warning. Lu Qingqing felt a sudden surge of irritation. It was as if she didn't want to back down in front of me. She gritted her teeth and changed her mind. Fine, I'll go with you. Then go change your clothes quickly. I'll wait for you down here. Okay. Lu Qingqing turned around sharply, deliberately glaring at me with a look of pure defiance. I couldn't be bothered with her childishness and walked straight toward the entrance. Zhou Yibai then pretended to just notice me, greeting me warmly. Excellency, are you heading out too? Wait a moment, I'll have the driver give you a lift. Lu Qingqing, who was about to go upstairs, paused. She felt something was off about those words, but she couldn't put her finger on what it was. She instinctively looked over at me. I just gave Zhou Yibai a cold glance and flatly refused. No need. I walked to the foyer to change my shoes, but before leaving, my eyes couldn't help but linger for a moment on that pair of limited edition sneakers. Zhou Yibai stared at my back. Underneath that gentle mask, a hint of mockery flickered in his eyes. Not long after, Lu Qingqing changed and hurried back down. She still looked a bit sluggish. Seeing that I was gone, she couldn't help but say to Zhou Yibai, Brother Yibai, maybe we should skip today. Let's reschedule for another time. Zhou Yibai looked confused. We already made plans. How can I break my word? And just a moment ago, didn't you say it's dangerous to meet online friends alone? He gave her a seemingly playful scolding, then reached out to pull her along. Come on, just think of it as getting some fresh air with me. You'll go crazy if you stay cooped up at home all day. Lu Qingqing felt helpless and allowed herself to be led out the door. While putting on her shoes, she felt they fit a bit differently than usual, but the thought was fleeting, and she quickly pushed it to the back of her mind. She thought to herself, I'm just being paranoid because of those cryptic things he said. How could his words be taken seriously? At most, I'll just avoid high places. Lu Qingqing thought Zhou Yibai's meeting would be at some trendy cafe or a shopping mall. She never expected that the meeting spot would be an abandoned school. Besides Chunchun, there were several other young men and women there. Supposedly, they all knew each other from the internet. One of them claimed to be the daughter of a real estate tycoon. This heiress was named Yi Xinzi. Her family held a high status in Haishi. Aside from gaming, she loved chasing new and thrilling experiences. My dad bought this school, she said. He's planning to turn it into a massive theme park. This building will be an escape room. It's still in the planning stages, but we can play real-life CS in here first. That was the plan, playing tactical games in an abandoned school. Ever since this school was built, it had been plagued by trouble. Students were either jumping off buildings or having mental breakdowns. Last year, a minor even committed suicide on the rooftop. The school was forced to close, and the government eventually auctioned it off for redevelopment. I have a friend who owns a CS shop. I had all the gear delivered. We'll split into 2 teams for a match. Any objections? As Yi Xinzi spoke, her eyes couldn't help but drift toward Zhou Yibai. In this group, Zhou Yibai stood out. Zhou Yibai had an extraordinary aura. His features were clean and handsome. Just standing there, he drew the attention of many girls. He was the center of everyone's gaze. Not to mention a socialite like Bi Xinzi who loved to have fun. It could be said that the effort she put into organizing this gaming tournament today was entirely for Zhou Yibai's sake. But even she didn't expect that Zhou Yibai would actually bring a younger sister along. Zhou Yibai naturally felt the gazes coming from all around. He didn't care about it at all. He had long been used to the adoring looks of others. He simply curled his lips into a smile and shifted his gaze to the side, toward Lu Qingqing, whose face had been pale since they arrived. He asked with concern, Qingqing, what's wrong? Don't you love playing games the most? At this moment, Lu Qingqing was in no mood to play games. She looked at the towering school buildings surrounding them. Everything about this place felt eerie and terrifying. Thinking back to my words, her skin began to crawl. She immediately wanted to back out. Why didn't you tell me before we left that we were coming to a place like this? I'm not playing anymore. Lu Qingqing was used to getting her way. Even when she was upset with Zhou Yibai, she never considered his feelings. Hearing her complaining tone, a hurt expression instantly flickered across Zhou Yibai's face. I thought you'd enjoy coming out to play. Before Lu Qingqing could even respond to his display of vulnerability, the girls nearby were already losing their patience. He's your brother. How can you talk to him like that? If you don't want to play, then don't. It's not like anyone's dying to have you here anyway. Bai Xinzi's expression wasn't great either. To stand up for her idol, she didn't care if the other person was his sister. Little sister, you're not just a sore loser, are you? Do you want me to call a car to take you home for a glass of milk? Bai Xinzi's tone was dripping with sarcasm. Lu Qingqing had never been insulted like this before. She immediately bristled and shot back. Who's afraid of losing? Fine, let's play. In a bit, I'll have you all on your knees calling me daddy. Lu Qingqing had completely forgotten my warning. Her only thought was to humiliate these people. Suddenly, a strange silence fell over the surroundings. It was already evening. By the time I returned to my rental, just as I was about to step inside, I felt something was off. I pulled the sub-talisman from my pocket, and it instantly burned into black ash. If the sub-talisman turned to ash, the mother talisman must be destroyed too. My heart sank, just as I expected. What a stubborn little brat. I originally thought it would be good for her to learn a lesson, and I really didn't plan on interfering. But with the mother talisman turning to ash so quickly, It seems, whatever Lu Qingqing provoked this time is no joke, especially that lingering yin energy. Why does it feel vaguely familiar? After a moment's thought, I turned around and strode back out. I'll do it for the sake of my third uncle and aunt. They've been good to me. I called Lu Ruyan to ask for the number of the female driver, who took Lu Qingqing and Zhou Yibai. Meanwhile, I hurried toward the main gate. Halfway there, I happened to run into that familiar Maybach. That unique golden glow made it instantly recognizable. Without a second thought, I rushed forward to block the car. Hey boss. Miss Ling Yi, let me borrow your car. Ling Yi looked speechless. Is this guy seriously stalking me now? I sat in the back seat with total confidence. After confirming Lu Qingqing's location, I urged the driver to head straight for that abandoned school. Half an hour later, we arrived. I thanked Ling Yi and walked inside. At a glance, I saw the school building shrouded in a massive cloud of black energy. I frowned. The yin energy was far more intense than I imagined. There's at least a century-old vengeful spirit in there. But why? Didn't I sense anything unusual from the outside? Could there be a barrier set up here? No time to overthink. Moving like lightning, I rushed toward the school building. The moment I entered, a wave of freezing malice hit me. The black mist was churning like a solid mass, desperately trying to burrow into my body. I pulled out a purifying talisman to clear the path. Suddenly, a piercing scream echoed in my ears. Ghost! That sounded like Lu Qingqing. It's coming from the 5th floor. Anxious, I used a light body talisman to boost my speed and leaped upward. In a few bounds, I reached the 5th floor. Stepping into the hallway, I spotted Lu Qingqing. She was carrying a giant silkworm cocoon, running for her life toward the other end of the long corridor. Behind her, countless silk threads seemed to come alive, chasing and coiling toward her frantically. The bone-chilling malice accompanying them pierced straight to her soul. Lu Qingqing ran with all her might, but felt an icy grip tighten around her ankles. Every step felt like she was treading through an ice cellar. She could clearly feel the silk closing in behind her. Her mind screamed that it was over. But even so, she still clung tightly to the giant cocoon on her back. She was filled with nothing but endless regret. Her heart was heavy with it. I had warned her so early on, yet she still ran off to meet that online friend. Not only did she meet him, she went straight to the rooftop and let that thing out. Lu Qingqing really wanted to burst into tears. She wanted to call me for help, but she hadn't even bothered to memorize my number. Suddenly, her vision blurred. Lu Qingqing felt silver-white threads whip past. Before she could react, the threads had already coiled around her neck and ankles. Her eyes were filled with terror. As the threads bit into her skin, she knew she was truly finished today. Tears finally escaped her eyes. Just as despair took hold, a familiar female voice suddenly broke through the air. The voice was clear and sharp, sounding like a divine melody in this moment. Heavenly thunder rumbles, earthly thunder roars, with the power of the 6 Jia above and the 6 Ding below. By my command, let the thunder strike. I shouted as the thunder talisman flew from my hand. The next second, 3 bolts of fire thunder crashed down. Instantly, the black tainted silk threads were burned to ash. Lu Qingqing's legs gave out. She slumped to the ground, clutching the giant egg. When she turned and saw me, her eyes instantly welled up. She burst into tears. Wah! I really know I was wrong now. Brother! I rushed forward and smacked the back of her head. Stop crying. Pick up your egg and let's get out of here. I had only temporarily forced those silk threads back. This place is not safe at all. As for that cocoon egg on her back, seeing how desperately she protected it, it was obviously Zhou Yibai inside. Lu Qingqing was used to being smacked by her dad out of nowhere. Being hit by me actually felt strangely familiar. She stopped crying instantly. She nodded, and quickly hoisted the human-sized cocoon egg, and scrambled to her feet. I led her back downstairs. While it was temporarily safe, I pulled out a yellow talisman and flicked it. That yellow talisman instantly became as hard as a blade in my hand. Lu Qingqing watched wide-eyed as I held the talisman between 2 fingers, and made a swift cut. The cocoon egg she just put down split in half. Then, a man rolled out of the egg. Seeing this, Lu Qingqing rushed over to help him. I looked at this complete stranger, and was stunned. Who is this? Where is Zhou Yibai? She answered in a small voice. This is Chun Chun. Brother Yibai. One is still upstairs. When Lu Qingqing mentioned Zhou Yibai, her voice clearly faltered. I didn't think much of it, but hearing someone was still upstairs, I couldn't help but frown. I had to ask if the 3 of you were meeting up. Why did you have to pick this godforsaken place? I was honestly speechless with these young people. What normal internet friends meet up in a place like this? Lu Qingqing's expression froze. She looked at me, her face full of guilt. She stammered, It wasn't just 3 of us. My eyelid twitched. A bad feeling instantly rose in my heart. There are 9 of us in total, besides me and Chun Chun. The other 7 are all up there. I fell silent. Good grief. Is seeking death in groups a trend these days? But those are 7 lives. I couldn't just pretend I didn't know and walk away. Take him and leave first. I'm going up to find them. I was about to leave after saying that, but Lu Qingqing grabbed me. Her face still showed lingering terror, but she wiped her tears with the back of her hand. Her expression became unusually determined. She looked at me. I'm coming with you. I know where they are. Seeing her resolve, I knew she understood. If it weren't for me today, she would already be dead. She probably felt that she couldn't just leave me to face this alone. We members of the Lu family don't do such irresponsible things. Besides, there were so many people and so many eggs up there. She didn't believe I could save them all by myself. I didn't refuse her again. I just asked, we might run into that thing again. Aren't you scared? I thought for a moment and then nodded. Then I pulled a jade pendant from my small bag. I handed it to her. This is a protective jade. Keep it on you. If things go south, run as fast as you can. When Lu Qingqing saw the familiar jade, her eyes lit up. She immediately took off the silver chain from her neck, threw away the original pendant, and quickly threaded the jade onto the chain. She watched as I rummaged through my bag again and pulled out a utility knife. I took a piece of yellow paper, wrapped it around the handle a few times, and handed it to her. For self-defense. I saw Lu Qingqing staring at the utility knife. Her lip twitched. She must be thinking, don't masters usually carry legendary artifacts? How come there isn't even a peachwood sword? This utility knife is way too half-assed. Still, something was better than nothing. In the end, Lu Qingqing took the knife. I gave her a brief rundown of what might happen next. Once I was sure she understood, I pulled out a few more yellow talismans. Lu Qingqing watched as I flicked my wrist. Several talismans instantly circled in the air, and then quickly descended over Chun Chun's head. They formed a protective barrier around him. This sight left Lu Qingqing dazed. Because of this, she suddenly felt a bit more confident in the little utility knife she was holding. The two of us headed back upstairs. When we reached the rooftop door, we found it was already covered in layers of silk threads. Without a word, I pulled out a fire talisman and burned the silk. I pushed the door open. On the rooftop, 7 giant cocoon eggs were arranged in a neat row. I signaled Lu Qingqing to hide behind the door while I stepped inside. I thought I was being careful enough, but the moment I stepped onto the rooftop, the world started spinning. By the time I realized what was happening, I'd already fallen into another illusion. The rooftop was still the same rooftop, but the scene had changed to daytime. A boy in a school uniform was pushed to the ground by several people. Soon, someone climbed on top of him and began to pinch him recklessly. Your mom is just a street food vendor, but she sure raised you white and chubby. There's so much meat here. It feels so good to pinch. You guys should try it too. Remember to pinch where the clothes cover. Don't let anyone find out. I heard some people bruise easily. Let's strip him and see how it looks. The boy struggled with all his might, but they still stripped him of his shirt. A group of boys surrounded him, laughing hysterically. They even pulled out their phones to take pictures. The boy could only curl up and hold himself. He wept and begged for mercy. Suddenly, the scene before my eyes shifted violently. It was the same boy. He stood on the edge of the rooftop, his clothes neat and tidy. Then, without a moment's hesitation, he leaped. It was the same rooftop again. This time, it was a young girl in a school uniform. She stood in the exact same spot, holding a stack of exam papers in her hands. Her eyes were hollow and numb. She tore the papers apart, piece by piece. Finally, she threw the shredded remains into the air. The scraps of paper fluttered like snow, and she followed them, plunging into the void. I just stood there, rooted to the spot, watching these young lives, constantly snuffed out in this place. Some were victims of bullying, some buckled under the weight of academic pressure, some were assaulted and then faced public scorn. Their hearts were filled with resentment toward the school and everyone around them. That malice had shrouded this building day after day, and it began to infect those who came after. I even started to think, maybe some of them didn't actually want to die, but they were driven to a dead end anyway. Even just watching these scenes across time and space, I could feel it. That overwhelming resentment was surging toward me. I knit my brows. I was trying to find a way out of here, but the scene shifted once more, and the person who appeared this time made me freeze mid-motion. In this new vision, there was a boy around 16 or 17. He was slowly backing away, and right in front of him, the person slowly closing in was He Fei-yu. At the same time, back at the hospital, He Fei-yu was lying in his sickbed. He had fallen into another deep, dark nightmare. As the most pampered young master of the He family, He Fei-yu always got whatever he wanted. He knew the He family wasn't exactly top-tier nobility, but that didn't stop him from acting like a king. He still saw himself as a chosen one among men. He only noticed Du Fei-yu in the first place, simply because the guy shared his name. When he happened to hear his classmates calling someone else by that familiar name, He Fei-yu was pissed. He's just some poor loser. How dare he have the same name as me? It disgusted him, but to maintain his perfect image in front of his peers, he didn't let it show. Instead, he told everyone it was fate. But his words were laced with subtle hints, suggesting that sharing a name was actually quite a nuisance. Huo Yufei, whose family did business with the He family, had been a sycophant since they were kids. He was He Fei-yu's most loyal lapdog. The moment he heard about He Fei-yu's troubles, he naturally wanted to solve them immediately. And so, Huo Yufei began to bully Du Fei-yu openly. He and his gang would block his way to school, deliberately flip his lunch tray, and throw his desk, chair, and books into the trash. Every time he saw Du Fei-yu in a pathetic state, he would laugh mockingly without a shred of mercy. As for He Fei-yu's reaction, he would only offer a half-hearted, casual reprimand. Hey, don't bully our classmates, okay? The way he said it was so weak, it was like a light tickle. Sounded more like a hidden form of encouragement. So Huo Yufei went after Du Fei-yu with even more enthusiasm. He Fei-yu didn't care about someone with the same name, someone who wasn't on his level. Then one day, He Fei-yu heard that Du Fei-yu's family had withdrawn him from school. From then on, he never heard another word about Du Fei-yu. Even Huo Yufei suddenly transferred schools, but he had stopped caring whether Huo Yufei lived or died long ago. A year passed. He Fei-yu had almost forgotten Du Fei-yu even existed. He didn't understand. Why was Du Fei-yu suddenly haunting him? Is he dead? But even if he's dead, What the hell does that have to do with me? It's not like I killed him with my own hands. If he hadn't been such a pathetic loser, how did he end up getting involved with someone like Huo Yufei? He even ended up riddled with diseases. It was clearly his own bad luck. Why the hell is he haunting me? Once again, he fell into that cycle of waking up and sleeping, a loop of nightmares where he'd wake up only to be terrified again. He Feiyu completely snapped. He screamed at the Du Feiyu standing before him who was actually He Chixin. He cursed at the top of his lungs. Du Feiyu, so what if you're dead? What's that got to do with me? I didn't kill you. What right do you have to torture me like this? You think this scares me? I'm not afraid of you. You're just a piece of trash who slept around with Huo Yufei. I'm not scared. Just wait until my dad finds a powerful master. I'll have him exorcise you. I'll make sure your soul is obliterated. As if provoked by his words, the Du Feiyu in front of him suddenly became incredibly distorted and hideous. This time, He Feiyu couldn't wake up, because Du Feiyu reached out and grabbed him, right by the throat. In the dream, Du Feiyu was crying tears of blood. He looked absolutely terrifying. His eyes were filled with pure hatred for He Feiyu. His hands squeezed tighter and tighter. In the real world, He Feiyu began to convulse violently on the hospital bed. It was as if his breath was being physically choked out of him. The monitors beside him let out a sharp, piercing alarm. Doctors and nurses rushed into the room to resuscitate him. In the chaos, someone's hand brushed against He Feiyu. In the dream, Du Feiyu was suddenly blasted back by a massive force. A second later, He Feiyu's eyes snapped open. He gasped for air in sheer terror. Meanwhile, on the rooftop of the school building, I watched He Feiyu intently as he threw the boy down and ran away. A cold, mocking sneer curled on my lips. I seemed to be immersed in the boy's despairing illusion, unaware of the silk threads quietly closing in around me. Those strands of silk turned pitch black, attempting to burrow into my body bit by bit. But right then, I, who had been standing motionless, suddenly felt a flicker of golden light pour from my palm. That speck of light flickered, and in the next instant, the illusion before me shattered into pieces. My eyes snapped open. My gaze locked onto a specific spot on the rooftop. Immediately, 3 thunder charms flew from my palm. Heavenly thunder rumbles, earthly thunder groans, 6G above, 6 ding below. By my command, strike down the thunder. It was the same familiar thunder curse. I figured 3 charms would at least force the enemy to show themselves, even if it didn't deal a fatal blow. I needed to find a chance to save the people first, but I didn't expect that the moment I threw the charms, a speck of golden light in my hand would fly out along with them. I didn't have time to pull the light back before I finished the incantation, and the moment I shouted the final word, flash of lightning tore through the air. The next second, 3 bolts of purple lightning slammed down right where my charms had landed. My eyes widened in shock. Purple lightning. Before I could process it, I saw the spot where the lightning struck. Another silk cocoon suddenly appeared. But unlike the others, this one was only the size of a child. It was blood red all over, as if it had been soaked in gore. The red cocoon tried to flee as the purple lightning struck. However, under the overwhelming power of the 3 bolts, there was nowhere to run. Under the fury of the purple lightning, the shell of the red cocoon was incinerated into ash almost instantly. I saw something fly out from the charred skull. My eyes narrowed. I quickly flicked out a yellow talisman, wrapping the object up tight. After the purple lightning faded, everything became clear and pure. Liu Qingqing, who was hiding behind the door, was completely stunned. She thought that the lightning I used to save her before was cool enough. She had no idea that wasn't even close to my full power. This is real power. Brother, you are literally my god. Was that skull the culprit behind all this? Are we safe now? Even she could feel it. The icy chill that had been clinging to the air had vanished without a trace after that purple lightning. Everything felt different. Liu Qingqing felt lighter than ever before. She was excitedly circling around me now. I was also marveling at my own power. That wasn't just a heavy blow. I straight up ground the enemy's true form into dust and scattered the ashes. You saw that, right? Those 3 bolts of purple lightning. I was still a bit unsure. Did my thunder charms really call that down? Liu Qingqing thought I was just bragging, so she immediately played along. I saw them. 3 massive bolts of purple lightning. It was so cool. I took a sharp breath in secret. It really was purple lightning. I didn't see it wrong. Lightning is naturally the bane of all evil, but purple lightning is a force that can literally vaporize evil into nothingness. And I actually summoned something that powerful? I didn't even know. When did I become capable of calling down purple lightning? Master said I had great talent, but I've only been studying the mystic arts for a short time. Being able to summon regular lightning was already impressive. I felt like something was off. Before I could think further, my gaze fell on the 7 giant cocoons. The aftershock of the purple lightning had swept through. The silk wrapping them had already cracked. Save them first. As soon as I spoke, I pulled out a yellow talisman. With a few quick slashes, I split open 2 of the cocoons. Seeing this, Liu Qingqing hurriedly pulled out her utility knife and carefully cut open the other cocoons. Soon, all 7 people were rescued, but every single one of them was unconscious. What do we do now? Should we call the police? Liu Qingqing was calling me brother quite naturally now. I looked at the unconscious group and said, call an ambulance first. Get them to the hospital. They've been tainted by yin energy. But luckily, it's not a major issue. Liu Qingqing was very obedient. Just as she was about to pull out her phone, a slightly low female voice came from behind us. I've already had someone make the call. The ambulance will be here soon. It was Lin Yi. She had arrived. Liu Qingqing and I turned around. We saw Lin Yi, who had somehow made her way up to the roof. She looked at everything before her with a calm, steady gaze. When her eyes swept over the silk shells beneath the victims, she only frowned slightly. She didn't seem particularly surprised. It seemed Lin Yi didn't plan on meddling at first, but after seeing the flash of lightning over the school building, she decided to come inside anyway. When she reached the bottom of the building, she found the boy lying on the ground. She knew something had definitely happened, so she followed the commotion up to the roof. I saw the dazzling golden light radiating from Lin Yi. I froze for a second. Then a realization hit me like a bolt of lightning. I think I finally understood. The thing I threw out with my thunder charms earlier. It was that speck of golden light. The one I had borrowed from Lin Yi before. So those 3 bolts of purple lightning were drawn out by this big shot's golden light. In an instant, the way I looked at Lin Yi became complicated and intense. Complicated because I didn't actually summon that purple lightning on my own. Intense because the golden light on Lin Yi's body actually had such a powerful hidden use. While I was staring at Lin Yi, she was also looking at me. Her scrutiny was blatant and undisguised. She seemed to want to ask something, but didn't know where to start. Just as she opened her mouth, a cool breeze swept across the rooftop. In the next second, the silk cocoons beneath the victims instantly turned to dust and scattered with the wind. Lin Yi's brow twitched. Suddenly, she didn't seem to want to ask anymore. Whatever happened, it clearly wasn't something science could explain. Before we could exchange words, footsteps echoed from downstairs again. This time, it was Lu Ruyan. She had her driver with her. Seeing the bodies strewn across the rooftop, Lu Ruyan's face turned pale for the first time. She looked at Lu Qingqing. Her voice was thick with suppressed rage. She was furious. Lu Qingqing, you better have a damn good explanation for this. I was the one who asked Lu Ruyan for the address earlier, so I wasn't surprised she showed up. But Lu Qingqing didn't know that. Seeing Lu Ruyan was like a mouse seeing a cat. She instinctively hid behind me. This really wasn't my fault. She didn't forget to tug on my sleeve. Brother, quick! Help me explain to Sister Yan. Lu Ruyan watched Lu Qingqing's little gesture. She raised an eyebrow in surprise, and I actually spoke up. Yeah, it wasn't her fault. Lu Ruyan thought, if it wasn't her fault, then whose was it? Her gaze suddenly landed on Zhou Yibai, who was lying on the ground. So this is the main culprit. But seeing the 7 people unconscious on the floor, she didn't seem to have the heart to press further. The ambulance arrived shortly after. They took the 7 from the roof and Chunshin from downstairs, and rushed them all to the hospital. Hearing that Zhou Yibai was in trouble, Lu Wei and Lu Fang rushed over immediately. I watched them hurry into the patient's room. Faint sounds of an argument drifted out. They were probably interrogating Lu Qingqing. I bet they were nagging about how good Zhou Yibai is, and why Lu Qingqing didn't protect him. The usual bullshit. Lu Qingqing was being bombarded with their scolding. She was probably dazed by it all. Her face turned red with anger. What the hell do you guys know? How do you know I didn't protect him? Why don't you ask him what he did back then? But in the end, Lu Qingqing didn't reveal the truth. She was just hurt and angry. She turned around and bolted. Lu Wei and Lu Feng probably thought she was running out of guilt. No one went after her. I had just walked back. When I saw Lu Qingqing storming out of the room in a huff, she ducked straight into the emergency stairwell. Inside the stairwell, I saw her wiping her tears away harshly with the back of her hand. She didn't look like she was being bratty. She looked like she had been deeply wronged, even though she was the one who impulsively agreed to the race. It seemed there was more to the story. Those silk threads appeared so suddenly. None of them could have possibly reacted in time. Looking at how indignant she was, I bet Zhou Yibai did something that truly broke her heart. Like, at the critical moment, Zhou Yibai probably shook off her hand and ran, and maybe Chunshin lunged in to help, resulting in both of them getting entangled. But how did she break free from those threads later? I saw her suddenly remember something. Her feet seemed to tingle as if they'd been burned, so she took off her shoes. It was an emergency back then. She hadn't thought much of it. Now, she was looking down to check her shoes. She saw a layer of black ash on the insoles, clear signs of something having burned. In the corner, there was a tiny scrap of yellow paper left. The moment she saw that yellow scrap, she must have realized it was the talisman I used, and everything clicked for her. Her eyes turned even redder. It seems she finally knows that I was the one saving her from the very beginning. I clearly warned her, but she refused to listen. Now she regrets it, knowing I secretly tucked a charm in her shoe. Thinking about this, Lu Qingqing couldn't help but sob even harder. This time, her tears were full of gratitude. She wasn't just moved. She was probably overwhelmed with guilt, too. She had been so hostile toward me before, even tried to kick me out of the house. Yet, I helped her without holding a grudge. While she was crying, I pushed open the door to the stairwell. She jumped, startled, and instantly stopped her crying. She turned and saw me. Her eyes widened in surprise. She forgot she was even crying. Her eyes were red, and tears were still clinging to her lashes. Looking at her like this, she actually looked quite fragile, like a broken beauty. I raised an eyebrow slightly. Lu Qingqing's face turned bright red in an instant. She was both embarrassed and shy. What are you doing here? As soon as the words left her mouth, she felt her tone was too sharp. She immediately softened her voice. I didn't mean you can't be here. I just meant, if you want some air, I'll get out of your way. Seeing her like this, I knew she was finally won over, but she still couldn't quite swallow her pride. She couldn't even bring herself to call me brother again. I came to find you, I said as I reached out my hand toward her. I spoke with a cold expression. That jade pendant I lent you for protection. It's time to give it back. I deliberately acted cold, as if nothing had happened between us. I saw Lu Qingqing's eyes well up again. She instinctively clutched the jade pendant around her neck. She asked weakly, Wasn't this jade pendant for me? I gave her a sideways glance. I only lent it to you temporarily. I never said it was yours. I could tell she knew I was telling the truth, but she just couldn't bear to part with it. This jade pendant doesn't just protect her. I bet she wanted to use it as a sign of my acceptance. She immediately softened her tone. Brother, can't I just keep this jade pendant? Seeing I didn't react, she quickly made her stance clear. I was immature before. Brother, I'll never go against you again. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. I just watched her quietly. You really want it? Lu Qingqing nodded vigorously. The look in her eyes practically screamed. I want it. So, I held my hand out in front of her again, ready to be an emotionless debt collector. The jade pendant is 200,000, plus the fee for this job 400,000 for 4 thunder charms. That's 600,000 total. I accept bank transfers or Alipay. Given her past attitude, saving her was already a favor for being relatives. I wasn't going to be polite about the bill. Lu Qingqing knew she was in the wrong. She didn't refuse when I asked for money. Instead, her eyes darted around. My money is all in WeChat. Brother, how about we add each other? I'll transfer it to you there. I saw right through her little scheme, but I didn't call her out. I took out my phone and added her as a friend. I saw the joy she couldn't hide. Once the request was accepted, then she quickly transferred the 600,000 over. I accepted the transfer without hesitation. Seeing the numbers increase in my account, I couldn't help but smirk. Who wouldn't be happy getting paid? I just didn't expect the Lu family kids to be this loaded. We went back to the hospital room. Zhou Yibai was already awake. I saw a flash of awkwardness in his eyes when he looked at Lu Qingqing, but he quickly reached out to her with a smile, faking a worried expression. Qingqing, I was so worried when I woke up and couldn't find you. Are you okay? Lu Qingqing heard him. She gave him a look. Then she just turned her head away and ignored him. Seeing this, Lu Feng's face immediately darkened. Lu Qingqing, Yibai is worried about you. What kind of attitude is that? I'll have whatever attitude I want. Lu Qingqing was back to her usual feisty self. She snapped right back, but she still wouldn't spare Zhou Yibai a single glance. It seems she really did see him as a brother before, but what happened in that school building left a scar on her heart. Even if it was a normal human reaction to be scared, being abandoned definitely didn't feel good, especially being abandoned by someone you trusted. Zhou Yibai's eyes flickered. Then he lowered his gaze. He spoke up. Qingqing, everything that happened today was my fault. If I hadn't insisted on dragging you there, you wouldn't have been in danger. I'm so sorry. Zhou Yibai sounded incredibly sincere, combined with his pale face. Lu Feng immediately felt bad for him. Yibai, why are you apologizing to her? You're the one lying in a hospital bed. That brat is the one who should be apologizing. Lu Feng, don't talk about Qingqing like that. Ultimately, this was my responsibility. Qingqing tried so hard to protect me. Stop making excuses for her. If she really protected you, how come she's fine while you're lying here? Lu Wei chimed in as well. Yibai, you're just too quick to take the blame. She's not a child anymore. They were completely blinded by his act. It was pathetic. We can't keep spoiling her. Besides, even if something happened to her, it's just because she's incompetent. I watched as the two of them started lecturing Lu Qingqing again. Her face turned green with rage. It looked like she had finally reached her breaking point. All you two do is talk. Why don't you ask him what he actually did? I told him from the start I didn't want to meet his stupid online friends. I didn't want to play some dumb game of CS either. He's the one who forced me to go. Now that things went south, you're blaming me? Why don't you ask him? When things got dangerous, I was the one who stood in front to protect him. But what did he do? He let go of me and ran away. Lu Qingqing vented everything in one breath, expecting some support from Lu Wei and Lu Feng. Instead, they both looked at her with judgment. Yibai would never do something like that. Lu Qingqing, stop making things up. Yibai was being kind by taking you out. Have you no conscience? How can you turn around and blame him? Zhou Yibai suddenly covered his face and began to sob. Sister Lu Wei, please, stop. Qingqing is right. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have taken her out. I put her in danger, and I failed to protect her. The two of them immediately started comforting him. They coddled Zhou Yibai while scolding Lu Qingqing. Lu Qingqing was so angry she felt like her head might explode. She had explained everything clearly, so why wouldn't anyone listen? And the way Zhou Yibai spoke, he admitted fault while subtly denying it, sounding so aggrieved and pitiful. It made it seem like Lu Qingqing was the one being unreasonable. In that moment, she finally understood how I felt when they used to target me. She looked at Lu Wei and Lu Feng, probably thinking they were both complete idiots. I didn't care to stick around for this farce. I spoke up directly. Since he's awake, I'll be heading back now. I turned to Lu Qingqing and asked, are you coming? Lu Qingqing blinked, stunned for a second. Then she snapped out of it and nodded vigorously. Yeah, let's go, brother. I'm coming with you. She gave the people in the hospital room a massive eye roll. Then she turned to me with a smile and followed close behind. We were gone in a flash. Better to go home and rest than waste breath on idiots. I needed some peace and quiet. Only 3 people remained in the room. Lu Wei and Lu Feng looked at each other. They weren't even done lecturing her yet. How did she just run off like that? Zhou Yibai kept his head lowered. I caught a glimpse of coldness and frustration flickering in his eyes. Something happened at the abandoned school building again. Even though no one died, it caught the attention of the police. The internet was buzzing with news about that building. People even started digging up info on everyone who had ever been involved in an accident there. In the hospital, He Feiyu, who had barely escaped with his life, saw the news online. He was so terrified he dropped his iPad on the floor. He couldn't keep up the act anymore. He started crying and screaming for a master even Lu Xinzi would do. As long as he can save me. He doesn't have to come to me, I'll go to him. Just tell him to get rid of Du Feiyu. I can't take it anymore. Du Feiyu has come back as a ghost to haunt me. Meanwhile, the person He Feiyu was so desperate to see me was currently standing in front of an old, dilapidated apartment building. The building was covered in stains and cracks. The walls and doors were plastered with small advertisements. There was no elevator in this old place, so I had to climb the stairs to the 6th floor. Following the guidance of the energy I sensed, I finally stopped in front of a specific door on the 6th floor. I reached out and knocked. I had to knock for quite a while before I finally heard footsteps inside. The door opened. A gaunt, middle-aged woman stood behind it. She looked exhausted as she stared at me, her face full of confusion. "Young man, who are you looking for?" I looked at the woman and spoke slowly. "I'm looking for Du Feiyu." The woman's eyes flickered with fear. She immediately tried to shut the door. "He's dead." I reached out and held the door firmly. It looked like a casual gesture, but the force was enough to keep the door from moving an inch. "I know he's in there." I paused for a moment. "I'm here to help him." The woman's body trembled as she looked at me, her eyes bloodshot. When she spoke again, her voice was laced with an uncontrollable tremor. "Who are you? Did the He family send you?" I shook my head. "My surname is Liu. You can call me Shinzi." The woman just stared at me, her eyes filled with a mix of struggle and pain. Eventually, she slowly stepped aside to let me in. "Come in." I walked into the cramped little apartment. There was no sofa in the living room, just a single bed. The woman didn't offer me a seat. She led me straight to the only bedroom door in the house. I watched as she knocked first. Then, without waiting for a response, she pushed the door open. Through the open doorway, I finally saw the situation inside. In the clean little room, there was a bed, and a young boy was sitting on it. This was the person He Feiyu claimed was already dead, Du Feiyu. I was right. Du Feiyu wasn't dead at all. After He Feiyu abandoned him and ran, he had been rescued just in time. He had managed to survive, at least physically. Du's mother didn't know what he had suffered at school, until he was brought to the hospital. Du Feiyu's father had passed away early, and his mother had raised him all on her own. How could she accept her son being bullied like that? She went to the school in a rage, demanding an explanation. But the school was vague and dismissive. In fact, they even hinted that Du Feiyu was the one tarnishing the school's reputation. The school refused to help, and she had no power or influence. In her desperation, she listened to some social media influencer and posted the story online to seek justice. But she never imagined that this move would push her and her son into an even deeper abyss. People online didn't care about the truth. They pinned all the blame on Du Feiyu. Some people even dug up his contact information and sent him private messages full of insults and humiliation. Du Feiyu had barely returned from the brink of death, only to open his eyes to a flood of abuse and mockery. How could a 17-year-old kid endure such relentless malice? One night, he finally broke. To give her son some peace, his mother told the world he was dead. Hearing this, I felt a pang of sympathy. Du's mother looked at me, her eyes completely hollow. She said the internet had long since forgotten him, and she didn't want anyone to know he was still alive, just to come and disturb him again. "I don't know how you found out he's alive, but if you're here to help by using the internet, I don't want it." The weight of life had dried up her tears, but I could hear the endless pain and regret in her voice. For once, I reached out and took her hand. "Don't worry. When I say help, I mean helping him regain his senses." She shook her head. "It's no use. So many hospitals couldn't cure him. He's used to it now." I suppose she thought this was just an early onset of Alzheimer's or something similar. Seeing her doubt, I didn't say much. I simply tossed out a yellow talisman. She watched in shock as the talisman floated on its own, hovering right above her son's head. What surprised her even more was that her son, who usually never reacted to anything, slowly looked up at the talisman. Her pupils contracted, and she looked at me in utter disbelief. I explained calmly, "The reason he's unresponsive is because part of his soul is trapped at the abandoned school. I found it by chance and followed the energy here." As I spoke, I pulled a small lantern made of yellow talismans from my bag. The lantern was clearly empty, yet it emitted a faint, ethereal glow. I looked at her and said, "If you trust me, I will try to guide this part of his soul back into his body." She looked at the talisman above his head, then at the lantern in my hand. She didn't doubt me anymore. With teary eyes, she nodded vigorously. "I trust you. I trust you, young master. Please save Feiyu. Save my child." Having received her plea, I finally nodded. I took out a cinnabar pen, walked to the bed, and quickly drew a soul-guiding sigil on Du Feiyu's forehead. Then, I placed the small paper lantern in his palm and began to chant. "Heavenly path be clear, earthly path be still, human path be void. 3 souls and 7 spirits, return. By my command, return to your vessel." As the final words left my lips, the floating talisman quickly wrapped around the paper lantern. A red thread of light shot out from Du Feiyu's forehead, connecting him to the lantern. His mother watched as a speck of light inside the lantern began to move along the red thread toward his forehead. She guessed that the light was her son's soul. She held her breath, terrified that even a sigh might blow it away. I watched the light reach his forehead, but just as it was about to merge, the sharp, piercing cry of an infant suddenly rang out. I saw Du's mother cover her ears in pain. The next second, the light that was about to enter his forehead was violently yanked back into the paper lantern. She couldn't help but cry out, her eyes full of panic. In an instant, 3 yellow talismans flew out, wrapping the lantern in layers. The struggling light finally stopped in midair. Before I could even catch my breath, I saw the talismans wrapping the lantern begin to turn into black ash, one by one. I frowned. I sent out 3 more talismans to reinforce the seal. At the same time, I formed a sword gesture with my fingers, grabbed that speck of light, and forced it into Du Feiyu's forehead. The moment the light fully merged, the red thread vanished. However, the paper lantern wrapped in 6 talismans began to shake violently. Du's mother was terrified. She didn't even dare to check on her son's condition. Seeing that the soul guiding was complete, I didn't hold back. I raised my hand and struck the paper lantern with a burst of spiritual light. I barked a cold command. Behave yourself. The paper lantern acted as if it had been slapped. It paused for a moment, but it continued to shake stubbornly, trying to get close to Du Feiyu. I simply pulled out a bundle of red string. The string flew out, binding the paper lantern until it looked like a ball of yarn. Then I slapped another yellow talisman on it. That finally made it settle down. I stuffed it into my backpack. Du's mother was staring at me in total shock. Young master, what? What was that? Looking at her expression, I knew she was worried that it was another part of her son's soul. I was about to explain when a raspy groan came from the bed. Hearing that sound, she stiffened. Forgetting about the ball of yarn, she immediately turned to look at Du Feiyu. The moment she locked eyes with her son, her numb, lifeless expression was instantly replaced by overwhelming emotion. Her eyes turned red in an instant. Feiyu. She choked out his name and rushed to the bedside, tears streaming down her face. Feiyu, you're looking at me. You can speak again, my son. She sobbed as she pulled him into a tight hug, finally letting out all the pain in a loud wail. Du Feiyu's face was full of confusion and lostness, as if he had just woken up from a long, dark dream. He looked at her with a puzzled expression, not understanding why. His mother suddenly looked 10 years older. Seeing their reunion, I didn't want to intrude. I walked out of the room on my own, quietly closing the door behind me. After a long while, she finally opened the bedroom door. She was wiping away her tears, and though she still looked haggard, it was as if she had been brought back to life. There was a spark of hope in her eyes. She came forward to thank me profusely, and I went back into the room with her. Inside, Du Feiyu had clearly just finished crying. The way he looked at me was very complicated. I could tell he recognized me. He probably remembered me as Feiyu's brother. Sinzi. Did Feiyu send you? It had been a long time since he had spoken. His voice was very raspy, and his gaze was full of defensiveness and fear. Even though Feiyu and I were in the same high school, we weren't in the same class. Du Feiyu must have heard Feiyu talk about his brother in private. I had been busy studying the occult with my master back then, so I had no idea who Du Feiyu was. Seeing his guarded look, I simply said, "My surname is Liu now. I have nothing to do with the He family anymore." His mother was completely confused, so she had to explain to him everything that had just happened. Knowing that I was the one who saved him, Du Feiyu still looked a bit dazed. His face was full of questions. He couldn't wrap his head around how Fei유's brother could do things like this. However, that didn't stop him from apologizing to me. His mother then asked how much she owed me. She didn't understand these things, but she knew a master with my skills wouldn't be cheap. I looked at her, clearly malnourished, and then at their tiny, cramped apartment. I said, "The consultation fee is 300, plus 80 for the talismans. Just give me 380 yuan. She was stunned for a moment, but she quickly let out a sigh of relief. She nimbly took out her phone and transferred the money. After taking the payment and leaving a protection talisman for Du Feiyu, I finally left the building. I went downstairs and found a quiet spot to wait. Soon a woman dressed in all black, wearing a black hat, walked toward me. She wore a black mask, but her eyes were curved as if she were smiling. "Hello, Spirit Express Delivery. What item are we shipping today?" I pulled the paper lantern bound in red string out of my backpack. Perhaps because it was away from the apartment, the infant spirit inside began to struggle violently. The woman in the black hat wasn't surprised at all by the thrashing little thing. Instead, she calmly pulled a box from her bag. I recognized it as a spiritual tool, auctioned by Yixing before. It could temporarily seal away evil spirits. There were only 12 of them in existence. I put the lantern in the box and paid her on the spot. The woman immediately left with the box. I sent a message, stating the estimated delivery time. At the same time, I transferred 800,000 yuan to the recipient. The 600,000 I just got from Lu Qingqing was gone, and I had to chip in another 200,000 of my own. My heart ached a little at the loss, but I quickly regained my composure. It's fine. I lost money on this job, but I'll just make it back from another one. Even though it was by accident, I did end up solving someone's problem. Now I need to take this chance to collect some interest. At the hospital, Feiyu had only been in bed for 2 days, but he had visibly withered away. He had dark circles under his eyes, his skin was sallow, and he looked completely drained. Because of his near strangulation 2 days ago, Feiyu hadn't dared to close his eyes since. No matter how tired he was, he forced himself to stay awake. He looked at everyone with suspicion and fear, as if the person in front of him might suddenly turn into Du Feiyu and pounce. He downed his 3rd cup of coffee for the day. Beside him, Zhao Shuqin had a bandage on her head. When she went out today, she had somehow managed to trip and hit her head on the steps. Even so, she was still worried about her son. After getting patched up, she rushed straight back to the ward to watch over him. Right now, she looked at her son with nothing but heartache. "Feiyu, you've had almost 20 cups of coffee in 2 days. Your body is going to collapse if you keep this up." Feiyu ignored her. He drank every last drop of coffee before turning to her. He asked urgently, "Mom, Did Dad find that master who can save me yet? If all else fails, go find Lu Xinxi. Didn't they say he could save me? Fei Yu, don't worry, your dad is already looking. We don't need to beg that brat Lu Xinxi. Hearing this, Fei Yu lost his temper and smashed his glass on the floor. Shards flew everywhere. With a loud crash, Fei Yu roared in frustration. I want to see Lu Xinxi. Take me to see him right now. He took my bracelet, so he can't just ignore me. I pushed the door open, just in time to see Zhao Shuqin frantically trying to calm him down. They were in a total mess. I stood at the door, one eyebrow raised, with a faint, knowing smile on my face. I heard you wanted to see me? Well, here I am. Fei Yu froze when he saw me. Then his eyes lit up. I bet. This was the first time he was actually happy to see me. Lu Xinxi. Fei Yu tried to scramble up, forgetting his broken leg and twisted waist. He grimaced in pain. Zhao Shuqing looked at me, with pure suspicion. I had ignored them when they tried so hard to invite me before. My showing up voluntarily today must mean I'm up to something. What are you doing here? Zhao Shuqin asked warily. I just glanced at her out of the corner of my eye. Didn't you invite me? Just then, he Baochang and he kicks and returned. Compared to the last time I saw them, they both had new injuries. They were certainly consistent in their bad luck. I looked at the black energy swirling around them and understood what was going on, but I didn't say a word. I walked straight into the room and got to the point. I'm here for two things. I can deal with the thing haunting Fei Yu, but I'm only doing this once. Whatever he provokes after this is none of my business. Before I could even finish, Fei Yu couldn't wait to agree. Just save me this once. If you help me, I'll still treat you like my brother from now on. Hearing this, my face darkened instantly. I felt like turning around and leaving right then. Who wants to be your brother? If you want me to save you, never call me that disgusting title again. My attitude was the same as at the banquet. No affection whatsoever. Baochang's eyes flashed with a cold glint, but he quickly masked it. We agree, as long as you help Fei Yu, this time. But I didn't start immediately. Second, I want you to write a transfer agreement for the bracelet, sign and seal it. He kicks and frowned. Excellency, since we gave you the bracelet, we won't ask for it back. Why say such things? I just glanced at him, my voice cold. I wouldn't be so sure about that. I paused and added bluntly, I don't trust you. The gloom in Baochang's eyes deepened, but he could only say, I agree. I demanded he write the transfer on the spot, sign it, and stamp it. For Fei Yu's sake, Baochang didn't dare give up on his only hope. He had no choice but to comply. I took the agreement and spoke again. Also, my fee is 5 million. Payment up front, then I work. And Fei Yu must do exactly as I say during the process. Zhao Shuqin had been holding back, but she couldn't take it anymore. She almost lunged at me. 5 million? This is highway robbery. You brat, I think you're just making things up to get that 5 million back. All this talk is just an excuse to extort us. I'm telling you, forget it. She tried to signal Baochang. Baochang? We can't trust a word this kid says. Kick him out. Baochang's face was also quite grim, but I didn't say anything immediately. I didn't want to waste words with them. I pulled a yellow talisman from my bag and flicked it directly toward Fei Yu. The talisman moved on its own without any wind, circling Fei Yu once, before coming to a steady halt right in front of his forehead. This sudden display of power instantly shut up the He family members, who hadn't believed in me. What surprised Fei Yu even more was that as the talisman circled him, he clearly felt the chilling sensation inside his body weaken. It was replaced by a faint warmth. Fei Yu's haggard face instantly lit up. Without thinking, he said, 5 million. I'll transfer it right now. Just help me destroy that evil ghost. Du Fei Yu immediately. Hearing him mention Du Fei Yu with such gritted teeth, I knew he thought it was Du Fei Yu's ghost haunting him. My eyes turned cold, but I said indifferently, his resentment is too deep. I can't destroy him, but I can dissolve his grudge. So he won't haunt you anymore. Fei Yu desperately wanted Du Fei Yu's soul to be obliterated. Hearing that I couldn't destroy him, he immediately frowned. But before he could hesitate, I turned as if to leave. Seeing this, Fei Yu didn't dare to stall any longer. You have to guarantee that he'll never come looking for me again. It seemed he had truly had enough of the torture of seeing that ghostly face every time he opened his eyes. I thought to myself, the source has already been collected by me. He would never see Du Fei Yu's ghost again anyway, so I nodded. But you must do exactly as I say. 15 minutes later, Fei Yu looked at the small paper lantern I had folded from a yellow talisman. He looked at me with a mix of surprise and uncertainty. Do I really have to do this? Sincerely repent for everything you've done. Only when he feels your remorse. And I won't pester you anymore. Hesitation was written all over Fei Yu's face. You're not secretly recording this, are you? I just gave him a sidelong glance. I casually pulled out my phone and tossed it onto the nearby sofa. Seeing that the phone was locked, Fei Yu finally breathed a sigh of relief. He looked at the 3 members of the He family. He hesitated for a moment. With a pleading tone, he said, Mom, Dad, Sister, could you all step out for a moment? Zhao Shuqin looked confused. Fei Yu, how can we leave you alone in a room with Lu Xinxi? Don't be afraid, Mommy's right here with you. He Qixin chimed in. Don't be scared, Fei Yu. I'll stay here and watch over you. Fei Yu's expression instantly became both strange and embarrassed. Seeing him like this, I couldn't help but burst out laughing. He obviously doesn't want you to hear the messed up things he's done. He doesn't want you to see how ugly his heart really is. Does he have to spell it out for you? My tone sounded sincere, but it was laced with pure mockery. Fei Yu turned pale. Lu Xinxi, don't push it. I looked at him, the smile fading from my lips. My eyes were cold and indifferent. I've already told you the way. Whether you do it or not is up to you. But I'm only giving you 1 minute. Once time is up, I'm done helping. I didn't mince my words. Feiyu didn't doubt for a second that I'd follow through. But to admit in front of his family what he had done to Du Feiyu, he simply couldn't do it. Just as Feiyu was on the verge of tears from the pressure, Baocheng, who was standing nearby, finally spoke up. You two, come outside with me first. After saying that, he took the lead and walked toward the door. Although Zhao Shuqin and He Kyusin were curious, they still followed Baocheng out of the ward. Soon, in the hospital room, only Feiyu and I were left. Feiyu finally breathed a sigh of relief. He turned to look at the small paper lantern in the air. After a long while, he forced a pained expression and began to sob quietly. Du Feiyu, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have hinted for Huo Yufei to cause trouble for you, just because you have the same name as me. At first, I just wanted to make a fool out of you, but I didn't expect Huo Yufei to say she liked you. She used to always follow me around, and then suddenly, she liked you. I just couldn't accept it. That day, I asked you to meet on the rooftop. I really didn't mean to do anything to you. I just wanted to scare you a bit. I really didn't kill you. At first, Feiyu tried to sugarcoat his actions, but he soon realized that the more he spoke, the chilling sensation strangely returned. However, when he spoke his true intentions, that chill slowly faded away. He probably figured that since no one else could hear, he might as well just humor the ghost. So, he felt safe enough to pour out all his dark thoughts. I stood by the side, listening to everything with a blank expression. Although I had seen fragments of their conversations in the illusion and felt their emotions, I never knew the truth behind those feelings. Hearing Feiyu's so-called confession, I wasn't surprised at all. Just because of a name, he deliberately targeted an innocent person. This was exactly the kind of thing he would do. Seeing that Feiyu was finally finished, I raised my hand, and the paper lantern flew back to me. I tucked it into a small bottle. Feiyu watched my movements, his eyes filled with resentment. So can you guarantee that Du Feiyu's ghost won't come for me again? I glanced at him and gave a perfunctory reply. Yeah, I guarantee it. Anyway, Du Feiyu isn't even dead. Even without today's performance, his ghost couldn't possibly come for Feiyu. You also have to guarantee I won't be this unlucky anymore. He was probably remembering all the misfortunes he'd just been through. First, the car accident that broke both his legs, then his bed collapsing and throwing out his back, not to mention the neck cramps, choking on water, gagging on food, all that miserable crap. No matter how stupid Feiyu was, he should have realized by now that he'd been cursed with bad luck. He probably thought it was all Du Feiyu's ghost messing with him. I decided to shatter his illusion right then and there. I can't guarantee that. Your current bad luck is a calamity written into your very fate. It has absolutely nothing to do with Du Feiyu. If you want to talk about a connection, it's just that the victim's resentment makes it easier for you to suffer even worse luck. The moment I mentioned his fate, Feiyu's face changed instantly. He started shouting, even if it's a problem with my fate, you still have to fix it for me. Don't forget, you've already been paid. Even though he wasn't the one who actually transferred that 5 million to me, that didn't stop him from acting completely self-righteous. Hearing the commotion, the rest of the He family pushed the door open and rushed in. Feiyu immediately started crying and complaining, saying I took the money but wasn't doing the job. Zhao Shuqin was the first to jump in, clearly displeased. You took 0.5 million just to deal with one ghost? You think that's it? No way. You have to fix my son's fate too. You promised you would. Are you trying to take the bracelet and then back out of the deal? Baocheng also had a dark, grim expression. He looked as if I wouldn't be allowed to leave. If I dared to say no, I could only sneer at their behavior, something the He family couldn't achieve in 18 years of plotting. And they think they can settle it now with 5 million and a bracelet. They're dreaming. Never mind that I can't do it. Even if I could, why on earth would I help him? He's your brother, He-Chi-Sin said in a low, heavy voice, still trying to use brotherly love to guilt-trip me. I really think the He family has holes in their brains, especially this He-Kixin. I'll say this one last time. I've long since cut ties with the He family. Stop using brotherly love to try and manipulate me. It's disgusting. I turned my gaze toward Baocheng. I only said I'd deal with his 18th year crisis. It was your son who bullied others and ruined someone's life. That's why he's facing retribution today. The fact that he's still alive and just lying here is getting off easy. I've already dealt with Du Feiyu. If you want to fix his fate, you better find someone more capable. I turned to leave after saying my piece, but I stopped after just one step. It was like I just remembered something. I looked back at the 4 members of the He family. I'll give you a friendly warning. Since the fate transfer failed, the backlash has already begun. Anyone close to him will be affected. As I said this, my gaze swept, seemingly unintentionally, over the bandages on their heads. Sure enough, the faces of all 3, including Baocheng, turned pale. I didn't wait for them to speak. I continued for the sake of that 5 million. I'll give you one more piece of advice for free. Remember those jade plaques I gave you before? It's almost funny. Back when I first started learning the mystic arts from my master, I still had illusions about the He family. So, after I learned how to carve protective jade plaques, I gave one to everyone, except for He-Kixin. And from what I know, Feiyu and Zhao Shuqin threw theirs away a long time ago. But because they threw them away, I felt even more compelled to remind them. Those were protective jade plaques I carved by hand. They can ward off disasters and bad luck. If you don't want to keep tripping and breaking your heads, every time you step out the door, you should wear them. Consider that 5 million as payment for those 4 jade plaques. I said it nonchalantly, but Ichisen's expression changed instantly. He finally understood why I kept bringing up those jade plaques over and over again. He never imagined those things actually worked. Looking at his arm, which was still in a sling, Ichisen was filled with deep regret. If only he had gone back to look for it. The first time I asked about it, he wouldn't have been this unlucky the past couple of days. Now the He family completely believed what I said about Ifeyu, bringing bad luck to everyone around him. He Baocheng and Ichisen both decided to go back and find those things immediately. Only Zhao Shukin and Ifeyu had looks of both awkwardness and frustration on their faces. Zhao Shukin even stomped her foot in anger. That brat. He must know I threw away that piece of junk he gave me. That's why he's saying this on purpose. Ifeyu also gritted his teeth, but to maintain his persona, he could only play the victim in a small voice. I don't know where I put it. Brother, since he gave me so many gifts, I'm afraid I can't find it. Dad, what should I do? Ifeyu had a long face. He didn't want to go back to a life of constant bad luck and car accidents. He Baocheng's expression was grim. Beside him, Zhao Shuqin spoke up to comfort him. It's okay. Don't your dad and sister still have their jade plaques? We can just use theirs for now. She said it as if it were the most natural thing in the world. She didn't even notice how He Baocheng and He Qixin's faces instantly darkened. If he uses their jade plaques, then what are they supposed to use? He Qixin had probably never realized just how biased his mother was until this very moment. I sneered. This was exactly the effect I wanted. Meanwhile, at the Liu family home, Liu Ruyan had gone to the police station to give a statement and handle the aftermath of the 8 people who fell into a collective coma at the school building. So, she got home a bit later than Liu Qingqing. As soon as she walked in, Liu Qingqing ran over excitedly. Sister Yan, is everything settled? Liu Ruyan gave her a cool glance. Of course it's been suppressed. Otherwise, the news of you all passing out in an abandoned building would have blown up the internet by now. Liu Qingqing immediately gave a thumbs up. That's my sister for you. It's really hot outside, isn't it? I feel like it's hot in here too. The AC isn't doing its job. While Liu Qingqing was complaining, she was also exaggeratedly pulling at the collar of her t-shirt to fan herself. Liu Ruyan immediately spotted the jade plaque hanging around her neck. Her almond eyes narrowed slightly with a knowing look. That's a nice t-shirt. Is it new? Liu Qingqing blinked. She didn't care what the question was. Her tone was incredibly smug and dramatic. What? Are you asking about this jade plaque around my neck? Yeah, my brother gave it to me. It's exactly like yours and uncle's. Hewan walked over from the living room. Hearing this, she gave a very subtle eye roll. When Liu Qingqing first got home, she had performed the exact same routine in front of her. She had asked Liu Qingqing why she was back so soon, and if she shouldn't have had a detailed checkup at the hospital. Liu Qingqing had replied, Auntie, are you asking what this jade plaque around my neck is for? My brother said it's a protective jade plaque. Wearing it cures all ailments. There's no need for a checkup at all. Hewan really couldn't figure it out. Liu Qingqing was just giving me the cold shoulder recently. How did she come back from one trip looking like a different person? She's even calling me brother so affectionately. Could she be possessed? Possessed by my influence? Liu Ruyan saw through Liu Qingqing's showing off and played along. She leaned in to take a look. She nodded. It does look just like mine, but this silver chain it's on is pretty average. Liu Qingqing immediately perked up. Sister Yan, don't you have some red string? Give me one too. I want to swap it out. Liu Ruyan gave a meaningful smile. I thought you said red string was tacky. Liu Qingqing immediately straightened her face. Tacky? Who said that? Red string has a long history. It perfectly embodies the traditional, subtle beauty of our Huaxia culture for thousands of years. If you want to talk about what matches jade best, it has to be red string. The smile on Liu Ruyan's face deepened. After a moment, she patted her shoulder. Not bad. Once his head cleared, his arrogance came right back with it. I'll have someone bring it to you in a bit. With that, he turned and headed upstairs. Liu Qingqing stood there, dazed for a long while before finally snapping out of it. She was so livid she nearly exploded right then and there. What? Did she just imply I was brainless before? When I returned to the Liu residence from the hospital, I saw Liu Qingqing sitting on the stairs in the front hall, cradling my little beauty in her arms. She was busily brushing his tail with great care. This was the same person who used to constantly badmouth my little beauty every chance she got. But now, she's become a total slave to this little fox. When she caught sight of me, a flash of embarrassment crossed Liu Qingqing's face, but she quickly regained her composure and walked straight toward me while holding little beauty. Brother, you're back. I thought he looked a bit lonely in your room, so I let him out to play for a while. I still wasn't quite used to this version of Liu Qingqing. I just gave a brief nod and reached out to take little beauty back. To my surprise, Liu Qingqing dodged my hand and pointed toward the side hall. Brother, someone is here to see you. I was taken aback. Besides my family, who else would come to the Liu residence looking for me? I didn't try to grab the cat again. I simply nodded and headed toward the side hall. As soon as I stepped inside, I heard second aunt and Wan talking to someone. When I saw who was waiting in the side hall, a sense of I knew it washed over me. The visitor was none other than Zhou Teng. It turns out, the bad romance luck I warned him about a few days ago had already begun to rear its ugly head. I dismissed second aunt, and Zhou Teng looked at me. There wasn't a hint of nervousness on his face. He simply recounted what happened this morning, then fixed me with an intense, burning gaze. You said before that I could come to you for help. I didn't say a word. Instead, I reached into my bag and pulled out a yellow talisman. This is an anti-malice talisman. The next time someone tries to plot against you, this talisman will reflect their ill intent right back at them. After hearing that, Zhu Tang didn't immediately reach for it. Next time? Then how do I settle the score for this time? Didn't you avoid falling for it? Zhou Tang narrowed his eyes. I didn't fall for it, but I don't like the feeling of being plotted against. As he spoke, he plopped down right next to me. He leaned in close, acting very familiar. Besides the anti-villain charm, do you have the kind of charm that attracts rotten peach blossoms? When I heard that, I immediately understood what he meant. He wanted to give them a taste of their own medicine. I actually quite liked this personality of his. I thought about it for a moment. I simply took out a clean piece of yellow paper from my bag, then took out my cinnabar brush and dipped it. I knelt on the carpet, with my back perfectly straight. I lifted the brush and began. The strokes flowed like a dancing dragon. In an instant, the charm was finished. This was the first time Zhou Tang had seen someone draw a charm. He felt that the moment I lifted the brush, my entire aura changed. There was a sense of being otherworldly, if he still had some doubts. When he showed up today, at that very moment, he completely believed that I, the eldest young master of the Liu family, truly had real skills. Taking the charm, Zhou Tang felt a bit emotional. I was just asking casually. I didn't expect you mystic arts practitioners to actually have this kind of charm. We don't, I answered truthfully. Seeing Zhou Tang's bewildered expression, I explained with a smile. The mystic arts don't have a specific charm for rotten peach blossoms, but we do have peach blossom charms. I pointed to the last stroke on the charm in his hand. This stroke is an extra addition, an extra peach blossom. In the context of romance, isn't that exactly what a rotten peach blossom is? So it's not wrong to say it attracts bad romance. In the art of talismans, many symbols are modified from ancestral incantations. Most of the time, they all lead to the same result. Just like the weight loss charms, lucky charms, or study charms that many people ask for online these days. I can draw those too. For example, a weight loss charm is actually just a mind-clearing charm. It reduces your worldly desires. Naturally, that includes your appetite. A lucky charm can be a luck-gathering charm, but that's just drawing on your own future luck in advance. It's not created out of thin air. I usually don't draw those for people. As for the study charm, it's a combination of a mind-clearing charm and a concentration charm. It ensures you stay calm and focused while reading. Naturally, you'll get twice the result with half the effort. Zhou Tang suddenly understood. He didn't realize there was so much depth to it. He happily tucked it away, along with the anti-villain charm. Just as he was about to say thanks, he saw a payment QR code held out in front of him. I gave him the price in a strictly business-like manner. 3,000 for the anti-villain charm, 5,000 for the peach blossom charm, 8,000 total. Zhou Tang didn't think it was expensive. He took out his phone and scanned the code to pay without hesitation. After I received the payment, before I could take my phone back, he quickly tapped on it a few times. He pulled up my QR code and added me as a friend in one smooth motion. We're brothers from now on. Adding you makes it easier to stay in touch. Seeing that I had something to say, Zhou Tang quickly added, and for remote transfer. I immediately shut up. With a slight smile, I accepted his friend request. Then, a notification suddenly popped up in my chat. The person sending the transfer was actually Liu Qingqing. Liu Qingqing has sent you 3,000 yuan. Please accept. Before I could react, an excited voice came from the top of the stairs on the second floor. A young girl was waving her phone at me. Brother, I want that anti-villain charm too. Quick, save one for me. I was completely speechless. Zhou Tang was also speechless. Liu Qingqing, who told you to eavesdrop on us from upstairs? Get your butt down here. Looking at Zhou Tang with his hands on his hips, scolding the girl upstairs. It was obvious they hadn't just met today. Liu Qingqing was her usual self, arguing back. You tell me to come down, so I should come down? Why should I listen to you? I looked up. Come down and get your charm. Liu Qingqing's face changed instantly. Coming, her attitude shifted so fast that Zhou Tang couldn't help but click his tongue. He silently turned to look at me, his eyes full of curiosity. How on earth did you do it? I knew he was asking about Liu Qingqing. I didn't hide it. She had a fight with Zhou Yibai. Although Liu Qingqing acted like she wanted to cut ties with Zhou Yibai, I didn't think she could easily escape Zhou Yibai's control. While I was thinking about this, Liu Qingqing had already burst through the door. Brother, I'm here, Liu Qingqing shouted as she hurried over to my side. Zhou Tang looked at Liu Qingqing and her shameless behavior. His face was full of disdain. Liu Qingqing, where are your manners? I'm talking business with your brother. How dare you eavesdrop from upstairs? Liu Qingqing didn't back down from Zhou Tang at all. This is my house. How could it be eavesdropping in my own home? You're the one talking too loud. Besides, I couldn't care less about that drama in your family. Liu Qingqing, I think you're looking for a beating. Zhou Tang gave a fake smile. Liu Qingqing shrunk her neck back, but she still wouldn't admit defeat. Try me, believe it or not. My brother could take you down with just a flick of his finger. I was suddenly dragged into this for no reason. Meeting Zhou Tang's gaze, I unhurriedly massaged my wrist. I muttered softly. I drew too many charms. My wrist hurts a bit. My subtext was clear. I couldn't even lift my hand right now. Hearing this, Zhou Tang immediately broke into a bright, sunny smile. Liu Qingqing's face instantly fell. She stomped her foot at me. Brother, I'm on your side. Seeing Zhou Tang get up and walk toward her, Liu Qingqing was so scared she turned and bolted. She vanished in a flash. Even from a distance, she didn't forget to yell, "Brother, don't forget my anti-villain charm. I'll come get it from you later." Zhou Tang was only trying to scare her. He was also ready to leave now. "I'll take these charms then. Once I see the results, I'll introduce you to some new business." As he spoke, he deliberately gave me a wink. There wasn't a hint of disdain on his face. Just because I practiced mystic arts and charged for it. I gave him a slight smile, and uncharacteristically gave him one more tip. This peach blossom charm only works if you keep it on you. Ideally, put it in something you carry every day, like your phone case. Zhou Tang understood instantly. He winked at me, then turned and strode away, his leather shoes clicking. His posture was incredibly arrogant and flamboyant, like a proud peacock. I only found out later that this seemingly confident and flashy young Master Zhou was originally the only child of the Zhou family. But after his mother passed away, his father married a new wife in less than 6 months. When the new wife moved in, she didn't just bring a younger brother who was a year younger than him. What was even more ridiculous was that this brother was his father's illegitimate son from an affair. The stepmother and the illegitimate son took over the house. His biological father was no better than his stepfather. Everything that originally belonged to Zhou Tang was slowly being snatched away. Everyone thought he would turn into a pathetic victim, who knew that after staying at his grandmother's for a year, he would return and flamboyantly navigate the high society circles. He used public opinion to seize back the initiative. From then on, if anyone dared to cross him, he would turn the house upside down. He wasn't afraid of losing face at all. I heard that in his most extreme outburst, he went straight to the police station to report him. He reported his dad for domestic violence and even did a live stream. He tagged hundreds of people to watch. In the end, his father, Zhou Shigao, couldn't afford the humiliation and had to compromise. Since then, he's been provided for with the best of everything. His stepmother and the illegitimate brother weren't allowed to mess with him. So, in the Zhou family, Zhou Tang had all the treatment a young master should have. The only thing missing was fatherly love. But I don't think Zhou Tang gave a damn about that. In such a terrible environment, he really fought with everything he had to become the best version of himself. By evening, Lu Qingxing started showing off the jade plaque she got from me, right in front of the whole Lu family. That smug look on her face, it was like she received some kind of medal of honor. The elders were all quite speechless. I looked at my uncle and aunt. Their faces showed relief, but there was also a hint of jealousy. After all, the jade plaques I carved by hand, they, as elders, didn't have them yet. Before, I had only given them to my dad and sister. No one thought much of it then, but now that I had suddenly given one to Lu Qingqing, they felt like I was playing favorites. So, under the eager gaze of my uncle and aunt, I silently handed out 2 more protective jade plaques. Just then, Lu Wei returned from the hospital. Seeing me give out the jade plaques, his face was full of indifference. He curled his lip. I don't usually wear stuff like this. If we're talking about jade carving, Master Rushing is the one to beat. Since you have this hobby, you should look up to real masters. Even as Lu Wei said this, he reluctantly held out his hand toward me. He probably felt that in front of his uncle, it would be embarrassing to reject me outright. From his expression, he was thinking that if I insisted on giving him one, he'd just take it as a little trinket. He'd probably just toss it in a corner later and be done with it. I looked at him like he was an idiot. Then, I calmly opened my empty hands. I didn't make many jade plaques. I'm all out. Lu Wei's expression froze instantly. I added, "After all, it's just a hobby. It's not like I do this for a living." Lu Wei was completely speechless. She definitely thinks I did this on purpose. Just look at how puffed up with rage she is. She's probably thinking, fine, I didn't want it anyway. Who cares? Lu Wei stomped off in a huff. I didn't even bother acknowledging her. I never intended to give a gift to everyone in this family anyway. I'm not the kind of person to make the same mistake twice. Besides, the ones I just gave away were truly the last 2 pieces I had. I was already thinking about heading out later to find some new materials. I need to prepare a few more backups. As soon as I got upstairs, my phone chimed with a notification. I opened it and stared at the screen. I was completely stunned. "Liu Chen has transferred 10 million yuan to you." I turned around and saw Liu Chen standing there. I hadn't even noticed him following me. He looked at me with a hint of pity in his eyes. He sighed. "Uncle Song told me everything." My head was full of questions. "What exactly did Wang Yaoming tell you?" "He said you didn't charge the Wang family for treating their son, because I had already paid you 10 million. Liu Chen spoke with a touch of helplessness. "Cincy, you're a sensible child, but that previous 10 million was for the He family, and some pocket money for you." Looking at his expression, he clearly didn't expect me to not only cure Wang Yan, but also to proactively save face for the Liu family, and maintain our relationship with the Wangs. "But the family can't let you take the loss. Consider this 10 million your payment from us on behalf of the Wang family. Take it. If it's not enough, just ask me for more." I looked at the massive sum of money. I honestly didn't know what to say. I was dazed. Ever since I distanced myself from He Feiyu, why has money become so easy to make? While I felt it was right to be compensated for going to the Wangs on the family's behalf, I certainly wasn't going to turn down money delivered to my door. I spoke up obediently. "Thank you, Dad." I forced a smile, doing my best to look like a well-behaved, sensible son. My father looked at me, a sudden impulse flickering in his eyes. It seemed like he wanted to pat my head. He probably saw me as a substitute for Lu Ruyan, since she used to do that to me. I saw his hand at his side twitch slightly. He began to lift it cautiously, but before he could touch me, I simply nodded to him. Then I turned and went back into my room. His half-raised hand fell back down, limp and powerless. My father's face remained expressionless. He turned in silence and walked back to his study. Meanwhile, in a VIP ward at the hospital, Zhou Yibai lay with his eyes closed. His pale little face was buried in the snow-white pillow. He looked fragile and helpless. Lu Feng stood by the bed, watching him for a long time. Her eyes were filled with nothing but pity and heartache. After a while, she couldn't help but reach out. She wanted to gently touch the boy's jade-like skin. Her fingertips trembled slightly, but just as she was about to touch him, the person on the bed suddenly fluttered his eyelashes. He was waking up. Lu Feng jerked her hand back. She used the momentum to tuck the corner of his blanket in. Zhou Yibai looked at her blankly. Sister Lu Feng, what time is it? Why are you still here? I couldn't rest easy leaving you here alone. Lu Feng's voice was incredibly tender. I'm staying here to watch over you. Zhou Yibai looked delighted. Thank you, Sister Lu Feng. Then he lowered his eyes. Sister Lu Feng, I'm thirsty. Lu Feng nodded immediately. She turned around to pour him some water. The moment her back was turned, the gentle smile on the boy's face vanished. His eyes turned cold as ice. Zhou Yibai looked away in irritation. In the next second, a voice suddenly rang out in his mind. Host, Lu Qingqing's favorability has dropped to the passing line. To ensure the extraction of luck continues, please increase her favorability as soon as possible. I know, Zhou Yibai replied, sounding impatient. If you hadn't said that lowering their yin energy would make it easier to drain their luck, why would I have ever taken Lu Qingqing to that godforsaken place? You clearly said the haunted house wouldn't hurt me. Then what was the deal with those silk threads? If those threads hadn't come for him, he wouldn't have panicked and instinctively abandoned Lu Qingqing to run away, and Lu Qingqing wouldn't be this angry with him. He hadn't taken Lu Qingqing's anger seriously when she ran off today. Who could have guessed that the moment she left, the system would issue a warning? Lu Qingqing's favorability had taken a massive nosedive, and there hasn't been a single sign of it recovering. The system does not make mistakes. The system can ensure the host is not harmed by yin energy. However, those threads were formed from resentment. They fall outside the haunted house's parameters. The system's robotic tone only made Zhou Yibai more frustrated. Fine, whatever you say. Luckily, that girl is easy to handle. Don't worry. Once I'm out of the hospital and back home, I'll have her favorability back up in no time. Even though Zhou Yibai had stumbled, he wasn't particularly worried. Lu Qingqing might have a temper, but she's the type whose anger fades as quickly as it flares up. Over the years, Zhou Yibai had manipulated the Lu sisters so much that he knew their personalities inside out. Thinking of this, he picked up his phone. He sent another message to Lu Qingqing. Qingqing, are you asleep? You didn't come to see me today. Are you still mad at Dodu? I haven't been sleeping well in the hospital these past 2 days. Whenever I think about what happened that day, I feel so sad and regretful. I've never experienced anything like that before. I'm still terrified even now, leaving you behind that day. It was only because I was desperate to find someone to save you. I know you might not believe anything I say right now, but I'm being completely sincere. Qingqing, I'm being discharged tomorrow. Will you come pick me up and take me home? Please? After Zhou Yibai finished sending that long, manipulative text, he took the warm water Lu Feng handed him. He waited confidently for the system to announce the rise in favorability, but he waited for a minute, 5 minutes. 10 whole minutes passed. He finished 2 glasses of water. There was still no movement from the other end of the phone. Even within the system, Lu Qingqing's favorability hadn't budged an inch. Zhou Yibai's expression instantly darkened. He didn't believe for a second that Lu Qingqing hadn't seen his message. She was an internet addict. Her phone never left her hand. So why wasn't she replying? Why hadn't her favorability moved at all? Was she actually truly angry with him? In a situation like that, anyone would have made the same choice he did, even if she was upset. It's been 2 days. He had already given her an out. She should have known better and taken it. Zhou Yibai felt that Lu Qingqing was being ungrateful, perhaps seeing his poor complexion. Lu Feng couldn't help but ask with concern, Yibai, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell somewhere? Lu Feng looked at him intently. Her eyes were overflowing with worry and heartache. Zhou Yibai pursed his lips. He forced a lonely, dejected smile. It's nothing. It's just, I've been messaging Qingqing these past 2 days, but she hasn't replied to me once. As he spoke, he put on a worried face again. I'm also worried that she was traumatized that day. Maybe she's not feeling well. She should have stayed in the hospital for observation for 2 days. Just like me. When Lu Feng heard that Lu Qingqing wasn't replying to him, her face darkened as well. She felt that Lu Qingqing was being far too inconsiderate. She remembered when she went home today. She had seen Lu Qingqing, lively and energetic, hovering around me. She immediately felt that Zhou Yibai's concern was wasted on her. Poor Yibai was still thinking about her even while he was hospitalized. Lu Feng made up her mind. When she went back tomorrow, she had to give that brat Lu Qingqing a piece of her mind. That was her plan. But to keep Yibai from being sad, she didn't tell him the truth. Instead, she comforted him. Don't worry, she's probably just playing games again, and didn't see your messages. As she spoke, she took the opportunity to gently grasp Zhou Yibai's hand resting on the blanket. Her voice was soft. I saw Qingqing when I went home today. She's fine. She's perfectly okay. So don't overthink things. You're coming home tomorrow. Zhou Yibai felt the touch on the back of his hand. He felt a surge of disgust, but his face remained fixed in a gentle smile. Yeah, I'm lucky to have you with me, Sister Lu Feng. Otherwise, I'd definitely be stuck in my own head again. He didn't pull his hand away. Lu Feng seemed to have forgotten about it too. She continued to coax him softly. Zhou Yibai humored her absent-mindedly, but in his mind, The system's voice rang out again. Host, Lu Feng's favorability +2. It has now reached 92 points. I suggest the host strike while the iron is hot. The higher the target's favorability, the more luck you can extract from them. Listening to the system's prodding, Zhou Yibai started to feel irritated again. I know. He understood perfectly. Higher favorability meant more luck to harvest. He also knew exactly how to make Lu Feng's favorability skyrocket. After all, she liked him. As long as he was willing to give her even a little bit of a response, he could guarantee that her favorability would hit 99 in a heartbeat. But he didn't want to rush it like that, using his body to trade for favorability. That's what gigolos do. Zhou Yibai had standards for himself. Even without getting intimate, he could still keep people wrapped around his finger. So why bother with the extra step? Lu Feng was considered elite among the second-generation socialites, but compared to Lu Ruyan, she wasn't even in the same league. Not to mention there was still Lin Yi. Thinking of Lin Yi's appearance and her status in their circle, Zhou Yibai felt a surge of heat in his heart. Only a woman like that was worthy of his genuine feelings, especially since Lin Yi was a perfectionist. Someone like her would have extremely high standards for a partner. Zhou Yibai thought that even for his own sake, he couldn't just casually flirt with anyone. Just as he was thinking this, the system's cold voice rang out. Host, I must remind you that you've been pursuing Lin Yi for 3 years. Her favorability is still stuck at 38 points, and 30 of those points were the initial score gifted by the system. In other words, her actual favorability is only 8 points. That's the kind of score you'd get just for helping an old lady cross the street. Zhou Yibai was instantly speechless. If you don't have anything nice to say, shut up. The next day, Zhou Yibai was discharged. He Wan made a point of bringing Lu Shuo and Lu Wei to pick him up. Liu Qingqing didn't go. Not only did she not go, she didn't even bother replying to his messages. To avoid being home when Zhou Yibai returned, Liu Qingqing simply clung to me. Can't you take me with you when you go out? I promise I'll just follow you. I won't cause any trouble. I rejected her without mercy. No. Liu Qingqing was so anxious she almost choked. Why? I even called you brother. I replied flatly, then you can stop calling me that. Liu Qingqing looked aggrieved, but she still wouldn't give up. I'm technically one of your big clients. Isn't it only right to take a big client out for a spin? She had spent nearly 700,000 yuan on me, based on my previous income of 30,000 per job. How long would it have taken me to earn 700,000? Liu Qingqing felt that by comparison. She definitely qualified as a big client. I glanced at her but didn't say a word. I simply pulled out my phone. I showed her the transfer record from Wang Yangming. Then I swiped again, and showed her the transfer from my father, Liu Chen. At that moment, silence spoke louder than 1,000 words. Liu Qingqing was completely dumbfounded. What on earth is going on? Is this line of work really this profitable? Wait, uncle's transfer doesn't count. Money from a father to his son. That's just called pocket money. I had to scroll back to the previous 10 to million transfer. I explained to her. The first one was pocket money. This 10 million here is my fee. Liu Qingqing was completely silenced. She was actually starting to feel a bit jealous. She had thought her cousin was dirt poor, that he didn't even have 5 million in pocket money. It turned out she was the joke all along. Her own father had never transferred 10 million to her in one go. In the end, Liu Qingqing played the pity card. She said to make up for her wounded heart, I had to take her out today. I really didn't expect having a sister could be this annoying. If I had known, forget it. I eventually ended up taking Liu Qingqing with me. The driver took us straight to the residential building where Du Feiyu lived. The moment Liu Qingqing got out of the car and saw that dilapidated building, her face changed. Why did you bring me to a place slated for demolition? She thought this was some condemned neighborhood. After all, the environment here was even worse than the place I used to rent. Liu Qingqing had grown up in luxury. She had never been to such a rundown place in her life. When we walked into the stairwell, her jaw nearly hit the floor. This building doesn't have an elevator. Do houses without elevators still exist? I couldn't help but look at her. I spoke with a deadpan expression. Get lost and go home. Right now. Liu Qingqing quickly covered her mouth. I'll stop talking, okay? By the time we climbed to the top floor, and she saw Du Feiyu's tiny one-bedroom apartment, Liu Qingqing's understanding of poverty was redefined once again. She was about to cry out in shock, but my icy glare scared her into silence immediately. The Du family rarely had guests. The living room only had one bed to sit on, but Liu Qingqing's upbringing was still there. She felt awkward sitting on someone else's bed, so she pulled over a plastic stool and sat down obediently. I noticed that although she was shocked, she didn't show any more signs of disgust. I gave her a second look. Maybe this girl isn't a lost cause after all. Mrs. Du could tell at a glance that Liu Qingqing was no ordinary girl. After all, her outfit looked incredibly expensive. She stood there, looking a bit restless and uneasy. Her face was full of worry. Little master, did you come here today because something is wrong with Feiyu? I shook my head. His health is fine. I just have something to give him. After saying that, I told Liu Qingqing to wait outside. I went into the room to speak with Du Feiyu. Du Feiyu had been in a vegetative state for over a year. His body was still slowly recovering. He lay on the bed, watching me. I pulled a familiar small paper lantern from my backpack. As the paper lantern rose from my palm, Du Feiyu looked a bit nervous. To his surprise, a familiar voice drifted out from the lantern. Du Feiyu. I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. Du Feiyu's body jerked violently. His hands instinctively gripped the blanket. Mrs. Du didn't recognize the voice at first, but as she kept listening, Her eyes instantly turned red. Her voice was thick with uncontrollable rage. Is this the person who did this to Feiyu? He ruined my Feiyu's life. Does he think a flimsy apology like this will make us forgive him? The color drained from Du Feiyu's lips, but he kept them clamped shut. He clearly had no intention of accepting the apology, knowing He Feiyu's character. He didn't believe the apology was sincere either. Seeing them like this, I explained He Feiyu's recent situation, and how he had mistakenly thought Du Feiyu's ghost was haunting him. I continued, I made him record this. First, because you deserve an apology. Second, with this recording, you can clear your name from the slander online a year ago. Let everyone know the truth. When I mentioned the internet, Du Feiyu's face went pale. Clearly, he was remembering the overwhelming insults, the abuse and the doubt from back then. He had finally managed to escape those insults. If he posted He Feiyu's recording online, he might be vindicated. But the events of a year ago would be dragged up again. Some people might even continue to question him, or humiliate him. Mrs. Du clearly thought of this too. Both of their faces showed a look of resistance. I wasn't surprised. After all, they had worked so hard to find this bit of peace. That was exactly why I wanted to leave the choice entirely up to him. You can choose to live a quiet life from now on, or you can use this to defend your reputation. I'm giving you this recording, just to give you a second option. Without this recording, Du Feiyu would have to live with that stigma forever. Fortunately, the internet has a short memory. He could start over. That was his only way out, but this recording is a second path. He doesn't have to take it, but he should have the right to choose. I placed the paper lantern in Du Feiyu's palm. I didn't try to persuade him further. Du Feiyu looked down at the lantern in his hand. His lips were still tightly pursed. He was clearly caught in a deep struggle. Outside, Lu Qingxing couldn't hear what was happening inside. She was bored, scanning the tiny 10-square-meter living room. She was amazed that such a small space could be crammed with so much stuff. As she was marveling to herself, a sudden knock came from the door. Lu Qingxing instinctively looked toward the bedroom. It was quiet inside. It seemed no one had heard it. Lu Qingxing was about to call out to them. When the knocking started again, it sounded urgent. Lu Qingxing decided to just go to the door herself. She pulled the door open. Coming. Stop knocking. The door swung open. A girl about 18 or 19 stood outside. There were dark circles under her eyes. She radiated a gloomy, oppressive aura. Her eyes turned red the moment she saw Lu Qingxing. Her gaze looked like she wanted to devour her. She gritted her teeth and asked, word by word, "Who are you?" Lu Qingxing's spoiled princess temper flared up. She tilted her chin up and shot back. Who are you? The girl stared at her intensely. Her voice was raspy and cold. She slowly uttered 3 words. Huo Yufei. Lu Qingxing was about to ask who the hell this Huo Yufei was, but the girl didn't give her a chance. She stepped forward, trying to force her way in. I'm here to see Feiyu. Lu Qingxing was caught off guard. The girl took the opportunity to shove past her into the room. Mrs. Du heard the commotion and looked toward the door. The moment she saw it was Huo Yufei. The color drained completely from Mrs. Du's face. As for Du Feiyu, his already weak complexion turned deathly pale. His entire body began to shake uncontrollably. The moment Huo Yufei entered, she locked onto Du Feiyu on the bed. Her gloomy eyes instantly lit up. She couldn't hide the joy in her voice. Feiyu, I knew you were still alive. As she shouted, she lunged toward Du Feiyu. Mrs. Du wouldn't dare let her touch her son, who had just recovered. She instinctively lunged forward to block Du Feiyu. I'd already guessed this girl's identity by now. I was prepared to step in and stop her. But before I could move, Lu Qingxing was faster. A girl about 18 or 19 years old was standing outside the door. Dark circles hung heavy under her eyes. Her entire being radiated a dark, gloomy aura. Her eyes turned bloodshot the moment she saw Lu Qingxing. She looked like she wanted to tear someone apart. She gritted her teeth, forcing out each word. Who are you? Lu Qingxing's spoiled heiress temper flared up instantly. She tilted her chin up and shot back. And who the hell are you? The girl glared at her with a death stare. Her voice was raspy and cold. She slowly spat out 3 words. Huo Yufei. Lu Qingxing instinctively wanted to ask just who this Huo Yufei was supposed to be, but the girl didn't give her the chance, stepping forward to force her way inside. I'm here for Feiyu. Lu Qingxing was caught off guard. The girl took the opportunity to shove past her and into the room. Mother Du heard the commotion and looked toward the door. The moment she saw it was Huo Yufei. The color completely drained from Mother Du's face. As for Du Feiyu, his already frail face turned deathly pale. His entire body began to tremble uncontrollably. The moment Huo Yufei entered, she locked onto Du Feiyu on the bed. Those gloomy eyes of hers instantly lit up. She couldn't hide the joy in her voice. Feiyu, I knew you were still alive. She shouted his name. As she lunged toward Du Feiyu with long strides, Mother Du wouldn't dare let her touch her son, who had just started to recover. She instinctively threw herself in front of Du Feiyu to block her. I had already guessed this girl's identity by now. I was just about to step in and stop her. But before I could move, Lu Qingxing was even faster. She intercepted her at the bedroom door like a gust of wind. She gave a violent shove, sending the intruding Huo Yufei stumbling back several steps. Back the hell up. If you dare take one more step forward, I'll break your damn legs, believe me. Though she was young, the ferocity in her eyes was the real deal. Her teenage frame had grown tall and slender. Standing there like that, she actually looked quite reliable. Huo Yufei didn't expect to be pushed back. A vicious, violent expression immediately clouded her face. She glared intensely at Lu Qingxing. She demanded with a face full of malice. Who are you? This is a private matter between him and me. You're asking who I am? I'm just a righteous bystander who hates seeing bullies. Lu Qingqing snapped back without a second thought. Seeing Huo Yufei trying to squeeze inside again, she raised her hand and gave another hard shove. Stay right there. Did the owner of this house invite you? How dare you just barge in? Besides, my brother hasn't said a word yet. If my brother doesn't let you through, you better stay put. Lu Qingqing's performance basically made her look like my personal bodyguard. With that posture, it was as if no one could move an inch unless I gave the word. Huo Yufei only cared about seeing Du Feiyu. She had no patience for this bickering. Seeing herself blocked over and over again, her temper exploded. She swung a fist directly at Lu Qingqing's face. Lu Qingqing might be young, but she had at least practiced a few moves. She instinctively raised her arm to block. Unfortunately, her reaction was a beat too slow. Just as she thought she'd have to take the hit, I stood behind her and gave a light wave of my hand. Huo Yufei's heavy punch suddenly froze midair. She couldn't move a muscle. Huo Yufei was completely stunned. Lu Qingqing was also dazed by the sight. But this girl had plenty of real-world fighting experience. She reacted instantly, taking advantage of that split-second opening. She turned her defense into an attack. She grabbed the other girl's arm and twisted it hard, pinning her firmly to the ground. The entire sequence was smooth and fluid. Even Lu Qingqing was almost impressed by her own cool moves. She whipped her head around, looking at me with eyes full of excitement. The spark in her eyes was clearly fishing for a compliment. Was I cool? Quick, tell me. Was I totally badass just now, even though she knew deep down that I had secretly helped her? It didn't stop her from being incredibly smug in the moment. Huo Yufei was pinned ruthlessly to the floor. Her face turned beet red. Her eyes were as fierce as a cornered lion cub. She struggled desperately to get up, but for some reason, her body felt weak and useless. She lifted her head, staring through the gap in the door. The moment her eyes met Du Feiyu's, she couldn't help but cry out, "Feiyu, it's me, Huo Yufei. Are you really just going to watch them bully me like this?" Du Feiyu gripped the bedsheets tightly. His eyes were wide as he stared at Huo Yufei outside the door. His whole body was as tense as a bowstring, but he didn't say a single word. Seeing this, Huo Yufei shouted again, "Feiyu, I just wanted to come see you. I've been worried about you every single second for over a year. I wanted to find you, but my family kept me under such a tight watch. They wouldn't let me out to see you. Feiyu, you have to know that I love you deeply. I've never stopped thinking about you." Huo Yufei poured her heart out, but she had no idea that to Du Feiyu, these words sounded like the whispers of a demon. His body shook like a leaf in the wind. The memories of being forced to be her boyfriend, and the inhumane bullying he endured, came rushing back like a tidal wave. Finally, he couldn't take the terror anymore. He let out a piercing scream, cutting her off. "Shut up, just shut up." Du Feiyu's eyes were bloodshot. He glared at Huo Yufei. His voice trembled violently, yet it was filled with resolve. "I don't want to see you at all. Every single word you say makes me feel absolutely disgusted. Huo Yufei, you're a monster. Why won't you just leave me alone? What did I ever do wrong? Why do you keep pushing me?" I watched Du Feiyu. Ever since he woke up yesterday, he had been like a tightly wound spring, just like Mother Du. He was deliberately trying to escape that nightmare, trying to fantasize about a fresh start. But Huo Yufei's intrusion cruelly ripped his wounds wide open, forcing him to realize he could never truly forget. His roar was raspy and agonizing, as if he were trying to pour out all his despair and pain, letting it all out at once. I stood silently to the side, saying nothing, and Lu Qingqing, who was still pinning Huo Yufei down, pressed her lips together in silence. But she didn't loosen her grip one bit. Yet the girl seemed immune to the pain. She just stared fixedly at Du Feiyu inside the room. Her face was a mask of disbelief. In her twisted logic, after a long separation and knowing she had been fighting to see him, he should have had an epiphany. He should have been moved by her obsessive devotion. But the reality was that he called her disgusting. "Du Feiyu, do you dare say you never loved me?" Huo Yufei gritted her teeth, clearly unable to accept this harsh reality. Sure, she had bullied him at first, but didn't she apologize afterward? Sure, she had forced him back then, but that was just an impulsive mistake. Once she realized she liked him, she actually let him be her real boyfriend. Even if her methods were a bit forceful, wasn't it all because of her sincere heart? She truly believed that as long as he was her boyfriend, he would eventually fall in love with her over time, even if he always acted resistant. She stubbornly convinced herself he was just being shy. "I never liked you. It was always you forcing me. You threatened me with my mother's job. You pressured me with my education. How could I ever like you? I don't love you at all. You're the one who wouldn't stop hounding me." Du Feiyu's screams were filled with breakdown and despair. He couldn't understand what he had done to deserve this, why he had to suffer such inhumane torture. God knows when she mentioned the word love, he felt so sick he could have vomited bile. How could she possibly think that after being treated so maliciously, he could ever have feelings for her? How could anyone love a demon who would utterly destroy them? Huo Yufei listened to every accusation. Her face was full of denial. She stubbornly believed he loved her, even if he refused to admit it. In those school idol dramas, the leads always bickered like this, didn't they? But in Du Feiyu's eyes, this was nothing but suffocating school bullying. Those so-called sweet romance tropes were just crimes packaged as love. Only the victims trapped in the bullying truly understood how deep that despair went. I looked at Du Feiyu, then at the devastated Huo Yufei. It was all utterly absurd. He slowly lowered his head, tears falling like broken strings of pearls. At this moment, he finally made a choice in his heart. "I'm going to sue you," Du Feiyu gritted. His voice was raspy but incredibly firm. Huo Yu Fei. Whether it's you or he Fei Yu, I'm going to make you all pay for what you've done. Beside him, Mother Du was already in tears. She turned and pulled her son into a tight embrace. Fei Yu, Mom supports you, no matter what you want to do. Mom will be right there with you. He wanted to sue, to make those monsters who hurt his son face the full punishment of the law. I could tell. Liu Qingqing didn't know Du Feiyu. She didn't even fully understand why I came here today. But that didn't stop her from enjoying the drama. Hearing the details revealed between their words, her entire worldview was shattered. No matter how bossy she used to be, she never imagined that human nature could be this shameless. In a fit of rage, she kicked the girl's leg hard. Then she turned and shouted to Du Feiyu, I support you suing her too. If you don't have enough money, I'll cover it. And if I don't have enough, there's my sister, my brother, and my uncle. Don't be afraid. Just sue her into the ground. I looked at Liu Qingqing. This was the first time she'd been this fired up, even though he was just a stranger. She had decided right then and there to take charge. Du Feiyu's eyes were red. He turned to look at me, as I had been silent. His voice was raspy but resolute. Master Liu, I want to sue them. I met Du Feiyu's determined gaze. Knowing he had made up his mind, the corners of my mouth curled up slightly. My voice was soft. Go ahead and do it. No one will be able to hurt you so easily again. That same day, I watched Liu Qingqing call her father directly. She demanded the contact info for the Jianghai Group's legal team, gathering evidence, preparing the lawsuit. She even dug up all the attacks and insults directed at Du Feiyu online to find the paid trolls behind it all. Liu Qingqing was raring to go, ready to get justice for Du Feiyu. But on my end, a small accident occurred. Standing before the gates of the Liu villa, I saw that familiar figure in a black hat and pants. Expressionless, I took the familiar box from her hands. They said the resentment couldn't be cleared. The girl in the black hat nodded. That was the feedback from over there. The item has been safely returned. Thank you for using our temporary express service. With that, the girl didn't say another word. She took off like she had grease on her shoes. The butler even tried to chase after her, but he couldn't catch her. Why did she leave in such a hurry? I actually needed a delivery service myself. The butler grumbled to himself. Then he looked at me. Curiously, he asked, Young master, which delivery company was that? I don't think I've ever heard of them. I was still staring intensely at the box in my hand. I wasn't in the mood to explain. I just gave a vague reply. It's normal that you haven't heard of them. Forget it. I took the box and went back to my room. After setting the box down, I immediately called the other side. I gave them a piece of my mind and demanded a refund. I spent 800,000 to clear that resentment. And yet this resentful spirit was sent back to me untouched. Even I, Liu Xinxi, rarely felt this stuck between a rock and a hard place. If the resentment on the spirit couldn't be cleared, then my only choice would be to obliterate it. But I had promised Du Feiyu and Mother Du that I would do my best to clear the resentment and avoid using lethal measures if possible. But now, what other way was there to get rid of this resentment? I pulled out all the various talismans I carried, trying to find a solution among them. Maybe I was too focused at the time, because I didn't notice when Hu Piaoliang had snuck over. I saw the little fox's fluffy paw bat at the box once, then again. By the time I realized what was happening, Hu Piaoliang had already pushed the box to the very edge of the table. My eyes widened as I let out a sharp shout. Hu Piaoliang! However, before I could even finish my shout, Hu Piaoliang gave it one final swat, sending the box flying. With a sharp crack, the box slammed onto the carpeted floor. Piaoliang, do you think you're a cat? Why are you copying them and knocking things over for fun? I scolded the mischievous little creature, but I immediately moved to pick up the box. Fortunately, the box was specially sealed. It shouldn't break that easily. Just as I thought that, on the blood-stained box, a tiny crack suddenly appeared. Then that crack spread rapidly, right before my eyes. A second later, boom! A surge of resentment exploded from the crack. Even though I reacted quickly, I was almost hit by the blast. I instinctively threw the box away, while whipping out a yellow talisman. I was about to reseal the resentment, but I didn't expect that the moment the resentment hit the talisman, it would trigger a violent explosion. The deafening blast instantly alerted everyone in the villa. But I didn't have time to worry about that. I watched helplessly as the box was destroyed. The resentful spirit, shrouded in dark energy, burst out and fled wildly toward the outside. My face paled instantly. I grabbed my bag and chased after it like a bolt of lightning. I didn't expect the spirit to be so incredibly fast. It nimbly dodged several of my talismans, tearing through the residential area. Finally, as if it had locked onto a target, it flew straight in a certain direction. When I looked closer and saw the familiar figure it was charging toward, a surge of pure terror gripped my heart. I lunged forward like a madman. Lin Yi, get out of the way. He turned. Seeing the mass of black energy flying at his face, he instinctively raised his hand to block it. In the next second, he actually snatched that rampaging black mist right out of the air. I froze in my tracks. My brain completely short-circuited. I had shouted for him to dodge, not because I was afraid the spirit would hurt him. With that holy golden light Lin Yi radiated, any ordinary ghost hitting him would be like a moth to a flame. Compared to Lin Yi getting hurt, I was actually worried that the little, resentful spirit would be obliterated on impact. But the reality before me was, the spirit wasn't blown to bits. Instead, Lin Yi was holding it like a little chick, clutched in his hand. He actually caught it, He frowned deeply, staring coldly at the black mist, struggling desperately in his palm. My mind was full of questions. It was simply unbelievable. "Can you see this thing?" I blurted out. Lin Yi turned to look at me. His expression was a bit strange. Those deep dark eyes were clearly asking, "What the hell is this?" He obviously wasn't holding anything solid. It was more like he had grabbed a swirling mass of air. Seeing the black mist, trying to break free, he instinctively tightened his grip. I was about to step forward and take over, but seeing his move, I shouted to stop him. It was a second too late. The golden light around Lin Yi flared up as he squeezed, instantly swallowing the resentful spirit in his palm. Only one thought crossed my mind. It's over. The little spirit is definitely gone for good this time.